Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and in today's video, like I promised, we are going over the entire One Punch Man story from the moment Season 2 ended all the way up until the end of the most recent complete arc. But let me warn you before we all do get into this video right here, that this arc is just pure insanity from the start to finish, with a constant battle that never seemingly ends as the Earth's strongest S-class heroes are pitted against the entirety of the Monster Association. Quickly though, if you do want more stuff just like this, where I go over the entirety of a series in excruciating detail, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with pushing my content to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyways, enough of that, let's get into the largest solo video and hypest arc battle-wise I've ever done. So starting off, and over at the Hero Association, Sitch and the other ministers are bickering over what to do next. Of course they think it was King who took down the massive centipede, you know, like right at the end of the second season. Nevertheless, when it comes to the hero hunter himself, Sitch insists that Garou's no longer human, and should be classified as a dragon level threat. All of a sudden, Narinki, the rich sugar daddy, bursts in, yelling at Bang to get the little clone of his under control, along with getting Waganma back, who's his son, in case, you know, like any of you forgot that he was kidnapped by the Monster Association during the later parts of the second season. Anyway, in turn, because of this, it causes Sekinga, the head of the rescue team and the guy with the goated eye, to assure him that he already has heroes on the job, trying their best to save his son. Later on, Sekinga meets with Super Alloy, Darkshine, or Big D, Pig God, and their 28-year-old sister that's somehow smaller than her younger sister Tatsumaki. He informs them that Child Emperor is already actively searching for the Monster Association headquarters in City Z. However, Tatsumaki keeps on mentioning how the monsters are nothing and are just having their strength overestimated, making Sekinga intervene and actually reveal to them that these monsters are built slightly differently, as an S-rank hero like Metal Knight has already gone missing at their hands. I mean, you know, like throughout the series so far, these S-rank heroes have been built up like they can't be defeated by anything. But as we know, these monsters inside of the pit that they manifest are built completely differently. All of them sucking on those monster cells has completely changed the entire game. Anyway, Kamikaze, better known as just Big Atomic Samurai, along with his disciples, arrives back at the Hunter Association after searching for the monster headquarters, and has a light quarrel with the A-class hero Sweet Mask. Meanwhile, Puri Prisoner also heads towards the scene. Back in Child Emperor's office, it's revealed that he's sweating hard, trying his best to find the dreaded Monster Association headquarters, while asking the pestering nobodies to leave him in peace as he searches. Once he's by himself, he immediately contacts Bofoy, who's best known by his hero alias as Metal Knight, only to get instantly nervous when Bofoy tells him that there's a literal god of the monsters, a complete amalgamation of beasts and monsters mashed together to create an unholy beast older than all ages of man, called the Monster King Orochi, and that he is possibly the real deal. Outside and somewhere else, Fubuki finds the Saitama clan literally having an acupuncture day and honestly just enjoying themselves while the world around them is completely falling apart. She begins screaming at them, but the screeching does absolutely nothing until Saitama gets up to find Garou on his own accord. And also man's, you know, like gonna go off and get some cabbage. But anyway, meanwhile, Narinki appoints his own measly rescue team to try and get his son back, giving them his top tier gear that he paid for with his money and sending them to the Monster Association's location early. Over somewhere else, while the drama continues, Garou wakes up inside of the Monster Association, all beat up and bruised, until he stumbles outside to find a whole carnival of monsters. By the way, guess who like all the monsters are going ham on? Well, it's Narinki's sad rescue team who's already caught. Plus, on top of them being just utterly weak, they're also cowards who are just crying for their lives. With all of the monsters gathered around them, their roars echo out and they scream, wanting to be fed. Impatient, one of them launches at the group, only to be sliced in half like a literal PB&J sandwich by the Ripper, who then instantly starts screaming out his own feelings on how he wants to torture each and every one of their soldiers personally. Yet, just like before him, he is interrupted by Super S, the lovely lady herself, who's adamant about making them her dirty little whip slaves. Nevertheless, Garou, who's kinda just been sneaking around, is soon spotted and brought to the spotlight. Standing there, he finally sees the dreaded demon Orochi, the massive, and when I say massive, I mean it like this guy is literally the size of a few buildings. Both Orochi and his slimy number 1 Gyoro offer him a place in the Monster Association, even going as far as to offer him a spot among the strongest tier of monsters inside of his association. However, to be given this opportunity, he has to bring the head of a hero to prove his loyalty first. Taking all of this in, Garou decides to head out to do more hero hunting, and as he walks away, Gyoro sends both Ripper and Bug God to tail him. Outside and in the city, the general masses have completely and utterly lost it, and a cult of monster worshippers are already making the rounds, grabbing poor men who try to retaliate against them as an offering for the monsters. Feeling a bit of pity for these idiots giving up so quickly, Garou, who's like now outside the Monster Association, just casually flicks them all off before heading into a diner and ordering the massive, super-sized set meal complete with thick steak and extra rice. Then also on top of that, as the lovely female waiter goes to leave, he orders everything else in the meat menu. Unknown to Garou though, the bald man himself, Saitama, is actually feasting at the same place and currently losing his mind when he realizes that he's left his wallet at home. As the bald hero oozes with sweat and wonders how he's going to pay for the meal, the voluptuous queen herself, Fubuki, sits down before him, blabbering as per usual. Seeing the perfect moment to enact his plan, Saitama slides his plate over to Fubuki, and as she munches down on the chips, she notices his devious smile. While she sits there thinking to herself, Garou is probably happy to work for her, a shriek of panic rings out, calling after a dying Dasher who's just sprinted off without pain. Of course, playing the hero to save his own behind in the situation, Saitama also rushes off, plastering the bell onto Fubuki in the process. Which is like kind of funny, as like Fubuki at this moment is still super adamant that Saitama actually wants to join her little old group. And obviously, you know, he doesn't. Anyway, nevertheless, after Garou had scrambled out of the restaurant and made his way down the road, he notices a group of young bullies picking on the same Tario kid from earlier on. Having gone over and dispelled the bullies, the kid starts a pity shower and recounting how Garou's actually a good guy being attacked unfairly by all of the heroes around him. Annoyed, because he obviously thinks he's a monster at this point, Garou considers going demon mode and flicking the kid away to prove it. However, our bald king, who's been chasing him from back at the restaurant, finally catches up and arrives. Yet, it ain't exactly what you think, and due to the fact that Saitama also had no money and needed to ditch the diner, he hilariously lets him off on the thievery just this once, and forgives him for it, all without Garou ever turning his way, revealing who he actually is to Saitama. As the Cape Baldy then goes to leave, a now annoyed Garou turns and makes the dire mistake of fully confronting him. Obviously Garou at this point in the series, and probably still for a while like after this, doesn't actually have a clue who Saitama is, which is evident by the fact that Tario, who's with him, points out that he's not even inside the hero directory. Now walking towards the dull Saitama, who hasn't even turned around yet, Garou thinks on how it's not the worst that the Monster Association has looked down on him, but now he has some no-named, snotty brat taking pity on him for being too poor to pay for his meals. Reaffirming that he isn't with the Monster Association in his head, but will take their offer either way, he proceeds to walk up on Saitama, ready to blow him down with one strike. Grabbing the Baldy's shoulder, the ever-evolving Garou prepares to take out Saitama with one quick rage-filled strike. However, before he even has time to react, Saitama instinctively throws a backhand under the premise that he can't fight as he's a wanted man and can't be seen with him. Waking up in a panic, Tario asks him if he's okay, while telling him that the bald dude was freaking out over the fact that he may have just murdered a random before he quickly ran off. Emerging from the shadows behind him, the Bug God and Ripper, who had been watching all this time, decide that he isn't worthy to be called a monster or receive the powers after seeing him get defeated so easily by a random no-named caped baldy. Royal Ripper reveals that Garou had sent him and Bug God to follow and monitor Garou. After observing his behaviour, they now have doubts about Garou's true intent, questioning whether he's a true monster or not. Garou then proceeds to provoke Royal Ripper to little use, and the latter then demands the former to kill Tario. Garou then inquires about the reasoning behind the request, to which Bug God replies that one must leave behind what makes them human in order to qualify as a monster. Royal Ripper reaffirms the statement and continues, adding the fact that Garou might not be the best candidate after being defeated by Saitama. Garou then proceeds to tell Tario to go home, but he was unable to do so because of the fear coursing over the young child. Due to this, Tario is berated by Garou, who then slaps the hero catalogue out of his hand, saying that the boy needs to get stronger during times like these. While doing so, Royal Ripper attacks Tario, but the attack is quickly stopped by Garou, who hoisted Royal Ripper up into the air by his blades and swiftly delivered a kick to the opponent's abdomen. Royal Ripper then flies up into the air as a result of this, but is quick to get back to his feet by thrusting his blades onto the ground and performing a somersault with the two blades acting as an anchoring point. The move severely disfigures his arms, but Royal Ripper restores his limbs back to their original state by twisting them back. Garou then yells at Tario, telling him to run, with the boy complying as he is seen dashing away. As he is doing so though, Royal Ripper announces Garou to be an enemy, and Garou then assumes the stance as the two monsters begin charging at him. Atop a roof, Zombie Man is observing a takoyaki shop, suspecting it to be the new front for the House of Evolution. Upon entering, he encounters Armored Gorilla, who assumes Zombie Man to be a customer. The hero introduces himself, but is surprised by Armored Gorilla after he reveals that the House of Revolution has ceased to exist. Zombie Man then meets up with Dr. Genus, who then goes on to mention the fact that he fondly remembers Zombie Man as the successful immortal specimen that escaped and destroyed his facility. Immediately after, Zombie Man threatens Dr. Genius with a large axe and asks him why the House of Evolution was destroyed, stating that the facility could always be rebuilt as long as Genius is alive. The scientist responds by giving an account of his events with Saitama, who according to Genius had removed his limiter and possesses greater power than anything artificial, thus disproving his research. He then goes on to expand the concept of the limiter, explaining that every single being has a limit on how much they can develop, because too much power can potentially create mindless rampaging monsters. As such, God created the limiter to restrict everyone's abilities, thus ensuring their survival and mental integrity. Zombie Man then raises the question of whether the person who removed his limiter did so without any cost. This is quickly refuted though, with Genius stating that the individual paid for his immense power by losing his hair and having to bear the overwhelming sense of detachment from society. Zombie Man responds by saying that those who possess immense power without becoming a monster are called heroes. Genius then goes on to explain to him the relationship between monsters, heroes, and their removal of limiters. According to him, humans become monsters due to internal factors, bad habits, mental abnormalities or frustrations, as well as external, pollutants or like chemicals in the atmosphere, and as such are different from those who remove their limiter. Monsters such as Sea Folk appearing in J City or the Dark Matter Thieves are simply sentient beings that are hostile to humans. As for heroes, Genius states that they already possess potential at birth and manage to develop their potential through extensive efforts. Others could achieve great powers through artificial means such as mechanization, experimentation, or were born with great powers. However, Saitama is an exception due to the fact that he is an ordinary person with no unique potential whatsoever, but still somehow managed to remove the barrier for growth simply through sheer force of will. It is for this reason that Genius relinquished his own ambitions, saying that they are now laughable. Zombie Man lastly requests an explanation for the takoyaki stand, to which Genius explains that he discovered a method to produce unlimited octopus tentacles. Back over as the two monsters charged at Garou, the hero hunter managed to deliver a powerful punch towards the bug's torso. Unfortunately, this injures his own hand in the process. Royal Ripper then follows up and performs a chain of frenzied slashes aimed at Garou, but they're all dodged or reflected. As Garou is busy with Royal Ripper's chain of attacks, Bug God approaches him from behind, but is bombarded with a flurry of deflected slashes originating from Royal Ripper. The monster is undeterred by this as he quickly pounds Garou into the ground and then flings him onto some electrical cables which briefly electrocutes Garou. Garou immediately rebounds himself towards the monsters after this, as they leap towards him as well. The three then eventually enter a stalemate, with Garou now confident in his abilities to defeat his opponents. It then transpires though that Tario was actually captured by the sludge jellyfish. Garou is briefly distracted by this occurrence, so Royal Ripper takes the chance and brutally slashes him in the back, and Bug God also subsequently slashes him in the torso as well, ultimately being assailed with a series of slashes that leave him in a pool of blood on the ground. Over at the Legion's fine apartment, Genos, Bang, Bomb, and King wait anxiously for him to return. When Saitama does eventually turn up looking disheveled, they presume that he fought with Garou, yet Saitama denies it, unaware that he actually did indeed meet Garou and defeated him for the third time. However, he is distressed because of the fact that he lost his wallet and had forgotten to buy cabbage. Being a big brain herself though, Fubuki then shows up with a cabbage that Saitama forgot, and also annoyed that Saitama made her pay for his meal. Meanwhile, Genos detects something approaching fast and sends King to deal with it. There, the monster is revealed to be Dr. Casino, who came in his mechanical suit to check up on Genos. Dr. Casino introduces himself to Saitama and gifts some high quality meat for his hot pot. Saitama instructs Genos to prepare the hot pot meal before realizing that he would actually have to share with all of the other visitors. Meanwhile, in the Monster Association, Royal Ripper and Bug God try to explain Garou's death to Goro, putting the blame on the hero hunter himself. Goro sees through their antics, but spares them from their punishment, instead telling them to take things seriously as the Hero Association could attack in a few hours. Many members of the Monster Association are seen preparing nearby, socializing or otherwise loitering as they wait around for the battle ahead. Over in the cells, Tario, Garou's only fan, is put into the same cell as the hostage Wagon Ma. Wagon Ma is confident that his rich status means that the heroes will save him for sure, and snobbishly attempts to make Tario his subordinate. Hearing them talk, Sludge Jellyfish attempts to scare him by mentioning that the executives are capable of taking on any S-class heroes. Meanwhile, Garou awakens in the spot where he was abandoned and begins to move on. Elsewhere at the Hero Association headquarters, Child Emperor and Second Guard go through the roster of heroes. Child Emperor becomes paranoid after communicating with Beaufoy, and he exerts his influence to remove Demon Cyborg and Silverfang from the mission. Sitch, despite his protests on not wanting to remove the two from the group, is instructed to not actually inform them on the removal. Over at Saitama's apartment, the group of 7 are about to eat the steaming hot pot. They rush in with their chopsticks all at once, throwing food up into the air, with King instantly getting knocked out, although, Dr. Casino is fine. However, nobody notices King knocked out on the floor. Fubuki uses her telekinesis to bring a piece of meat towards herself, but Genos tries to reclaim it for Saitama, who asks why everyone is eating his food. During the argument that ensues, Dr. Casino calms Genos down, only for Fubuki to attempt recruiting the old man for weapons development into her group. Saitama is annoyed that the meat is already all gone, and soon after finds King sleeping on the ground, not realizing that the dude was actually knocked out. While King's knocked out at Saitama's apartment, Garou, who's elsewhere in the city, makes his way towards the Monster Association's hideout, and as per usual is caught on Gyoro's psychic radar. Garou, who obviously thought he was dead, orders the other monsters to go and grab a hold of the intruder, allowing them to help themselves to a little bit of before battle feast to get themselves pumped up in their upcoming struggle. Back with the main group, the Hero Association is about to deploy the remaining S-Class heroes to deal with the monsters, without Watchdog Man, Blast, and Metal Knight being in attendance, and without Genos and Bang, as their whereabouts is currently unknown. Tatsumaki threatens Sekingar with getting violent if Fubuki ever gets involved in this conflict, not wanting to put her in harm's way. Every hero from C-Class to A-Class who's available will be sent to deal with the Monster Association's forces above ground, while the S-Class heroes will only deal with the Dragon level ones above and inside of the Monster Association's base. Back in the base, Garou breaks into the facility just in time to save Tario from Royal Ripper. Despite being stabbed in the gut by the monster, Garou simply punches Royal Ripper's head straight off with one blow, killing him in the process, before using Whirlwind Iron-Cutting Fist to shred the rest of the monster to complete pieces. He and Tario then make their escape, only to then encounter 2 monsters, who are obviously quickly dispatched by Garou. The Hero Hunter then devours one of the limbs of the monsters to replenish himself, before proceeding with Tario. As they make their escape, Tario tells him that there is another child that is in need of rescuing, but obviously that's not Garou's concern, and he didn't actually come here to save Tario either. However, before the two can continue on their escape, they are confronted by Overgrown Rover. Quickly realizing that the dog actually won't harm them if they step quietly back without making noise, Garou swiftly makes his escape with Tario, not alerting the monolith of a dog, only to instantly run into the monsters Showerhead, Rat, and Unicorn. And it's honestly, where are these weird ass monsters even originating from at the moment? I know, but still. Anyways, Garou, who literally can't be bothered with these subpar monsters, smashes a hole straight through the pathetic Showerhead. Kicking the neurodivergent battle off, Showerhead shoots at Garou with a burst of boiling water, with Rat throwing the unicorn monster at Garou, who ends up landing directly behind him. However, remember how Garou was literally just gapping it from the dimensional dog who navigated solely off sound? Well, a monstrous growl soon vibrates through the corridor, followed by a gigantic heat blast that completely fries the 3 pathetic monsters, leaving Garou with a quick moment to escape with Tario. Up on the surface, Saitama chills out, taking the shaking ground for another earthquake before going back to his reading. Back down below, Garou hops around the crumbling underground while running for his life and yelling at Tario to hurry up. However, the little man just isn't fast enough, and Garou is forced to take a point-blank, life-threatening blow directly from Pochi, which sends the already beaten and bruised Hero Hunter shooting through the underground floors towards the lower levels of the association. Getting back up after the attack, Garou puts everything he has into one more move and tries to blast back the dimensional pup, yet he is quickly demoralized and realizes that he has no effect on the creature. Instead, the Hero Hunter takes yet another blow and continues his uncontrollable destructive path as he once again flies through multiple levels of the underground base until he lands on the floor directly in front of the one and only Garou. Using his telekinesis, the monster instantly restrains Garou. However, instead of taking him out, he invites the infamous Hero Hunter to sit and talk with him. Looking down on him, he comments on Garou's incomplete monster transformation and explains on how he desires to elevate Garou into an even greater monster, not through physical powers like Garou questions, but through a specialized monsterification process. Garou continues that in order to accelerate the growth process, the human must repeatedly experience death over and over again in order to overwhelm the body and spirit. This is obviously a delicate balance, as the human can easily succumb to death during the process, and even successful candidates will stagnate due to their low intelligence. The key ingredient needed in this process is for the human to experience their very own personal hell. Despite all of this know-how, Garou never managed to create a monster with a disaster level of dragon, except for one. Suddenly, we then see a random woman wearing glasses approaching a silhouetted man. She states that the man has turned his back on humanity and is going crazy. Suddenly, it skips forth to a moment where this woman looks up towards the newly created Monster King Orochi. Garou mentions that Garou has qualities greater than Orochi, and through his battle with Royal Ripper and Bug God, Garou has broken through another wall of impassable limits. The psychic monster offers Garou to join forces, and under their guidance, together they will crush the heroes and Garou will attain the power to become the strongest monster alive. Garou, being himself though, refuses, but Garou refutes his ignorance, stating that he never had a choice. The monster reasserts Garou's powerlessness against them, by again reminding him of the binding and his psychic powers which dwarf the witch sisters Tatsumaki and Fubuki. Nevertheless though, Garou begins to somehow take a step as he is getting used to this level of control. Seeing this, the Esper disciplines Garou with force as rocks are thrown at him directly. In doing so though, it reveals to Garou a weakness in the Esper. He realizes that Garou can only perform one action at a time, and through this, he frees himself from the binding. Garou mocks the monster's ability and states that by killing the brain behind the monster association, it will naturally collapse in on itself afterwards. However, out of nowhere, Orochi suddenly intervenes, grabbing Garou and pulling him down to eye level with himself. Around the two of them, the stage suddenly reconstructs, and after a little bit of prodding from Garou begins to do battle against the Monster King Orochi. Orochi fires his horns at the Hero Hunter, piercing Garou and leaving a visible round hole in his abdomen. As the attacks continuously keep coming, Garou manages to defend himself while using the water stream rock smashing fist techniques and continuously staying on the move, killing random monsters as he does so. Then leaping at the head of the demon himself, mouths within mouths randomly begin morphing into one large jaw that almost bites down on Garou. Continuing with his ever-expanding arsenal of attacks, Orochi transforms into multiple serpent-like beings that seem to be a mixture of Hydras and Tyrannosaurus Rex heads. The multiple reptilian heads then fire a superheated flame blast directly at Garou, incinerating the entire stage in the process. Holding an amalgamation of monsters down like an arm, a large fist forms from the snake appendages, which he then uses to smack down directly against Garou again, sending him into a nearby wall. Garou calls for Garou to give up, but he refuses, bragging about his status as a genius combatant. He acknowledges Orochi's strength, but claims that he is missing the primal terror that makes him a true monster. Garou utilizes Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist and shifts into his fighting stance. Much to his surprise, Orochi copies his stance, and Garou informs him that Orochi too is a genius, in the same way as Garou, having managed to adopt his style as they fought against each other. As the fight renews, this time the dragon appendages all utilize Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist and pummel Garou back, sending him flying into the same wall he was previously just sent into. With him laying there seemingly defeated, Garou comments on Garou's lack of bloodlust, which is commonly found in monsters, despite his intense wish to become one. As such, Garou plans to thoroughly brainwash him into another ace of the Monster Association. Above them though, Saitama, who's still annoyed about the rumbling, looks down a manhole where he's certain he heard the noises come from. Over at the Hero Association, the S-Class heroes sit in a meeting for the upcoming mega battle against the strongest monsters inside of City Z. Suddenly, the A-Class rank 1 hero, Sweet Mask, rolls in like he owns the place and starts complaining, going on about how he's quite offended after hearing that he's not assigned with the S-Class heroes. Child Emperor desperately tries to explain to Amai that the A-Class heroes will stay above ground and play cleanup duty on any monsters escaping from the base. Annoyed with the idea of just being used as a backup though, Amai Mask retort to mocking the various S-Class heroes for just being a bunch of money-hungry fame dwellers, angering everyone in the room, turning the relatively chill atmosphere into a complete standoff between the Earth's strongest morons. Somehow though, King, who's just arrived, walks in, causing the extremely intense atmosphere to end and distracting Sweet Mask from the drama that he had just created. Meanwhile, the Hero Hunter team leaders Seekinga and Sitch arrive at the headquarters before the A-Class heroes. There, after Silverfang asks to leave, he's somewhat excused by Sitch, but it's enough for the suit to think that both Silverfang and Genos are untrustworthy. Luckily for them though, King's losing his absolute mind, realizing that his moments from having his true identity as a fraud exposed. He quickly darts away and tries to hide, but is instantly caught by the old dog. Curious as to why the rank 7 hero would be losing his mind in this situation, Bang questions him, which results in King actually spilling all of the info on how he's a complete coward and will die if he goes out on this mission. Thinking on the spot, Bang immediately decides to join him covertly with Saitama to assure his safety. After leaving and heading back to City Z, they find Fubuki and Genos already chilling out at Saitama's house, getting ready for their own unofficial invasion. Yet, before they can go anywhere, they need the bald man himself to get back, who, if you remember, already got distracted and finally decided to check out what was going on underneath his own property. With everyone else not wanting to wait any longer for Saitama, the group actually comes to a decision. Everyone will head out while Genos will stay back and wait for his sensei. However, unknown to the whole team, Saitama is already deep inside of the sewer system in search of that painfully annoying rumbling sound. Moving forward, the Hero Strike team finally arrives at the ghost town of City Z. Led by the looming Jigan, a variety of numerous beings begin surfacing from the ground below and surrounding the Hero Strike team. Evil Eye mocks the Hero Strike team due to their lack of numbers, and Child Emperor tallies the number of monsters to be over 150 that are surrounding them now. Tatsumaki disregards the numbers, while Puri Prisoner encourages his boys to stay behind him. Evil Eye then telekinetically lifts several buildings and explains his origins of being a weak psychic who was embedded with eyes from monsters killed by heroes before dropping the buildings on all of the heroes. Tatsumaki responds though by creating a barrier protecting the strike team, but it also leaves them to deal with the falling debris that come straight after. Puri Prisoner and Super Alloy Darkshine ultimately save Shadow Ring, Nasa Stoic, Gear Spur, Green, and Food Battler Futoshi from the falling debris above him. As Tatsumaki steps out to confront the monsters around them, Evil Eye, which is just like Jigan's other monster name by the way, declares that it will gouge out the eyes of the little Esper and her younger sister as an experiment, which angers Tatsumaki. Unleashing her anger through the destructive force, Tatsumaki uses her signature tornado move, lifting Jigan into the air with her Esper abilities, while at the same time below, the rest of the monsters attack and the supporting heroes all show off their skill. For the most part, the heroes actually find them easy meat and beat them all back, showing off their respective skills. Sweet Mask comments on Feather's potential, and Flashy Flash asks Shadow Ring where she learned her ninjutsu, to which she explains that she actually learned it from another place and not the one where Flashy Flash learned his. Super Ally Darkshine praises Mizuki's muscles, while he effectively blows up some monsters himself. Even the absolute G is getting in on the beatdown and shooting laser beams from his metallic eye while revealing his past desire to become a hero, although he failed his hero examination. More monsters suddenly show up, but Rhino Wrestler barges his way through. Once a Tiger level threat, Rhino Wrestler has trained enough and now can be rated as a Demon level threat according to Guro. The supporting heroes try to engage him, but Rhino Wrestler easily stops all of their attacks while also rating their effectiveness at the same time. From above, Atomic Samurai, who's honestly just had enough of watching the A-class heroes struggle against him, drops in, telling everyone to leave, while also slashing so quickly that the Rhino Wrestler doesn't even notice he's been cut until it's far too late. However, just before he did die, seeing this random drop down utterly infuriates Rhino, who goes to attack, but instinctively rates Atomic Samurai as 100 points before he explodes from the hero's attack. Other S-class heroes then easily wipe out the remaining filth, with Tatsumaki dropping down the remains of Jigan. Puri Prisoner is surprised that Evil Eye managed to retain his form, but hearing this, Tatsumaki wipes out the monster until nothing is left at all. Above, Gyoro's spy drone is cut in two by Child Emperor, yet the alien states that he has already seen enough of the battle to gauge their strength, although he would have preferred to see King in action. The rest of the S-class heroes take their routes into the Monster Association, with Atomic Samurai's disciples following him. Flashy Flash goes over the information on the transmitter before he is suddenly accosted by a group of weak monsters. Obviously, he absolutely dunks on those poor fools, only to come face to face with Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame soon after. Now, these two flamboyant boys, who are also extremely fast, compliment Flashy Flash on his speed, as he unsuccessfully tries to kill them. They continue their battle, with Hellfire Flame using his steel wires like a net, almost turning Flashy Flash into a bunch of ninja sashimi. But Flashy somehow manages to escape, cutting the whole wall, causing the two to flip the floor and take the clash to an underground setting. All the while, Flashy Flash tries his best to determine who hired them. Galewind jokingly asks him if it could be Aburaboza, the king of organ traders who hired him, but Flashy Flash denies the idea, saying that he had already killed him. On top of that, Flashy states that he had already killed Harold the drug kingpin, Hearts Collector Buragura, Phantom Chief Chimagusa, the invincible pirate Captain Devilstorm, and the higher-ups of the Coalition of Assassins. While hearing this, Galewind remains uninjured and the trio continue their battle. They mock Flashy, saying that they're at their peak of their physical strength now, until Flashy Flash, amidst their supersonic battle, dashes in and lightly grazes both of their cheeks. However, while doing this, he notices that there's more to these demon level monsters, and beckons them to unleash their true form. The duo then morph into their monster forms, revealing to be dragon level threats, and instantly vault towards Flashy Flash in an attempt to try and kill him. Striking against Flash's blade, Gale whips out his blazing scattering slash. However, the much more experienced Flashy Flash bears the blow easily before pointing his blade at his enemy and using one of his own moves, the heavy Flashy Slash, to destroy Hellfire Flame's sword, splitting his blade in two. The impact is so deadly in fact that the whole bridge behind them crumbles down as a result. Galewind expresses astonishment at Flashy Flash's technical prowess, and the monster decides to abandon the battle as ninjas, to instead fight using brute strength and speed. The two then come at Flash, punching and slashing at him at the same time with blinding speed. However, once Flashy Flash decides to finally become serious, he strikes them both with a series of supersonic karate kicks, enough to uncoordinate them, allowing Flashy Flash to slice the two in half with his lethal Flashy Slash, ending both of their lives. With the area collapsing around and behind him, Flashy Flash decides to leave and try to find some other people. After running for a moment, he arrives at a junction and decides to use his locator to figure out his location, only to realise that he's sadly lost it during the heat of battle. While walking down a passageway and monitoring what the other heroes are doing, Child Emperor realises that Flashy Flash's transmitter seems to have failed. Yet, before he can think on it any longer, a random monster tries to attack him, only to quickly be shot dead by one of his robots protecting him. He then finds the remains of a destroyed Metal Knight robot and notes that someone appears to have attempted to reassemble it and has disassembled some parts with real expertise. He is concerned that there may be a robotics expert working with the Monster Association, and the technology that was developed to fight against the monsters may end up being used against the heroes themselves. He then decides to try salvaging some of the information from the remains of the robot in hopes of finding out where the hostage Wagon Ma is being held. It's revealed that the robot yields a detailed map showing where the hostage is held, causing Child Emperor to get angry that Metal Knight refused to share this information, despite knowing it. He calms himself and unwraps a sweet to eat when he suddenly notices that Octo Tank has been destroyed by Phoenix Man, who asks if he was here to play. Phoenix Man monologues while standing there about his role within the Monster Association and his backstory in life, before suddenly attacking Child Emperor, only to run hard into an invisible shield. As the monster reels back in pain, Child Emperor notes that this was a lightweight shield he developed and it could even be folded and wrapped around sweets. He then simply executes Phoenix Man with an array of tools that spring out of his gadgetized backpack. Running over to the cells, he rescues Wagon Ma by gassing the monsters guarding the hostage cell while protecting him with a frog-themed gas mask. As the duo are about to leave, the sludge jellyfish oozes his way in and attempts to crush Child Emperor, only to realise that this is unsuccessful as Child Emperor has put up a shield generated by his umbrella. He tries to cut up the sludge jellyfish with some of his gadgets, which he finds completely ineffective because of how the jellyfish is constructed, before analysing and defeating the monster suddenly by dousing it with liquid fuel and setting it alight. Honestly, the fact that this dude is like 12 and has the balls to somehow be able to fight anything is just like pure insanity. Plus, he has the brain power to be able to use these gadgets in the heat of the moment. Like, it just makes Child Emperor one of the better heroes out there in my eyes. Like, probably a top 5 hero within the Hero Association in terms of like, is he actually a good person, to be honest. Dude's straight up insane for his actual age. But anyway, as the two then escape, he notes that something appears to be up ahead and sends a toy tank out as a sentry. Instantly though, the tank is destroyed and Machine God G5 appears. Child Emperor attempts to disable the machine using a high voltage cable and a jamming signal, but G5 defeats his attempts with ease and continues his approach. After confronting the young duo, G5 is able to resist the attacks of Child Emperor's enemy machine disabling device, Bug-kun, and swiftly destroys it as well. Quickly thinking on the spot on what to do, Child Emperor releases his underdogs, then combines them into Mad Dog robots. While G5's hampered by Child Emperor's birdline missiles, he unleashes the newly combined underdog Cerberus to go over and stall him some more, leaving Child Emperor and Wagon Ma to escape. Running away, the duo come across Phoenix Man's shredded body, and Wagon Ma mentions that he recognises the costume from a comedy show called Animal Kingdom. The character had an uncanny ability to revive itself no matter how many times it dies. As Child Emperor ponders on this information, a flash of light blazes behind them, revealing, of course, the Phoenix Man, who suddenly resurrected into a new, dragon-level threat. Child Emperor confronts the monster and uses his 5 layers of transparent film to try and protect himself, but it is broken through by Phoenix Man's piercing beak attack. Frustrated at his uselessness, tears flow down his cheeks and Child Emperor is forced to summon his ultimate weapon, the Mecha Brave Giant. The monster hideout rumbles as the robotic parts come flying in, connecting with Child Emperor and smashing into Phoenix Man multiple times. Not bothered by this though, Phoenix Man correctly deduces that the mecha has limitations, and simultaneously, Child Emperor is confirmed of his giant's power limit of 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Phoenix Man, who's interested in Child Emperor and his costume, decides to send him into the Phoenix Space, a mental world connected by those who wear costumes instead of resuming their battle. Phoenix Man then reveals his intentions to scout Child Emperor, believing that he has the perfect requirements to become a great costume monster, just like him. The monster explains to the hero how he could never trust anyone while working as a mascot, and reasons that Child Emperor also desires someone to trust. He tries to be that person, offering to create a new organization built on spiritual unity, and to the child's shock, Phoenix Man grabs his hand, kneels down, and tells the hero he needs his strength. Phoenix Man tries his utmost to monsterize the child and guide him on the proper path to become a costume monster. Refusing the strength though, the child hero manages to escape the Phoenix space and slams the costume monster back with his mecha suit. In retaliation, the monster activates his Prominence Hawk mode to push Brave Giant away, sending him back, crashing through several pillars. Phoenix Man takes the fighting stance and tells his opponent that after seeing his power, he thought the child would change his mind. He then swiftly lands multiple strikes on Brave Giant, having changed into his Phoenix Fire Falcon mode to increase his speed. Then circling like a shark, the costume chicken begins swirling around the mecha, declaring that he would rip off that armor with ease like a peeling apple, as a means of forcing Child Emperor to grow beyond his limits several times and begin his monsterification. Trying to fight back, Child Emperor unsheathes an energy whip and uses the 20,000-fold rope skip grinder technique, which acts as an electrical rope connecting with Phoenix Man, sending him crashing into a pillar. The two then fly around before Phoenix Man sends his flares out as a visual distraction, which Brave Giant manages to block. To Phoenix Man's surprise though, he suddenly becomes trapped in electromagnetic webbing that was secretly placed by Child Emperor while flying around earlier. Now stuck, the hero lands a direct hit on the immobilized Phoenix. Somehow though, the costume freak manages to block the punch and activates his full power, the scorching 10,000 degrees Celsius Prominence Hawk burst, which immediately begins to melt Brave Giant's fist. Child Emperor, thinking quickly and having discovered a water source below, unleashes the output limiter on his mecha, which sends the duo shooting down at top speeds towards the quickly approaching ground. As they connect with the liquid, the impact of the attack unleashes copious amounts of water, which manages to drag Saitama, who's just randomly appeared along with the child hero along a strong current. Child Emperor tries to rescue Saitama, but Phoenix Man manages to reappear, having changed forms into his Phoenix Penguin mode. In his new form, he can manipulate ice and uses Phoenix Arctic Iceberg attack to send the hero crashing through another floor, which just happens to be the grave of the subterranean people. Taking a moment, Child Emperor releases Wagon Ma so he can share in the barrier with Saitama, whom he believes to obviously just be an innocent bystander stuck in this mess. Phoenix Man closes in and unleashes an energy blast directly on Child Emperor. The hero tries to retaliate, but the monster notes that it's utterly useless and decides to bring Child Emperor back into the Phoenix space. The monster shows Child Emperor the corpses of the subterranean people as an example of those who fell because their ideals did not match, while monsters with costumes are different, as they share the same spirit. Using the link they share, Phoenix Man reveals some dark truths about the hero association to Child Emperor, like what exactly the higher-ups have been doing behind the scenes. Phoenix Man explains more of his backstory as a mascot who was unjustly fired, how he kept his costume on but eventually couldn't remove it, changing him into a monster. Child Emperor is shocked and unnerved by the truth that he was told, and nearly accepts Phoenix Man's offer to grab true glory with him as a monster. But out of nowhere, Saitama appears, saying that becoming a monster doesn't give one glory at all. Suddenly, Zombie Man comes through in the communicator, updating the child on the situation and saying how the weaknesses Child Emperor had hypothesized about the enemy robots were spot on. He goes on to thank him on behalf of all of the heroes and says that he's glad the young Emperor is here, which causes the young dude to form tears in his eyes. Zombie Man offers to get milkshakes after the invasion and asks if everything's okay with Child Emperor, who states that everything is fine and hopes Zombie Man remains well before resuming his own battle with Phoenix Man. Turning it up a notch, Costume God unleashes rays of light, which somehow reanimates all of the corpses of the subterranean people, as well as Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame, who all instantaneously attack Child Emperor's Brave Giant. Phoenix Man then tries to forcibly give Child Emperor a monster cell, signing it in through the cracks of the suit. Child Emperor spits out the monster cell and says to Phoenix Man that while his speech was amusing, a hero doesn't just wear a costume, and being a hero comes from within, which goes back to how the dude was previously fighting without even his suit and just gadgets alone. Phoenix, who's obviously just aggravated by the child's disrespect and rejection of his peaceful offer, declares that he will be the one to completely ravage his body. As a last resort, Child Emperor unleashes his Gigavolt Smash, a large surge of electricity which also as a side effect happens to shock Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame back to their senses, but completely destroys his mecha in the process, sending him flying directly towards his enemy. Seeing this, Phoenix Man attempts to finish the child off, but in his eyes is sadly stopped by Saitama. Phoenix Man mocks Child Emperor for abandoning his suit before time ran out, though Child Emperor resorts by saying that the monster relies too much on his suit, causing the costume freak to crack up laughing at this, claiming that the child cannot defeat him without Brave Giant, and his attacks before only managed to scratch his eye. Suddenly though, Phoenix Man begins a mad fit of painful laughter, completely unable to stop. Standing there, Child Emperor reveals that he slid a tickle bug into the gap between his face and his beak. He explains that if he wants the sensation to stop, then the monster has to take off his suit. Though, still defiant, Phoenix Man utterly refuses this idea. Randomly, Phoenix's body suddenly begins to glow once more, before it completely and utterly detonates. Once the dust finally settles, it's shown that the costume goon has transformed into a monster chick man, an extremely weak monster the size of a baby chick. Obviously this causes the end of the battle and makes Child Emperor the confirmed winner. Saitama compliments Child Emperor for his bravery and tenacity during the battle, calling him a good hero, and the young man returns his compliments to the bald hero for his help throughout it as well. Quickly though, he remembers who Saitama is and begins to grow suspicious that Genos is indeed a traitor since Saitama was so deep inside of the enemy base. Anyway, remember how those two ninjas just got brought back to life? Well, due to the electric attack correcting their senses, they notice Child Emperor and attempt to take him hostage to lure Flashy Flash, but Saitama knocks them both out before they can even retaliate. Child Emperor looks up their information and discovers that they're both S-class criminals. He's impressed with the fact that Saitama managed to defeat both of them, only being B-class at this point. Or at least I think he's B-class at this point, he might even be C-class still, but I can't actually remember at this point in the script. I haven't gone back and watched the anime for a little while. Anyway, Child Emperor offers to take Saitama to the surface with Wagon Ma, when out of nowhere, Underdog Man Mode Cerberus appears, having survived his encounter with G5. All of them then get on Underdog Man's back and proceed to jump up to the surface, which is just so hacks of an escape tool. While soaring through the air, some of Orochi's dragons appear and chase them, though Saitama easily obliterates the dragons and wonders if they were responsible for the noises caused below his house, as remember that's literally what he's trying to solve right now. Child Emperor asks Wagon Ma if there were any other hostages, but being a coward and wanting to get to the surface as soon as possible, he lies, saying that there was no one else. Skipping away from the trio, somewhere else Zombie Man wanders around the monster-laden maze, leaving a trail of shot, chopped, squished, and squashed monsters in his wake. After a while, he meets a crowd of cowardly monsters that direct him into a room, stating that they won't attack and only want him to fight something in there. Zombie Man complies and walks into the room, which the monsters bar off behind him. Before him, the ominous batty figure of a monster called Pureblood cascades down. The filthy menace of a monster has been chomping down on so many of its fellow monsters that they've led an undying hero to kill him. With the crowd of weaker monsters all cheering around, Zombie Man and Pureblood engage in their battle, with the vicious monster sinking his teeth into the hero and blasting the guy with his own bullets. However, we're talking about Zombie Man, a literal death-cheating demon here. Like the man doesn't even know how his own ability works. Even with a blown off head, Zombie Man still retaliates back, bombing a hole straight through the monster. Quickly, Pureblood grabs the nearest beam before devouring it and healing himself. Zombie Man continues battling against the monster, and after 200 entire deaths, which have taken at least 30 minutes, the poor monster who stood absolutely no chance lays there exhaustedly dead. After the battle, he remarks that he hasn't fought someone as strong as Pureblood for some time, and that it has left him a little bit tired. Before escaping though, the hero simply bends the door's bars around the handle to lock the room, and turns to wipe out the remaining monsters who had watched his fight with Pureblood. Afterwards, he walks out of the room covered in monster parts, then decides to sit down to heal himself for a bit and smoke a cigarette while checking his locator. Over their communication gear, Child Emperor reports that he has rescued the hostage, Wagon Ma, and is bringing him to the surface. He also orders all of the heroes to continue their assigned missions, but warns them not to venture too far into the Monster Association headquarters. In some other part of the monster maze, Pigod runs into the great food tub monster and begins to battle. The sound of their battle is overheard by Ian, Bushidrill, and Okamatachi, who quickly refocus their attention on the mind-controlled mercenaries and Do S. The disciples, who constantly live on that motto of having to live up to Atomic's teachings, engage Do S as she flails her whip directly at them. With an insane amount of muscled mercenaries helping her out, Do S sees the cluster struggling and lashes out at one of the disciples. However, the devilish pretty boy in my mask drops in, blocking the attack and catching the filthy whip in one clean grab, while telling the others to move on as it is a bad matchup for them. Iron and Bushidrill protest though, unsure of letting Sweet Mask fight them by himself, but Okamatachi convinces them to move on and let Sweet Mask fight in their place. DOSS tells Sweet Mask that she is actually a fan of him and offers to unbrainwash the slaves in exchange for just spending time with him. Sweetmask tells her that bargaining won't work against him though, and in response, the monster princess immediately attacks by ordering her slaves to overwhelm the hero, confidently stating that she would make him her own. Meanwhile, the disciples dash off to another area discussing what a Mai solution could be. Ayan explains that he believes he would simply be planning to kill all of the brainwashed mercenaries. Initially, Ayan was confused and disbelieving about Sweetmask's true nature, just like the others are currently, but eventually it became fairly obvious to them that Sweetmask's actions aren't that of a hero, but a cold-blooded murderer, remembering what he once did to the surviving dark matter thieves. As the blood-hungry Sweetmask attempts to slice the entire squad's heads with his hand, the disciples return to the battle by knocking the brainwashed mercenaries out with surprise attacks before Sweetmask can callously murder them. However, the surprise attack gives Sweetmask a chance to grab the princess's whip and slam her head into the wall, completely disorientating her. Standing there, Amai is displeased that the swordsman came back and intervened with his conduct of justice. However, the swordsman, having figured out Sweet's real plan, pretend that they believe that he had sent them away to merely lower the enemy's guard. Knowing Sweetmask's suspicion of them, Ayan tells his fellow swordsman to go along with the threatening and apologizes to him for the misunderstanding. Over in the Manacle Man's mind, the dude is fully contemplating whether or not to murder the swordsman as well, because he believes that they are now evil since they unhandedly helped the evil accomplices. Before Sweetmask can fully consider his actions, the freed Narinki squad thanks the heroes for saving them. Obviously it was Sweetmask that actually saved them as he whacked Do-S into the wall, knocking her out and releasing her control over them. Anyway, standing there slightly confused, Amai watches the scene in silence. However, the monster princess manages to wrap her leg around the hero's throat and pierces his eye with her tongue while his guard is down. Having thought she hurt the hero, Do-S is shocked when she sees that the hero's right eye isn't even actually bleeding, and instead his eye and face are merely cracked, revealing that he is indeed not human. Before Do-S can reveal who Sweetmask truly is to the other heroes, her head is instantly crushed, killing her. The freed mercenaries rush towards Sweetmask and ask him if he's alright, but the hero claims he's fine, having already regenerated the damage inflicted on him by the monsters. Instantly, the Narinki squad realize who Amai is and start fanboying over him. Annoyed with all of the fanboying, Sweet decides to entrust the three swordsmen with taking them back to the surface, while he remains on the battlefield below. So there have been a few retcons for the upcoming chapters here, so the flow in between some of these certain parts can get a little bit whack. I'm assuming here, I just haven't been able to find the retcon chapter, but probably after beginning to head to the exit with the mercenaries, Ayan, Bushidrall and Okomatachi continue battling more monsters. Slicing up the ground below them, they descend to a lower floor and encounter the mysterious being Devil Longhair. Okomatachi is romantically entranced by the monster's beauty, but manages to restrain herself. Instead, she swings her blade, producing a killer air blade that shoots through the sky, connecting with the monster. But to the three's bewilderment, the monster easily blocks it with his hair. Just then, more strings of hair literally start appearing through the floor from the ground below, almost stabbing Okomatachi. However, Bushidrall slices the attacks away. While fighting against this monster, the three are reminded of their master Atomic's wise words. To achieve this, they all go beyond the limits of their human bodies to face this atrocity of a monster. Meanwhile, Puri Prisoner is engaged in combat with several monsters. As the dust clears, we see a glimpse of a seemingly intact Puri Prisoner who is still standing. Back with the swordsmen, Ayan, Okomatachi and Bushidrall are shown battered from their battle with the Devil Longhair. After having cut through every single strand of Devil Longhair's locks, he collapses, commenting that it was his Achilles heel. Surprised by their victory, the disciples comment that they wouldn't have won individually, and worry that more monsters of that level may exist deeper into the monster headquarters. As Ayan thinks about his master, we jump over to the S-Class legend himself cutting down several monsters, when all of a sudden, a sword-wielding monster called Sword Devil Executioner, who praises Atomic's skills, appears. Surprised by any kind of monster that could survive his first slash, Atomic Samurai instantly cuts down his opponent before the monster knows what even happened. Atomic then asks any monster around him not dead to raise their hand. And G5, remember that random droid child emperor was fighting before? Well, he raises his mechanical arm and says that he analysed all of Atomic's moves and quickly begins a high-speed sword duel with the samurai. Atomic comments that the modern day toys have become interesting and says that he'd like to buy one, prompting G5 to begin its attack. Despite copying Atomic's slash with two swords, G5 still easily loses to Atomic Samurai, who slices his foe into hundreds of metal pieces, while looking quite disappointed about the robot's overall durability and performance. However, he soon notices that he isn't cut through the core of Machine God, due to it being made of an unidentified material harder than its exterior. Suddenly, a laser beam appears in the middle of a dust cloud shooting out towards Atomic, but he still comfortably deflects it with ease and sends an air blade of his own back to counter. As the flying slash penetrates the smoke, Atomic realizes that his opponent sealed inside of the robot has already escaped, and says that he'll have to leave it to the service team of heroes. Meanwhile, Atomic's disciples once again are having a conversation with Norinki's private squad. The group of mercenaries admit to being envious of the way the three swordsmen can cancel out their own bloodlust during fights, and invite them to join the private military company they actually work for. The disciples all refuse though, because the hero activity actually integrates with their training. When Bushido asks Tongara if they are interested in hero work or swordsmanship, the mercenary leader replies saying that these things can actually get in the way of their combat style, and explains how being a mercenary forces people to use dirty moves, like acting scared to deceive enemies. As an example, Tongara brings up the fact that the entire team was actually acting when crying in front of the monsters. However, like in reality, we all know for a damn fact that all of them were crying for real. Ian appears to be impressed by the teamwork of the squad, and finds it important that heroes like them follow their example. Now jumping over to the absolutely petrified child Tario, as he's being chased by Black S, I can't say his name obviously, when suddenly a slash from Atomic Samurai cuts through, stopping the monster and forcing him to dodge. Sticking with the jumping around, now we fly to the surface team of heroes as they are seen dispatching many low-level monsters trying to escape from underground. Building Booper, a demon level threat, shows up and blocks the striking hero's team escape route on the surface by causing several buildings around to collapse with explosives. Child Emperor's group finally manages to find the exit hole, but annoyingly the manhole is blocked by two collapsed buildings above it. Together, Saitama, Child Emperor, Underdog Man and Wagenma simultaneously push the manhole in an attempt to open it. Above them, Sekinga asks Screen to somehow make another exit for Child Emperor to escape through. However, he and several other heroes are amazed when randomly two collapsed buildings along with Building Booper are suddenly sent flying into the air, followed by Child Emperor then showing up with Wagenma, Saitama and Underdog Man. Not knowing that Saitama's strength is actually what allowed them to open the manhole, the other heroes express their surprise at Child Emperor's impressive capabilities. Sekinga then notices Saitama and asks Child Emperor about his identity, to which he answers that he rescued Saitama too and says that he is a hero. As Sekinga questions whether or not Saitama was taken hostage, Saitama responds saying that he went underground just to complain about the noises he heard, which greatly angers Sekinga, who then tells him to get out of his sight. Then literally doing just as the captain says so, Saitama leaves them, just to secretly go back underground to continue trying to find the source of the rumbling. Child Emperor informs the striking team heroes via his transmitter about Wagenma's safety, which actually brings the main reason for their attack on the Monster Association to an end. As he finishes speaking, Zombie Man comes on the mic and praises Child Emperor for a job well done. Hearing this, the young man is happy that Zombie Man responded in that moment. Amai responds too, saying that he will continue trying to carry out justice inside of the monster hideout. The next hero, Pig God, while digesting something, also notes that nothing is out of the ordinary with him currently. Then finally, Atomic Samurai informs them that he found another child who had been pursued by a black sticky substance inside of the Monster Association's base, much to Child Emperor's surprise. Wagenma instantly realizes that it is Tario that Atomic Samurai was talking about, and starts freaking out. However, before Child Emperor can ask for the location, the transmitter cuts off. Due to the realization that there are many other people trapped inside, the young hero decides to go back and rescue the child while helping out Atomic. Wagenma, who's literally just trying to cover his rich behind, advises him to not go back and instead tells the child to let the other heroes do their job, as he has already used his ultimate weapon while saving him. Child Emperor though is still determined to go back, but refuses any form of help, stating that they have to guard the surface in case anyone tries to escape. Wagenma, mustering all of his courage, reveals to Child Emperor about the child's identity being Tario, and describes his identity to him. Wagenma apologizes for not telling Child Emperor before, as he was too scared and didn't want him to go back. Child Emperor, hearing this, simply appreciates the information and comforts Wagenma shortly before leaving to rescue Tario. Which is honestly just pretty nice of the rich kid for once. Like when I was first reading this, I never expected to get a redemption arc from the rich little brat, but I guess we did here. Anyway, shooting over to the duo, Atomic Samurai and Black S begin talking to each other. Black S gets angry though because Atomic Samurai attacked him earlier without warning. Big Kamikaze gets cocky and says that he had no business with him, causing Black S to morph and form an enormous muscular arm before asking if he is looking down on him. Atomic Samurai, who literally just doesn't care, answers with a yes before swiftly cutting the arm off and mentioning that he's fought countless battles with similar losers who can transform and shapeshift into giants, so because of that he's used to these type of opponents. Randomly though, a second Black S then appears from the remnants of the arm that had just been cut off, causing Kamikaze to get annoyed at this gimmick of his. Standing there, Black S asks Atomic if he still thinks he has a chance to win, noting that he has a countless number of Black S's merged into one entity, and explains that no matter how many times he's killed, he will keep on multiplying. Atomic Samurai, still greatly underestimating the monster, rapidly cuts his head off while confidently saying that he just has to shower the countless number of multiple forms with countless slashes to win. Black S though continues to mock Atomic Samurai, as the hero still continues to slash him into countless pieces. As those said pieces then begin to quickly surround him and regrow into new selves, Atomic Samurai just slashes them again and again. However, they just reappear in even larger numbers, jumping on him and getting slashed into even more pieces until eventually, Atomic Samurai finds himself faced with such a massive amount of clones that it completely surrounds him in every single direction. With overwhelming numbers, Black S pummels Atomic Samurai over and over again, knocking the hero to the ground and severely injuring him. Still surrounding him, the monster then begins to taunt Atomic Samurai, telling him that he is the worst possible matchup for the hero, and that there is no possible way Atomic Samurai could ever win in this bout. Laying there and out of options, Atomic Samurai quickly cuts the roof, resulting in the ceiling collapsing in on all of them. The ensuing collapse results in powerful vibrations felt by Zombie Man, who expresses concern over how the battle may be going for other heroes. Without warning, Homeless Emperor, who is legit probably my favourite creation of a fictional character, appears behind him and questions his concerns over the death of his fellow heroes. Before Zombie Man has time to react though, Homeless Emperor blasts him point blank with a beam of pure energy. It's explained that his attack here is solely acting as a means of demonstrating to the hero how the other heroes are currently being dealt with. Thinking that he's murked the hero, he expresses disappointment over how quickly Zombie Man was taken out, before going on to state out loud that he will be the one to kill all 17 of the S-Class heroes alone. Taking him by surprise though, a completely regenerated Zombie Man emerges from the smoke and lunges at him with an axe, only to be countered and shot on the head with a concentrated blast of energy. Man, I actually love the battle between these two, just my favourite monster and hero going absolutely ham on each other. I can't actually get over how, dope of a character Zombie Man truly is. Dude's honestly just a normal human with the ability that he can regenerate no matter what happens to him. He doesn't even have a specific point in his body that needs to be destroyed, he can just regenerate. It's actually insane. With his opponent disabled, Homeless Emperor stares at his body. Randomly though, a sudden gunshot shoots out from his upper body. Homeless Emperor unflinchingly counters the attack and blows Zombie Man away with another attack, sending him crashing into a wall. Zombie Man quickly regenerates and removes the pistol stored within his body, firing several shots at his opponents. Homeless Emperor quickly counters with several orbs of energy, sending them all towards the hero, resulting in a large-scale explosion. As the smoke clears, Zombie Man's charred, unmoving body stands before Homeless Emperor, who compliments his presumed dead opponent for having lived up to the expectations of a top hero, strong and unfaltering even in death. As we all know though, this man literally can't die, and as he starts to regenerate, he asks Homeless Emperor what he is, but mainly as a way to buy time for his body to regenerate. As Homeless Emperor is slightly arrogant, he obliges, telling him the story on how his powers originated. He says that until a month ago, he was living at the park as a homeless man. He had lost his job, gotten kicked out by his landlord, distanced himself from human society, and began living as a complete hermit. He recalls how he was forced to dance naked in front of his boss at his new employee welcoming party, only to get fired the very next day for harassment. Which is honestly pretty damn sad when you think about it. But when he stared into the sky that night, the resentment he felt towards his boss and other such things no longer seemed to matter to him. For to him, the earth was greater than any man-made structure and the sky brighter than any man-made light. Humanity was an insignificant existence on the greater earth. Realizing all of this made him see his home as the earth itself, which was grander than any mansion. Then one day, Homeless Emperor had a life-changing realization. He realized that humans have abandoned the ecosystem Mother Earth had built up and thrived under new, self-made rules. He thought that everyone was utterly foolish, and that's when he came to another realization, that he was being walked over by such foolish beings. He could no longer bear the reality of it, which left him borderline on the edge of life, as death was the only way to return to true coexistence with Mother Earth. Right then though, an entity Homeless Emperor claims to be God appeared before him. This so-called God agrees with Homeless Emperor's views on humans, but he has no need to die, instead granting him the powers he has now, stating that he should know what to do with it before disappearing just as quickly as he entered. Homeless Emperor says that his power is a divine power granted to him by God, and the reason he was chosen was because he knew the answer, which was that humans were a harmful existence to the planet, and that the time has come for him to destroy the entirety of its existence and civilization to rebuild the planet's true ecosystem. Zombie Man, who's still trying to stall, asks him why he believed the entity to be God, while thinking that the situation is bad because his body hasn't fully finished recovering. Homeless Emperor, knowing that Zombie Man was doubting the existence of God in his story, responds that there is no need for him to believe in God, and the price of his arrogance will be his death. Skipping away from the divine homeless man, we find that various monsters find their attacks on Puri Puri Prisoner have no effect regardless of their variety. Puri Puri Prisoner explains to them that embracing their pain with love allows him to take those hits and dubs the special power as Angel Star Hug. Realizing their strength wouldn't be enough, the monsters flee, only to be stopped by the demon-level monster, Bakwama, who inhales the fleeing monsters. Instantly, the monster then fires a variety of attacks at the hero, but Puri Puri Prisoner still remains undeterred. The monster mocks him for flinching, but Puri Puri Prisoner reveals that it was the creation of his new style of fighting, Vibration Star Angel. The hero then dashes forward and completely smashes through Bakwama, ending the monster's life. Soon after, Puri Puri Prisoner hears the voices of his monstified boys and expresses dismay at the inmates' predicaments. Believing that the inmates were forced to do the Monster Association's bidding, he vows to save them. The inmates, who absolutely hate the hero though, attempt to explain their hatred to Puri Puri Prisoner, but he continually ignores it. Nyan then interjects and says that once a human becomes a monster, they will never turn back, before slashing Puri Puri Prisoner, severely injuring him. As the rest of the inmates then dash in on the injured hero, Puri Puri Prisoner stands strong and declares that as long as the heart is human, then they will always be his boys. Noticing that his body is covered with hair, Puri Puri Prisoner uses it as a shield and dubs it Angel Star Bristol Armor. Nyan, disturbed by Puri Puri Prisoner's strange personality, decides to leave him to the other cadres and escapes through a narrow crack. The crazed prisoner though gives chase after thinking up a new technique called Angel Star Crawl, but accidentally crushes his fellow inmates in the debris, killing almost all of them. Seeing all of his boys fallen before him, he loses his armored hair and accepts their sacrifice by avenging their lives and taking out the Nyan cat. Elsewhere, a monster watches in horror as Pig God devours his monster comrades after mistakenly thinking that the hero would have been a good feed for them. Pig God notices the other monster watching and grabs him, putting it into his mouth as it screams desperately for its life. Gums, another monster, then sneaks up from behind Pig God and swallows the hero. Initially, Pig God struggles to escape, but eventually Gums is forced to spit him out, leaving the two to engage in a battle of the beasts. Somewhere else inside of the Monster Association's base, Super Alloy Darkshine encounters Bug God and was initially discouraged by Bug God's boasts, but after attacking the monster, is let down by the dude's weak strength. Super Alloy Darkshine tells the monster that along with King and Tatsumaki, he is one of the 3 heroes that you must never anger. Back over with the swordsmen and the mercenaries, as they try to sneak past some enemies, one of the monsters asks for the password, and not knowing the answer, both the heroes and mercenaries begin attacking the monsters. One of the monsters manages to escape, and using his abilities is able to open a vault. Tracking the escaped monster, the heroes and the mercenaries are able to find the same vault. After opening it, it's revealed that it contains the infamous Evil Natural Water Monster and Mad Dr. Fish. Master Joe starts explaining what the Evil Natural Water is, and why it's kept in a tank. The monster then gets shot several times in the back by Tongara, but somehow it still manages to push the lever and opens the tank that is containing the Evil Natural Water Monster. Instantly, Master Joe gets eaten alive by Mad Dr. Fish while the other heroes are stalled fighting against the water monster. The disciples and the mercenaries retreat and try to close the vault door, but Evil Natural Water Monster manages to get out of the vault just before they lock the door. Once escaping, the monster fires 2 massive jet streams at Ian and the mercenaries, an attack so powerful that it is able to put a hole in Ian's steel sword, but they're just able to dodge and counter-attack. They manage to get behind a wall to protect themselves, and once they can attack, Tongara aims for the monster's eyes instead, as it seems to be the only solid part to him. The cadre then senses that Tongara is trying to harm it, and counter-attacks with a high-speed jet stream that shoots a hole through the poor mercenary's chest. Bushido tries to help the mercenary, but the monster fires several water jets at the hero, stopping them from getting too close. Tongara though, who's built slightly differently, is able to save Bushido by pushing him out of the attack, yet he unfortunately is mortally wounded by the monster's deadly water blasts. Having had his life already saved, Bushido is left utterly speechless after what just happened. Ian and Okamatachi then bring Tongara to a safe place, while the older samurai uses his attacks to block the monster's path. Once catching back up with the group, Bushido quickly heads over to quickly talk to Tongara while he is still alive. As the Evil Natural Water smashes at the samurai's defenses, Tongara tells the 3 swordsmen his name, and they all do the same. He then advises them to escape while they still can, and he'll stay back to hold off the monster as much as he can. As the 3 end up running away, Tongara is left alone thinking that he is truly an idiot. All the while, the Evil Natural Water Monster, who hasn't stopped his attacks on their defenses, bursts through the wall, with the Mad Dr. Fish accompanying him. Finally, we skip back over to the bald King Saitama, literally dunking on a poor monster. As he moves forward, leaving the bodies of other monsters behind him, Overgrown Rover or Pochi confronts him. Saitama, who's so chill about like absolutely everything, simply gives a bone to Rover. However, the hero is violently attacked by the monster with multiple energy blasts that are so powerful they destroy a large portion of the Monster Association's base. Saitama, who's absolutely unharmed, simply jumps from the explosions and punches Rover with enough force to shake the entire Monster Association headquarters. The other monsters and heroes sense the force of the punch, and even up on the surface an even larger earthquake happens, shaking up the area, leaving the surface hero team absolutely clueless to what just happened below them. Close enough to have seen Saitama defeat Rover with one punch, Nian sneaks up behind him and uses his super feline retribution attack against him, but the hero isn't affected at all. Instead, the cat monster ends up running away out of fear for the beast of a human that he just tried to attack. Deep down in the base below everything, Garou is shown seated on his throne, thinking about the battle situation, when all of a sudden, Tatsumaki appears at the monster's side, asking if he is worried about the cadres being wiped out. Curiously bossy, Terrible Tornado then asks Garou if he is the boss, but the monster just welcomes the hero to the base, stating that she is someone they must take care of personally. The monster then introduces himself to Tatsumaki, explaining his position as the military advisor of the Monster Association, and sadistically tells the female Esper to drop dead as he suddenly uses his psychic powers to pelt at and surround Tatsumaki with several large boulders. As the monster surrounds Tatsumaki with these rocks, he attempts to compact them all into a small sphere and crush Tatsumaki, but the female Esper effortlessly breaks free before belittling Garou for his weak psychic abilities. In retaliation, the Esper sends several rocks flying at Garou, who barely manages to put up a psychic barrier in time, although Tatsumaki does manage to break through the psychic barrier and take out some of the monster's arm in the process. Seeing that he's in danger, the monster decides to use its maximum power and fight with its true form. As he unleashes the full extent of his power, his body increases several times in size, and several eyes begin to pop up all over his monster body. The monster proceeds to use his psychic powers to surround Tatsumaki with high gravity waves, then sadistically remarks that he will turn the Esper into a dried persimmon. Which, honestly, I didn't have a clue what the hell this fruit was. I literally had to Google it to find out, and it's some fruit from Asia, just looking at it I'm assuming, because I've never seen it before over in Oceania. Anyways, as you all probably expected though, the number 2 hero is practically unaffected, mockingly saying that the gravity waves were loosening the stiff shoulders she had gotten from switching to a new pillow. Opposing her, Garou is utterly helpless as Tatsumaki goes on the offensive and rips off all of his limbs, causing the monster to scream out in pain. After his body is ripped apart, the destroyed monster laments on how much he had underestimated Tatsumaki's abilities, until fighting her face to face. Lying there, he finally admits to Tatsumaki, but also says that the Esper was particularly cruel to him in her final moments. Tatsumaki though isn't exactly stupid. Even though she looks 8, she actually knows the truth on that she had only fought a mere puppet being controlled by the real psychic below her. The planet's strongest Esper confidently says that she will pull his real body out. Hearing this, the monster is left shocked that Tatsumaki was able to see through him, but states that fighting her was premature, as now she will have to deal with the Monster King. Left with no other option after being turned into a monster pancake, the beaten Esper calls out to Orochi to save him. Yet confusedly, the dying monster wonders why Orochi isn't coming to assist him, for he managed to obtain absolute control over him for years of brainwashing during his transformation as a monster. Tatsumaki suggests that Orochi is engaged with one of the S-class heroes, who, while nowhere nearly as powerful as her, are still quite strong according to her. The monster ponders this possibility and is frightened at the thought of a hero strong enough to occupy Orochi. Powerless and alone, Garou starts to beg for his life. Unbeknownst to him, Orochi actually took notice of Saitama being able to defeat Overgrown Rover, and says he does not know how Saitama managed to get in, but he can tell that the human is not useless trash and cannot be ignored. Finally, this is the first major, I guess you could say, battle of the Monster Association arc, as we have Saitama vs Orochi. Orochi, after having found Saitama, starts the fight by attacking him with 4 dragon heads, only for them to be quickly destroyed by the hero. While Orochi expresses his surprise, Saitama informs him that he actually lives right above where they stand, and just wants to complain about the noises Orochi has been causing. As Orochi begins feeling a mysterious pressure emanating from Saitama, Overgrown Rover awakens from being punched into submission earlier. Orochi, standing there, then witnesses Overgrown Rover run away from Saitama out of fear upon seeing him, and seeing this, asks him if he had done something to the dog. Saitama simply responds though, that he had just given Rover a smash due to its bad behaviour. With his good sense of perceiving things, Orochi manages to figure out that Saitama is the one who defeated Goketsu and the Elder Centipede, further realizing that the rumors about the ghost town horror weren't referring to any other monsters but Saitama himself. Now realizing that the hero's strength is far beyond anyone he has encountered before, and realizing that he has finally met someone like him, Orochi takes off his mask and leads Saitama to deep underground where a mysterious shrine is located. After arriving at the place where the surrounding areas are flooded with lava, Orochi explains to him that he had discovered a tablet which depicted him and stated that a worthy sacrifice was needed in order to resurrect God, leading him to believe that it was referring to him as a god. He then claims that Saitama is going to be a sacrifice for his resurrection and offers him an all-out fight. However, in typical fashion, Orochi realizes that Saitama hasn't even paid attention to what he was saying, as the hero is just trying to adjust to the environmental changes around him. Like, dude is literally submerging himself in the lava, just chilling out. After being confused by Saitama's very casual behavior, he decides to use his full power and intends to quickly finish the fight by pulling up energy directly from the Earth's core and dragging it into his body. As Orochi begins to source energy from the core of the Earth itself, it causes a massive worldwide earthquake, which is noticeable by seemingly everyone on the planet. After gathering enough energy in his eyes to take out Saitama, Orochi unleashes his Gaia Cannon, a massively powerful energy attack directed at Saitama in an attempt to eliminate the hero. In response though, our bold king simply meets the attack using a serious move of his own, his prolific, serious squirt gun, which completely cancels out Orochi's Gaia Cannon, leaving him utterly shocked after the first clash comes to an end. Immediately after, Saitama jumps towards the Monster King and blows him apart with a single punch, ending their entire battle. Which is like, of course it happened that quickly. Having defeated Orochi with a single punch, Saitama expresses his gratitude to the Monster King for having given him a new bathing area before leaving. Orochi, who's slowly beginning to fade away, notices that the place is beginning to crumble. With what's left, he then crawls up to the mysterious shrine in an attempt to protect it from being destroyed. Yet, right as he comes before the ancient table, more stone breaks away, revealing an image of God appearing in the wall which was completely unseen by Orochi beforehand. Sensing that Orochi had been defeated, Garou, who's all messed up, sends out one of his eyes as a scout, but only finds the remains of the Monster King. King, who coincidentally appears at the scene, is seen by the monster's eye, after which he runs and falls into an even lower part of the base. Having not seen Saitama, the eye is randomly destroyed by the Baldy, making Garou mistake the destroyer of Orochi for King. Skipping away from the strongest beings in this series so far, we find that Puri Prisoner has continued his search for Nyan by swinging through the underground walls of the Monster Association base. He ends up in a small chamber filled with the torture equipment and notices Garou actually chained to the wall, seemingly unconscious. Not recognizing Garou as the infamous hero hunter, Puri Prisoner thinks he is simply another human hostage and moves to release him, introducing himself as an S-class hero. However, just as Puri recognizes Garou's face from the wanted poster, Garou awakens and breaks the chain before swiftly pummeling the hero with a multitude of strikes. Elsewhere, Saitama continues to wander throughout the Monster Association base as he searches for someone to talk to about all of the noise under his apartment. He's ambushed by a mysterious being, but swiftly kills it with one punch before he can get any information out of it. Walking around the next corner, he finds Flashy Flash lying in wait. He gauges Saitama's size and deduces that he must be a monster, so he dashes around the corner and slashes at his target. However, Saitama easily dodges. Flashy Flash is shocked but actually recognizes Saitama as the B-class hero who once accompanied Genos to an S-class meeting in the past. Flashy performs his special Flashy Slash move on Saitama, who simply catches the sword in one hand. Unamused, Saitama accuses Flash of being a monster for attacking him first, so he too quickly gets the situation under control and clarifies that he is a hero too. Flash explains that they are in the Monster Association's territory and tells him he should find shelter. Flash also tells him the existence of the Monster King Orochi, exciting Saitama, yet the dude doesn't even realize that he actually already fought him earlier and took him out. As they move forward, Flashy Flash gets annoyed by Saitama's presence to stick around, trying to run off at high speeds to abandon him, but is shocked when the caped Baldy can easily keep up with him. As Saitama casually keeps up with Flashy Flash in the halls of the Monster Association base, the S-class hero is left absolutely flabbergasted, wondering how in the world Saitama can keep up with him so easily. As they run, Saitama notices how he has seen the same monster corpse in section of the halls again and again. He asks Flashy Flash if he's lost, only to be ignored by the ninja. Flashy Flash is literally like the Zoro of the One Punch universe, and dude is literally just sprinting in a full circle hoping to find someone new to fight. Anyways, outside, multiple A-class and B-class heroes are battling a variety of monsters in an attempt to keep Wagon Must safe from the Monster Association. As the battle slowly begins to die down and the monsters are eventually defeated, the heroes then manage to seal off any possible exits from the association. As they voice that victory may be imminent, Poison notices a tall, cat-like creature in the distance. He orders one-shotter to fire at the monster, only for the bullet to be intercepted by Nian's claw and deflected back at the sniper, wounding his head. Nian voices his joy at coming across a weak group of heroes after meeting Saitama, and insists they all play with him. As Jet Nice Guy states that they all need to be cautious, Nian suddenly appears in the center of all of the A-class heroes and slashes at all of them, wounding Needlestar, Gearspur, and Twintail with the attack. Nian announces that he is a cadre of the Monster Association, while muttering to himself how he has already left it to the shock of the other heroes. Seeing that the kid may get kidnapped once more, Sekinga orders Food Battler Futoshi to take Wagenma to safety. At the same time, Feather and Poison take a fighting stance as Nian, who's staring directly at them, eerily grins, stating the theme of this game is to rip Wagenma apart while the group watches in complete horror. Hearing this, Mizuki takes her medal, transforms it into a discus, and prepares to launch it at Nian, while Green restrains the monster with his vines. Nian, with his great speed though, simply catches the disc with his teeth and shatters it to the athlete hero's shock. Poison tries to attack Nian's face, but his blade is stopped by the cadre's eyelid and promptly broken as well. As Feather and Shadow Ring try to attack the creature, Nian slips out of the vines and shatters their blades instantly. Then, in a flash before the heroes could even register what just happened, the cadre severely wounds the duo, defeating them. As the remaining heroes then stare in shock at the devastation, Nian sees a terrified Wagenma running and wonders where they could possibly be heading. Seeing the creature staring at him, Wagenma orders Food Battler Futoshi to stop eating and speed up, only to be informed that he must eat to replenish his energy supply and move. Seeing the events unfolding, Mizuki attempts to stop Nian from pursuing Wagenma and Food Battler Futoshi, but the creature simply strikes at her, sending her flying back through the air. Gearspur cushions her fall with his newly awakened psychic powers, then uses his remaining energy to launch an attack at Nian. In a pure, rage-filled attack, he breaks multiple nearby buildings apart, forms the rubble into sharp projectiles, and throws them directly at the monster, burying it in a cascade of jagged Tetris blocks. As we know though with the Espers in this universe, shout out to good old Mob, this extreme use of his psychic powers alerts Fubuki to someone else with psychic abilities. Immediately after the attack, Gearspur's helmet breaks due to the overusage of his technique and he collapses completely exhausted. By the way, Gearspur is also a C-class hero, like an actual crazy feat by the young Esper, so I'm sure like after the battle ends, he will skyrocket in the rankings if he manages to survive. Anyway, Wagenma gloats about the apparent victory of the heroes. However, Nian, who's just built slightly differently, hence the connotation of cadre, uses his supernatural dexterity to escape the pile and quickly slashes Food Battler Futoshi's stomach, severely wounding the hero. The monster then tells Wagenma that he is Disaster Level Dragon, terrifying the child so much that he wets his pants again. As Nian then begins to drag them away so that everyone can witness it, suddenly a massive high-speed projectile breaks the monster's hold on Futoshi and Wagenma. The projectile circles back around and appears at the hands of Drive Knight, revealing that the S-Class hero has made his return. Wagenma and Food Battler Futoshi run for safety, and the former taunts the monster's apparent misfortune of encountering the S-Class hero. As Sekinga, the team leader, watches happily from a distance with the turn of events, Drive Knight uses his tactical transformation, Mark Chariot, and lunges at Nian in an attempt to take him out. As the hero circles around the monster, he sprays an anesthetic gas in an attempt to immobilize Nian and immediately charges at him with his bike form. Somehow, the cadre manages to dodge through a crack in the ground. However, Drive Knight releases a strong solvent into the ground that forces Nian back to the surface. Once back above ground, the hero launches several missiles at the cadre, which the monster easily dodges. Then retaliating himself, Nian goes for the direct attack on the robot, but Drive Knight successfully uses his tactical transformation, Mark Knight, and kicks the monster into the air. As the monster floats above him, he once again uses his tactical transformation, transforming into Flying Chariot to propel himself above Nian. Once there, he transforms into his bishop form and punches Nian into the ground. Yet, as he does this, the slippery cadre manages to change his size and slips into the Drive Knight suit, before it slices him apart from the inside using feline retribution. After the duo separates, Drive Knight uses his tactical transformation, Mark Gold, while opposite him, Nian unleashes flying slashes directed at the cyborg. Yet the hero is simply unharmed due to the strength and gold armor provided by the transformation. Which, I'm gonna cut this off here for 1 second, actually makes no sense. Like, gold is one of the heaviest and most malleable metals on the planet. You can quite easily on a hot day warp a gold ring if you're not careful. I just love the idea that gold equals the strongest form because, rich equals gold. But anyways, the two of them then engage in another brief scuffle. Nian end once again slips into Drive Knight's body. While inside of the S-Class, the cadre slips around the body and attacks the hero from unpredictable angles, leaving Drive Knight susceptible to life-threatening injuries. As Nien is about to release his feline retribution on the hero's body again, Drive Knight uses his big brain cyborg computer brain and thinks up a counter, raising the internal temperature to an extreme level, forcing the monster out. As he tries to escape, Drive Knight gets a hold of the monster and uses Silver to stab the cadre in the torso from behind before he immolates the dying monster. Standing there, the team leader Segengar couldn't be happy with how the fight went, but questions why Drive Knight hadn't come earlier and where he'd been for the last 2 days. Drive Knight tells him on how his method of combat is analysing the opponents first, and in the past 2 days, he had been infiltrating the Monster Association while gathering as much intel as possible. He flips out the laser screen, showing extremely detailed info on all of the monsters that he's heard of or come across. He'd refrained from handing it to the heroes before they clashed because he knows for a fact that there is a traitor among them. Asking Segengar about the current situation, he learns that literally all capable A-class heroes have been incapacitated, and the Hero Association headquarters is wide open for an attack by the strongest monsters. Hearing that Drive Knight is worried about the association being attacked, Segengar argues that it's impossible for the monsters to go there since it's literally designed by Metal Knight. Yet, this is exactly what Drive Knight actually fears. Instead, he exposes to Segengar how both Void's knights are linked to transmitted data inside of the Monster Association, and that one of his knights had been captured by the monsters, probably, the one that Child Emperor came across. The intel that they would have gotten from the robot could potentially allow the monsters to control all of both Void's knights inside of the Hero Association, which means that the building could be taken down from the inside. Panicking over the information that he just received and the possible traitor being Beaufoy, Segengar grabs his communicator, trying to contact Blast, when all of a sudden a beam of energy completely burns his hand off, terrifying the team director. Before them, somehow the damaged mechanical bot G5 had managed to rise back up, and due to the extremely intense last battle, Drive Knight's incapable of fighting against it. Clanking around in front of them, G5 transforms into a smaller version of himself that isn't so damaged in an attempt to completely annihilate them all. Yet, a sudden ray of light appears, as the king of broken backstories, Genos, drops down from the sky above and completely destroys the transformed monster in front of the scared heroes. Moments later, Genos takes the support team and Wagenmar to an area guarded by the Hero Association, while also defeating several monsters along the way. After arriving, the other support heroes all start getting treated for their injuries. Segengar starts tending to his own wound and calls Sitch to tell the latter that Wagenmar has successfully been rescued. So finally, for the second time, they manage to save the young one. He then tosses the phone to Genos, who has a short conversation with Sitch. During the call, Sitch thanks the hero for his work, apologizes for leaving him out of the initial battle as they thought he may have been a traitor, and finally, starts to ask for a favor. Skipping away from him over to Drive though, it's shown in a flashback that as he took Nien's body away for experimentation, it's revealed that the cat monster was actually still alive and mentions someone to Drive Knight who can easily defeat the Monster Association's executives with one punch. Having overheard this, Genos obviously realized that his sensei was fighting against the Monster Association in his own way. Because of this, he tells Sitch that he has no intention of following any orders from the Hero Association and hangs up the cell. Walking over to the child he just saved, Genos entrusts Wagenmar in Futoshi's care before preparing to enter the Monster Association's hideout. Seeing him start to get ready to invade the base, Segengar hands Genos the intel that Drive Knight received in his studying of the hideout over the previous 2 days. Elsewhere in the Association's underground maze, Puri Puri Prisoner is being absolutely pummeled by Garou, getting blasted through multiple walls until he lays there battered and bruised, completely unable to move. However, as he does lay there, a big, shiny black leg muscle appears directly beside him, revealing Super Alloy Darkshine who had managed to stumble upon him at the right time. Weakly, Puri fills him in on the situation as opposite the 2 huge men, a dark, bulked up figure of Garou steps out. Skipping away from the bodybuilding S-class heroes, we find that the 3 disciples of Atomic Samurai have also fallen to the evil water monster. Child Emperor, who had come back to this hellish maze, finds them beaten and bruised and instantly rushes towards the injured A-class. However, as the beaten A-class warns him, a sudden shot of extremely high pressure water jets out towards the child. Instantly realizing that this is the perfect situation to be in, as he can use the same ability again, Child Emperor uses his robot's flash freezing breath, completely halting and crystallizing every speck of the evil water headed towards the young child. Sadly, we get a worst case scenario here for the boys though, as Jellyfish, who had already been stunted on by the child, walks into the room. Angered with how it was already easily defeated, it asks to lend Water a hand in eliminating this brainy hero. Yet, the evil water monster turns around and sucks the oil out of the jellyfish, rendering the previous attack Child Emperor used on him completely ineffective due to the oil being harder to freeze than water. Being able to escape the ice prison, the water monster shoots off one of those high pressure jet sprays that connects directly with Child Emperor's leg. Skipping away from the young one, we find Genos boasting it directly towards the Monster Association headquarters while reviewing the data Drive Knight provided to Segengar earlier on. Looking at the strongest monsters, he notes that all of the cadre are troublesome opponents, and there is no time to come up with any good strategies, although he does consider the possibility that Saitama has already taken them all out by himself. Elsewhere in the Monster Association base, Flashy Flash and Saitama run in circles, neither having any sense of direction. Saitama suggests contacting the other heroes to see what's going on, but remember how Flashy Flash had lost his communication device? Well, he just straight up lies, saying that the other S-Class heroes are competent and will be fine by themselves. Yet, unknown to Flashy Flash, all of these S-Class heroes who are meant to be able to take down demon level threats are completely overwhelmed and nearing the brink of death in their own fights. Sweet Mask's absolutely petrified at the absolute ugliness of Fura Ugly. Zombie Man might just become dust at the hands of Homeless Emperor. Pig God's literally struggling not to become Gum's next meal. Atomic is completely limp at the hands of Black S. And Darkshine and Puri Puri Prisoner are continuously being beaten to a pulp by Garou. Even with all of this not looking good for the Hero Association, there's still one facing a cadre without a care in the world. Obviously, the number 2 Tatsumaki has absolutely obliterated Garou and begun to rip out the human inside of him. Thinking ahead though, the Esper had actually planted a fake human inside of the monster, and it's revealed that it's just another decoy. Instead, it's shown that the real person behind all of the plans inside of this Monster Association lies deep within the lowest levels of the hideout. This beautiful woman of ample proportions called Psychos lays in the comfort of her base, cradling a glass of wine in her hand while confidently planning how she'll bunch up all of the cadre onto Tatsumaki once they're done handling all of the heroes themselves. Her true plan is to go down as a totally unseen obscenity that revolutionized the world into a greater place. Yet, for her she sadly miscalculated a few things, like the true strength of Tatsumaki, who, just like that, has literally managed to feel out Psychos. Psychos is utterly shocked by this, having prepared several relay points to cover the large distance and ensure her location was kept secret. She surmounts that Tatsumaki was able to detect the tiny amount of telepathic waves coming out of Garou's puppet and trace it back to the source. Above her, Tatsumaki yells at Psychos to come out and join the party, and restrains her with her psychic powers. Psychos tries to call for any of the cadre to help her, and remembers that Overgrown Rover is still free to move. She utilizes her maximum telepathic output and orders Rover to mobilize and attack Tatsumaki. Sadly for her though, Rover is actually already occupied with Bang, Bomb, and Fubuki. Skipping over there, we see that Rover is absolutely determined to blast the 3 of them into shreds, probably annoyed with the last fight that he had, leaving the group all scared and running for their lives. Silver and Bomb, who are worn out and not in the perfect shape due to their previous battles, just do their best to hide behind a wall. However, Rover is able to hear them and leaps at them before charging another one of his lethal, heated blasts. Shooting the blast at the trio, it's expected that all 3 of them were to be taken out. Yet, once the impact settles, it's shown that Fubuki's bleeding and has actually managed to curve the attack away with a new, buffed protective shielding. Though she explains that she can't exactly withstand too many direct attacks, there is actually no way to avoid them either. Thinking on the spot, Fubuki instead comes up with the idea of reinforcing Silver and Bomb's bodies, telling them to quickly escape out of the monster's range, while she takes the last hit herself. Instantly, Rover shoots off another one of his sonic heat waves. However, with those 2 old boys' wrists and backs feeling brand new, both Silver and Bomb manage to take the shot themselves while defending Fubuki, pretty much saving her life. Quickly following on this, the old school duo then fuse their techniques together to complete the Cross-Fang Dragon Slayer fist move, which connects directly with Overgrown Rover. Bang and Bomb finish their combination attack on the pup, leaving Fubuki amazed at both of them as she believes Rover has been defeated. She is especially amazed by Bomb, who she previously thought was just a normal old man, and because of this actually tries recruiting him into her group, not realizing that Rover's already getting back up. Tired of playing with this dude, Bomb and Silver take their stances again in frustration. Bang then asks the dog to sit and behave, and to their surprise, the monster actually obliges, letting them pass quickly. However, while this trio manages to get the doggy in control, Tatsumaki, who's probably a lot closer to her sister than she realizes, senses Fubuki. Meanwhile, Flashy Flash and Saitama are now seen riding around in a minecart trying to get to the Monster King's lair. It's revealed that they are now being led by Maneko, a random weak, unranked monster that they've taken hostage. In secret though, Manako is actually trying to take out the idiot S-classes without them realizing. He secretly plans to jump off the cart at just the moment he switches it to another rail, sending them down towards their deaths. But after seeing how far the drop is off his side, the monster actually gets way too scared and doesn't go through with his own plans. Instead, the three end up in the monster mines where they are farming for gold and other ores to sustain their organization. Seeing the absolutely blank faces of the three Muppets inside the minecart, the miners quickly lash out and attack the carriage with the poor Mike Wazowski looking monster shrieking in terror as he watches both Baldy and Flashy instantaneously disappear from inside of the cart. With absolute ease, both of the two overpowered heroes obliterate the hell out of the area they've just entered. Then, just as quickly as they exit of the cart, both of the heroes then land back inside of their vehicle. Yet, one of the monsters outside of the cart pins Baldy's cape, ripping him straight back out. Back in the cart, as it actually hasn't stopped yet, it's shown that the tracks literally come to the final drop. Sacrificing himself, Mike quickly grabs a hold of Flashy Flash's leg in an attempt to bring him down and take out the S-Class. Honestly, love this little guy. As expected, Flashy Flash simply darts out of the cart with the little guy still stuck to him, slashing the other monsters around the area. Looking over to his side though, he once again sees Saitama, yet this time man literally has the bag of gold that he's trying to run off with. Swiftly, the two then jump back into another cart, but as the Baldy grabs onto the little monster, he accidentally loses the gold bag in the process, shattering his future hopes and dreams. Meanwhile, and still under Tatsumaki's restraint, Psychos reaches out for a special elixir in order to fight the Esper at her full strength. After grabbing the liquid, Psychos emits an ear-shattering scream and declares that she is much stronger than Garou. Elsewhere, with the two body improvement lovers, true hell has broken loose before Darkshine, as Garou has pretty much lost his mind, not thinking and just attacking over and over again. Suddenly, as Super Alloy calls him a monster, Garou snaps back to reality, as technically he was actually asleep attacking on pure instinct from the moment Puri Puri Prisoner had disturbed him. Darkshine launches at him and attacks the now awake hero hunter, but after being pummeled, Garou simply stands there, challenging the reasoning for Darkshine even being a hero in the first place, as well as the entire Hero Society's way of thinking. Popping out those immaculate muscles, Darkshine unleashes a devastating tackle that pierces through Garou's guard with ease and sends him flying back through multiple layers of the Monster Association. Garou's ribs are completely shattered by the blow, but he soon recovers and begins using his techniques to fight against the hero. Firstly, he uses Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist to pummel the large man, followed by Whirlwind Iron Cutting Fist to land a complete onslaught that makes the indestructible hero consider the possibility of defeat and his entire reasoning with actually becoming a hero in the first place. Reconvincing himself that he, Darkshine, has the strength to take down this beast of a monster, he then uses his full power to punch Garou and uses his prolific Super Alloy Bazooka. But to his complete and utter shock, Garou meets his fist with a blow of his own, and in that exact moment, Garou also finally proceeds to an even higher level of strength, with his limiter beginning to break. Meanwhile, Saitama, who's absolutely stressing over his damaged cape, is still with Flashy Flash, who just happens to be giving him a lecture on his own skills. Then in that weird mangaka, Murata, One Piece conspiracy combo, eerily, up on the surface, they're not spoken about spiritualist, Genos, worries that his sensei's clothing may have been damaged. I love this series, man. Skipping back down to the Espers below, Psychos and Tatsumaki continue their battle. Tatsumaki grabs Psychos with a psychic restraint and pulls her up. In return, Psychos grabs Tatsumaki and pulls her down, causing the two to rocket towards each other. Psychos smashes through the floor where Saitama, Flashy Flash and Manako are currently cruising and completely collides with them. Not caring about the others though, both of the Espers clash in a brilliant flash, with their combined powers creating bolts of psychic energy that send several spectating monsters shooting off. Pushing back, the two Espers throw each other back. The evil woman then declares that this is the day Tatsumaki will lose and it's her fault for pushing her this far. Tatsumaki though changes the subject and asks her about Tario, knowing that there is another child beside Wagon Ma, while effortlessly killing the pathetic spectating monsters as she speaks. Somewhere else in the Monster Association, Tario actually finds King and runs to him in relief. King though immediately shouts for Tario to stop, mistakenly believing the boy to just be another shape-shifting monster in disguise, quickly calling him out for it. In that insanely typical one-punch fashion, it's actually revealed that an invisible monster was sneaking up behind Tario, but reveals himself and flees, thinking that King had seen through his invisibility. With this, King holds Tario's hand, and they walk off together. The invisible monster runs down a corridor, but suddenly a slime grabs him and smothers the poor monster. It's shown that the slime is the heart of Orochi, who is now absorbing the monster's blood in order to revive himself. So he somehow, I guess, did survive Saitama's, serious punch. Anyway, sensing the massive battle between the two Espers nearby, Orochi slowly crawls towards them. Over with the girls, Psychos unleashes a psychic eye blast which Tatsumaki manages to repel. The blast splits apart, destroying a few monsters unfortunate enough to be in its path. Bringing up the question again, Tatsumaki demands Psychos answer her while she unleashes a telekinetic punch, which staggers the leader of the Monster Association, allowing their number 2 hero to subdue her. Having been caught, Psychos explains that there was another child brought in by Royal Ripper, although she doesn't know where he went, and that the only other outsiders in the headquarters are Narinki's private squad and Garou. As Tatsumaki interrogates Psychos, they are interrupted by Sweet Mask, who informs them of the deaths of their mercenary squad by his hand after they changed into enemy monsters. After hearing this, Tatsumaki berates the hero for his actions and inability to handle his opponent in those kind of situations. Suddenly, the fight is interrupted by Orochi, who then shows up on the block and begins absorbing many monsters who had gathered around before releasing a large-scale attack on Tatsumaki with his multiple dragon heads. This enables Psychos to break free from Tatsumaki's control, as she is obviously getting attacked by someone else right now, and after escaping she commands Orochi to join her so that his tremendous energy can amplify her psychokinesis, and with this increased power they can surely win. In response, the weakened Orochi reaches out to Psychos with his gooey body. Very calmly, Tatsumaki watches as Psychos plops into Orochi's ingesting body. She thinks that she'll easily just be able to rip her back out if needed. Orochi then merges with Psychos, only to reveal that he fully plans to take control of her instead. After a mental battle between the two, Psychos takes control of the merger and starts to fight Tatsumaki. Although Orochi reveals that he still has a level of control at times, as shown when Psychos' face deteriorates into a mass of flesh resembling his own. Orochi's dragons down below fire another round of energy blasts, although Tatsumaki easily kills them. Tatsumaki and the two villains clash, the bolts of energy destroying more of the headquarters. While fighting, the hero notes how much more difficult maintaining her barrier has become, and the fusion increases the gravity around Tatsumaki. Although, the hero proclaims gravity manipulation will have no effect on her, as she feels an increased pressure within her barrier. From the fused body, a larger, white form of Psychosis with long, flowing hair emerges, cupping the hero's barrier in her hands. Psychos explains how she switched the inside of the barrier with the outside, corrupting it. Tatsumaki realizes that she can't disable the barrier, and Psychos gleefully remarks that the energy she's pouring into the barrier combined with Tatsumaki's own energy output will keep increasing the internal pressure, but also knows that if she releases the barrier, she'll be crushed by the overwhelming gravity. Psychos declares Tatsumaki's flesh and blood won't go to waste, and the female hero begins to bleed from her head and many different parts of her body due to the tremendous strain being put on her. Meanwhile, the funky duo Flash and Baldy are trying to escape this all-ingesting sticky stuff that's following after them through the association. A string of Orochi's blubber jumps out and tries getting Saitama, only to slip off that shiny scalp of his. Somehow, this ends up offending our Baldy, who throws a fat punch straight at the monster cells, destroying a bunch of them and shaking the whole place. However, as this actually happens, Psychos shouts in pain, releasing Tatsumaki from her grasp. She notes that a large portion of cells was suddenly eliminated, having been obliterated by Saitama's punch, but also wonders what that slippery feeling was, just before being destroyed. King informs the other heroes that he's just secured Tario, and he's heading towards the surface. Tatsumaki, complimenting King's skills, declares that with the child's safety secured, she no longer needs to hold back and prepares to fight Psychos and Orochi with her full power. Deep inside the association, Garou continues his beatdown on Super Alloy Darkshine. He slips past a punch from Darkshine and delivers a strike that forces the hero to drop down coughing. Standing above the S-Class, Garou taunts Darkshine, who looks at him in complete fear. It's explained that when he was a child, Darkshine was a frail weakling, unable to participate in sports and other physical activities. His frailty left him unable to build any form of self-confidence. On his 15th birthday though, his parents gave him a set of 3kg dumbbells. Then, from that day onwards, he lifted every single day, gradually increasing the weight until the amount he could lift was immeasurable. His progress through this built up his confidence to the point he eventually joined the Hero Association and continued his search for an opponent who could push him to his limits. As Garou continues his assault though, Darkshine realizes that he was never looking for a real fighter. Rather, he sought a fight that could give him a satisfying victory. The instant the thought of injury flashes through Darkshine's head, the most powerful fear he had long forgotten begins to grow and overwhelm him completely, crowding his thoughts. Darting forth, Garou kicks him in the stomach and pins him to the ground with a follow-up kick to the chin. He moves to strike at Darkshine's ears, but pulls back when the hero yelps in fear. Standing above the cowering hero now, Garou judges his assault to be akin to bullying, a pathetic evil compared to what he aims to become in the future. Suddenly, Garou's joints start cracking and the dark marks on his body crawl towards his face. Then even more randomly, psychic barriers are created by Tatsumaki that surround Darkshine and pull him up as the ceiling of the room collapses in, leaving Garou on the ground amidst the falling rubble. Tatsumaki then drags the entire Monster Association headquarters to the surface. She simultaneously creates protective barriers around the entire strike team, except for Flashy Flash, who lost his locator, and Zombie Man, whose clothes were destroyed by Homeless Emperor. The barrier around Pig God is broken by Gums, while Ian breaks his own to rescue the unconscious members of Narinki's private squad. The intense energy coming off her vibrates through the whole area, literally cracking the surface of the planet as Tatsumaki fully tears the association out of the ground. King and Tario are able to reach the surface unharmed, and are found by Genos, who incinerates a large portion of Orochi's mass around them. The three then spectate the ongoing battle in the skies. Up there, Tatsumaki and Psychos both emerge from the top of the surface Monster Association base, ready to continue their battle. The aftermath of Tatsumaki's base lift can be seen from miles around and is broadcasted on television. The severity of the damage inspires many previously wounded heroes to start heading towards the scene, and this is their story. As Metal Bat watches the news from the hospital, he decides to participate in the fight with the Monster Association, despite his injuries. But he's not the only one. Movement Rider and Tank Top Master have both left their beds to assist the civilians surrounding the battle. Having found their beds empty, Tank Top Doctor explains the subliminal messaging derived from Tank Top Master's tank top, causing the Tank Top army to chase after Tank Top Master in an attempt to help. Oh my god, that line, guys, please sub, help. Of course, the Blizzard group, who just can't sit idly and watch as the tank tops get the spotlight, also rush after them as well. The only people to stay behind are the injured martial artists in the hospital, who watch as all of the heroes depart. Meanwhile, Flashy's group is stuck under the remaining rubble left over from the enormous technique. As Saitama and the monster, which introduces itself as Monaco to them, try getting Flashy out of the crumbling debris, the trio starts having a casual mini-conversation together. All the while, the world around them is completely falling to bits. Psychos taunts Tatsumaki, but the heroine notices that the monster fusion seems to be gaining power from its roots, and targets the pedestal beneath to sever the connection. The attack fails to work, and Psychos responds in turn with her own beam attack, which cuts into the ocean and severs a large part of the Earth's crust, launching it into space. The severed area then slams back down into the water, sending a massive shockwave and tsunamis back around the entire planet. Tatsumaki is shocked by the power displayed, and realizes that it could not have been attained naturally. Having seen the attack, Genos notes that the energy involved is of an undetectable scale and appears poised to engage, but King employs him to leave the fight to Tatsumaki and help flee the scene with Tario. Up in the sky, Psychos tells Tatsumaki about a godlike existence that she witnessed when she was fusing with Orochi. She explains her plan to absorb all life on the planets and become the Earth itself, a plan that Tatsumaki mocks. Grown angry that she is still not being acknowledged by the other Espers, Psychos and Orochi launch a relentless attack on Tatsumaki. Tatsumaki avoids the attack and confirms the evacuation of the surrounding areas before lifting a series of massive chunks from the seas which halts the tsunamis in their paths. She then launches them at Psychos and Orochi in a barrage. The fusion tries to intercept the rocks with the energy beams, but Tatsumaki is able to hit and engulf them with the remainder of the rocks. Once again, Psychos and Orochi emerge unharmed though, and the fighters engage in a massive psychic battle that creates a gigantic whirlwind in the skies above them. Tatsumaki uses decoys made of rocks to hide her position from Psychos, and infiltrates the fusion by climbing inside of them from the base of the pedestal. By disguising herself as energy and reducing her output, she is able to discern the position of Psychos' true body, and uses a rendering attack that crushes the fusion of Psychos and Orochi from inside of their own barrier. However, the fusion still regenerates from the attack and spares Tatsumaki through her left hand. Before Tatsumaki can counter, she is impaled through the other hand. The fusion monster then discharges electrical shocks to stun Tatsumaki and make her lose control of her powers, causing Atomic Samurai and Puri Puri Prisoner, who just arrived on the scene, to fall to the ground, losing their barriers created by Tatsumaki. With the Esper now rendered helpless, the disfigured fusion of Psychos and Orochi prepare to finish her off with a massive energy attack. Just as they launch their beams, it is intercepted by a wave of energy from the ground, which launches both beams into the sky. It is revealed that our metal man in shining armor, the King, was actually able to divert the insane blast and save Tatsumaki from certain doom. Standing there together, Genos and the now free Tatsumaki prepare to face off against a now regenerated Psychos and Orochi. Meanwhile, Saitama and Manako are still busy in their efforts to free Flashy Flash, which is honestly hilarious when you think about it. The dude could probably just dart out of this pile at any point. To make time go quicker, Manako shows Saitama a quick trick to alleviate his hunger. Watching this from his rubble grave, Fleshy Flash is silently grateful that nobody will witness him in such a humiliating position. Back on the surface, the battle between the two heroes and the regenerated fusion monsters continues. While Genos is busy holding off the energy beams from Orochi's dragons, Psychos shoots a massive energy blast towards Tatsumaki. Seeing this, Genos manages to appear in front of Tatsumaki and helps her by shooting an energy blast towards the fusion monster's energy beam. As both of the respective energy attacks clash, Garou tells Tatsumaki to hurry up and pull all the heroes out of the Monster Association headquarters while he pushes through the energy beam from Psychos. As Genos has a brief clash with the fusion monster, he manages to negate one of their energy attacks, but is immobilized and seemingly in no longer fighting condition. However, Tatsumaki was successfully able to pull all of the heroes from the tower. Psychos then shoots another energy beam in an attempt to finish them off, but Tatsumaki, now somewhat free, stops the energy beam while holding her fellow hero. She then deflects the attack away and starts asking Psychos a question regarding her sister Fubuki, which absolutely terrifies the merged monster. Fubuki, who is now on the ground along with Bang and Bomb, takes a look at the sky, noticing that her sister is concentrating a mass of psychic power. Realizing what she's doing, she states that Tatsumaki plans to end the fight with her next move. Floating opposite her, Psychos is impressed by Tatsumaki's increasing power, shortly before suddenly being twisted by her along with the entirety of the Monster Association's headquarters. As blood from the twisted fusion of Psychos and Orochi drips into the underground, we see that Atomic Samurai is back up and now looking for his disciples. Child Emperor is trying to communicate with Zombie Man, but there is no signal of where he is, only the locator beacon. Meanwhile, Saitama asks Manako if whatever is happening is the work of her boss, and after having this confirmed, wonders if his house is going to be destroyed by the resulting destruction. The duo then resumes digging, trying to free Flashy Flash from being trapped under these rocks. Elsewhere, King is climbing some stairs with Tario, but the buildings around them suddenly collapse and they are forced to go back down the stairs instead. Above them all, Tatsumaki is still locked in battle, twisting up Psychos and possibly bringing the massive fight to an actual end. Suddenly though, the small Esper starts coughing blood, causing her to wonder if she's actually used too much of her own power. Noticing that Tatsumaki is starting to get weaker, Psychos uses a move that works as a smokescreen in an attempt to escape from the battle, then, while hidden away, quickly transforms into a jet before trying to consume all of the blood from the humans in the city to replenish herself. Tatsumaki senses that their presence is being divided into 7 due to Psychos using the same technique that Tatsumaki used on her before. In response, she manages to create a giant psychic barrier surrounding them so that the monster won't be able to escape. Annoyed, Psychos tries to pierce Tatsumaki's heart using a laser attack as she believes that the hero needs to take all of her concentration to maintain the enormous barrier. This is then technically a true chance to finish her off, but as she blasts her attack forwards, all she ends up hitting was a dummy created by the hero. Tatsumaki, now having figured out the location of the monster within the smoke, prepares herself. However, Drive Knight then also appears and joins the battle to help the struggling Esper. Letting Tatsumaki do her thing by just controlling the barrier, Drive Knight and the fusion monster continue to clash. Down below, Genos appears before the other S-Class heroes and informs them of the current situation. He explains that Tatsumaki is near her limit, so anyone who is able to assist in the battle needs to, before joining the battle in the sky himself. Pig God, who is now also on the ground alongside the other S-Class heroes, begins spitting everyone out of his stomach that he had managed to save. Ian regains his consciousness and is informed by Pig God about what happened. He then expresses gratitude towards the fat hero for saving him and the Narinki squad. Suddenly, their master appears before him, and after a short reunion, tries to think of a way to have the fusion monster in the sky. Meanwhile, Tank Top Master, who's arrived near the battlefield, begins rescuing the civilians from being trapped by the falling debris. He amazes the other heroes standing nearby by easily lifting a large piece of rubble, whereas all of the other heroes had been completely unable to move it before. Afterwards, a medical helicopter appears in the sky and attempts to rescue the injured people, but it's sadly stopped by Tatsumaki's invisible barrier. After asking Lightning Max where Tatsumaki is, Tank Top Master tells Moomin Rider that he will head over to the Monster Association headquarters to support the Esper hero, and recommends that Moomin Rider stay and continue with the rescue operations. Tank Top Master, then in honestly just one of the sickest modes of transport, proceeds to lift a transmission tower before throwing it into the air while grabbing a hanging wire to travel straight towards the Monster Association headquarters through the air himself. In a flashback, 5 minutes before the robot entered the battlefield, Drive Knight is seen observing the battle between Tatsumaki and the Psychos Orochi fusion unfold from afar. He expresses his interest in collecting a sample of the fusion, but due to his prior battle between him and Nyan, his remaining energy reserves are extremely limited. Around him, the ground all over Z City has been ripped up due to the highly powerful psychic move performed by Tatsumaki, and due to this, Drive Knight quickly notices a large, damaged underground energy cable beneath him. In order to join the battle against the fusion, Drive Knight proceeds to head down and actually take some of the energy from the cable by sticking his hand into it. This caused a major power outage in the nearby city, but allowed Drive Knight to actually arrive back at the scene. Back in the present now, where the heroes are composing themselves and devising a plan, Sweet Mask is seen recounting his battle with Fura Ugly. He berates himself for curling up like a baby and cowering in front of his ugliness during the fights. The other heroes finally notice Sweet Mask and cast him multiple different glances. Due to his immense pride as a self-proclaimed true hero, Sweet Mask mistakes them all for looks of disapproval as he thought the heroes overheard the request for help he gave to Tatsumaki during his fight with Fura Ugly. He further mistakes Child Emperor's friendly gesture for him to stay in the rearguard as a personal insult to his own strength. Instead, Amai decides that if the news of his defeat was to be published, his reputation as an idol hero would be tarnished. Therefore, he considers killing everyone on the scene and covering it up by explaining it as the work of some crazy monster. As Sweet Mask prepares to show his true self to the heroes around, Ian interrupts by asking whether he's fine. Luckily, this causes Sweet Mask to have a flashback about an encounter with Blast. There, Blast is seen at some point in the past having saved Sweet Mask from some monster, and this memory causes Sweet to snap out of his murderous intent and smash his own head on some rubble. He then tells Ian that his outfit wasn't matching as an excuse for his aggressive behaviour, while making a final remark about needing to retain self-control. Elsewhere on the battlefield, and having seen Super Alloy Darkshine sitting on the ground with a sad expression on his face, the other heroes come closer to him. Putty Putty Prisoner and Zombie Man are shocked after the S-Class hero explains how he lost against Garou. Darkshine then retells his experience about Garou to the other heroes, admitting his complete defeat against the Hero Hunter, and also noting that the latter will show up again, with no one being able to stop him now. Meanwhile, Garou, who is deep underground as he has been buried in the many falling debris, begins rising up. Slowly rising, he ponders the idea on why the more he is beaten, the more he feels like he is getting stronger. Coming to the conclusion that through these pretty much like Zenkai boosts of strength, he is one step closer to becoming the monster that he wishes to become. Internally thinking, he fully envisions himself as Despair incarnate, desiring to make the world become the way he wants it to be, and with that, his body once more begins transforming into a more monstrous state. Back on the surface, and after learning what happened to Super Alloy Darkshine, Sweet Mask is angered seeing how truly pathetic his fellow hero is, proceeding to kick him hard multiple times in an attempt to make him realise that every time a hero falls, they have to get back up. Eventually, Super Alloy follows his fellow heroes and decides to stand up to fight again, much to the relief of others. Atomic Samurai suggests to cooperate together to defeat the boss of the Monster Association, much to everyone's surprise, as usually the dude only works with his disciples. Soon after this, Tank Top Master also arrives on the scene, having entered the battle in his own way, and with his arrival they continue discussing their plan. Soon also showing up on the scene as well, Bang, Bomb and Fubuki, all of whom were previously excluded from the operation, join the S-Class heroes on the surface. Most of the heroes that were on the surface were completely unaware of them even being excluded in the first place, and because of this, Atomic Samurai proceeds to question Child Emperor on why people were excluded from the mission. After everything is explained to them, going over how they weren't sure who the traitor was, Bang forgives Child Emperor. Fubuki though, who realizes how badly injured her sister is, pleads with the heroes around her to assist her sister as she was beginning to lose consciousness. Up in the sky, during the battle, as Drive Knight and Genos protect an unconscious Tatsumaki from Psychos, she has a flashback to 18 years ago in some research institute where she was being held. During this flashback, a rampant monster manages to escape, going rogue inside of the institute, leaving the young Esper alone in her cell, unable to escape. Yet, in those moments of true despair, the one and only Blast shows up and saves Tatsumaki, quickly recognizing her insane amount of power and going on to convince the young girl to use her powers to protect her own family. Back in reality, Tatsumaki suddenly regains consciousness and without delay, continues her battle. Over with the robot, Drive Knight chases Psychos into a tunnel while exchanging a series of attacks with a combination monster. Getting back into the action herself now, Tatsumaki creates multiple obstacles within the tunnel to trap Psychos, albeit unsuccessfully. As Psychos manages to exit the tunnel, she is caught by surprise when Genos runs by and jumps onto her to hit her with his jets, thus allowing Drive Knight to follow up and do the same, leaving the two heroes alone on the monolith of a monster preparing to finish it off. Instantly, the two beaten and battered bots both unleash a blast of powerful beams directly into Psychos' jet, overloading her with energy. However, Psychos manages to break down the energy and release it back at the two heroes from out of the wound that they just created, blasting them back and leaving them plunging towards the ground. Freed from the two S-class heroes, Psychos then proceeds to make a final attempt to eliminate Tatsumaki by firing another energy beam at her. Yet, coming in absolutely clutch, Tank Top Master was able to intercept the blast with a huge boulder that he threw from the ground below. Down with the ground team, Fubuki's assistance in increasing Tank Top Master's physical capabilities helps the hulking giant throw a series of large boulders at Psychos, buying the other heroes valuable time to recuperate. Drive Knight manages to get over to Genos and requests assistance by fusing together and maximizing the power output. Genos ends up agreeing to this dodgy idea, but warns his fellow bot that his core is near its limits. Not worried about the possibility of a possible detonation, the two then form together into the tactical combination Mark Promoted Rook, which also just happens to distract Psychos' attention for a moment. Seeing this, Tank Top Master proceeds to throw an entire building at the monster. Of course though, this time the rocketing object contains Atomic Samurai, Puri Puri Prisoner and Super Alloy Darkshine, who all, upon connecting with the giant monster, use a series of combination attacks. Atomic Samurai hits her with Atomic Beeline Slash, Puri Puri Prisoner with his Vibration Dark Angel Rush, and Darkshine with his Super Alloy Missile to pummel the fusion down towards the ground below. At this moment, Psychos separates from Orochi, but to her dismay, Bang and Bomb appear, using their combination attack, the prolific Cross-Fang Dragon Slayer Fist, to incapacitate the falling monster. Still above, Tatsumaki then prepares to finish off Orochi, causing the ground to start shaking. Meanwhile, and down below still, Flashy Flash states that his arm is stuck under something heavy, to which Saitama discovers a cube-like object resembling the one Blast held during the previous flashback with Tatsumaki. Before Flashy Flash could pull his arm out from underneath this thing, the ground in front of them is suddenly pulled out by Tatsumaki, effectively breaking Flashy Flash's katana insta-kill in the process, which was also stuck in the rubble. Above them, Tatsumaki charges up the spire she just crafted with psychic energy as she redirects it towards Orochi, ready to deliver the final blow. Seeing the mass quickly approaching, Manako, remember the little monster? Well, he attempts to escape using the hole created where Flashy Flash's arm was stuck in, but the three quickly notice something mysterious dwelling there. Weirdly, they see a large humanoid creature crouched in a fetal position, resembling something they call God. Now above them, a scattering of stars spread around the figure, implying that the three are now observing past the fabric of reality and towards somewhere deep within the universe. Now I'm going to cut myself off for 1 second here everyone, just to say subscribe and leave a like on this video and help push me towards 200k, because oh my god, this is just an insane, absolutely huge video that I've put so much time into. Murata and One are absolute pure goats, and I can't wait to see what season 3 with Mappa is going to look like. I really hope that they somehow get some freelance artists like the ones from season 1. That would be so amazing to have a bunch of these season 1 freelance artists come back and do some stuff with season 3 in the main fights and everything. Oh my god, I'm just creaming over the idea of it right now. But anyway, back with the series trio of slightly incapable heroes, Saitama, Flashy Flash, and the monster Manako. Well, as they all peer into that mysterious hole, are unable to see anything. Multiple lightings generated by the monster also don't function, as apparently entities within this hole do not interact with most electromagnetic waves. Suddenly, a voice appears in the head of the three, probably God, and offers to bestow powers upon the three of them. Coming in out of absolutely nowhere though, Blast intervenes by appearing through a wormhole and explaining to the three that due to their physical contact with the mysterious cube, they are able to talk to him, which is probably a god of some sort like I just said before, and that Blast has been collecting these cubes as a hobby. The voice then reveals Blast's true identity to the three, which causes Flashy Flash to test the purported hero's strength, attacking him, but Blast easily dodges Flashy's flashy kicks, thus cementing his identity as the top-ranked hero. As they talk, Blast then decides to take the three to the surface via generating another wormhole. Meanwhile, Child Emperor, Zombie Man, and Sweet Mask stay in the rearguard during the battle against Psychos and Orochi. Child Emperor berates himself for not being an effective leader, and offers Zombie Man to take up the role. Sweet Mask, on the other hand, refers to Zombie Man as a pseudo monster and refuses to put trust in him, which is actually so big coming from what I assume to be a fox in sheep's clothing, obviously. But anyways, just as Zombie Man is reassuring Child Emperor of his capabilities, Homeless Emperor reappears from the ground and attacks the rearguard heroes. During the unexpected assault, Amai manages to dodge the energy spheres, but Zombie Man's body is once again torn apart as he blocks the shots for Child Emperor. Back above them, Tatsumaki launches the energy spear at Orochi and shreds the monster to complete pieces. The The spear itself though continues drilling into the ground until it finally stops near a mysterious altar. Elsewhere, both King and Tario are seen running before encountering a physical anomaly, with the space in front of them appearing somewhat distorted. Metal Bat, who's also running, sees the anomaly in front of them, which also prevents him from recognizing King and Tario, who are opposite him. Suddenly, Pineapple, Mohican, and Food Battler Futoshi come out of the supposed anomaly between them. Confused, it's later revealed by the Food Battler that this anomaly acts as a quantum stealth shield that covers a tank. Wagamma comes out of the tank and hugs Tario upon seeing him, with Tario also expressing relief as Wagamma is safe too. Wagamma then asks Tario about if Child Emperor saved him, but he declines and says that it was King and the uncle, of course referring to Garou who saved him as well. Hearing that Child Emperor might be in more danger, Wagamma urgently asks King and Metalbat to save him. Standing there, Metalbat internally questions if Wagamma has really changed his attitude, and the latter, who's still talking, says that his dad will pay for the medical bills if anyone's hurt, much to Metalbat's relief. Sekingar then shows up, hopping out of the tank, and tells both of them not to be insecure over the power gap, instead ordering the lower ranked heroes to guard the two kids. Sekingar also tells Metalbat and King to stand by in an area where they can keep track of the battle. Metalbat, who is surprised that the Hero Association has someone like Sekingar, actually obeys him. After listening to what Sekingar has to say, King expresses disappointment that he couldn't be of much help when he attracted the Elder Centipede, who mistakenly took him for a strong opponent, but assures himself that Saitama will surely show up soon. Tario asks King to save the uncle, but King questions who this person is that Tario keeps referring to, wondering if he is also a hero. Tario replies that he doesn't know who the uncle really is, but just tells King not to bully him if the hero does find him. Metalbat then fashions up a slingshot, and the two S-Class heroes get onto it with both Tario and Wagamma telling them good luck before Sekingar lasers the rope, instantly flinging their duo into the air before crashing down elsewhere outside a batting cage. Back over at HQ, Tsuko, who's Suryu's sister, remember like that dude who got absolutely pummeled in season 2 by the guy who took the monster cells? Well, she's actually visiting her brother at the Hero Association hospital, and upon being teased by his little sister, Suryu wakes up and they begin having a conversation. As they talk, Tsuko is surprised that her brother is really serious about becoming a hero and helping others once he heals. In the battle, Tatsumaki's massive psychic barrier that she used to envelop the City Z starts vanishing, allowing the medical helicopter to come and assist the people that are inside of it. Tank Top Master and Fubuki take a look at Tatsumaki in the sky, and seeing that her sister is still alive, Fubuki is relieved. Despite witnessing Tatsumaki's enormous psychic powers again, Tank Top Master still expresses his desire to overcome her someday. Just like, bro, you just gotta chill on that one there. Look at any other S-Class hero weaker to overcome. Ain't no way you're ever reaching country level strength with what was against Garou in season 2. Having looked at Tatsumaki in the sky, Bang is surprised that these selfish, solitary S-Class members would start cooperating with everyone else. He talks to Bomb regarding Garou, with Bomb stating that Garou might have been inside of the Monster Association headquarters and that the Hero Hunter could have died during Tatsumaki's attack. Bang however replies that Garou is not the one to die so easily, and tells his older brother to not let his guard down just yet. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Homeless Emperor stares at a severely injured zombie man while noting that Giro and Orochi might have been defeated. Sweet Mask then suddenly emerges from the smoke that was just created by the energy spheres from Homeless Emperor's attack and attempts to hit him. However, before he can reach Homeless Emperor, Black S randomly bursts out of the ground and restrains the A-Class hero. Following this, Fura Ugly erupts out of the ground as well, just like Black S did, and scares off the top-ranked A-Class hero with his ugly face. Man, I love the dynamic between Fura Ugly and Amai, it's just too good. Anyway, due to his weaknesses against ugly people, Sweet Mask screams out in fear upon seeing Fura Ugly. The fat monster then follows up and brutally punches Sweet Mask in the face, severely deforming the hero's face before he proceeds to simply tear him apart and toss him away. Which is honestly insane, like I never actually expected Sweet Mask to be just tossed away like garbage. But anyway, continuing. After defeating Sweet Mask, Fura Ugly steps onto Zombie Man's regenerating body and taunts Child Emperor while readying another punch, but is randomly interrupted by a massive energy orb launched by Homeless Emperor. The orb impacts the ground, causing a massive explosion with Atomic Samurai, Ian, Pig God, and Tank Top Master as well as Fura Ugly only just avoiding it. Atomic Samurai tries to contact Child Emperor, who seemed to have been caught in the midst of the explosion, but sadly gets no response, just as evil natural water also emerges from the ground nearby. Ian immediately recognizes this threat and readies his sword in fear, while nearby, Pig God and Tank Top Master are barely able to avoid being eaten by Gums, who bursts forth from the rubble. All of a sudden as well, Genos crashes down from the sky in front of Fubuki, Puri Puri Prisoner, Bang and Bomb. The cyborg then reveals that due to the extended battle and Drive Knight's negligence of his limits, he is now on the verge of exploding. It's also revealed by Genos that Drive Knight has already left the scene, leaving everyone else to deal with the dire situation. Meanwhile, Puri Puri Prisoner decides to go alone to save Child Emperor, who was purportedly buried alive by the rubble caused by Homeless Emperor's attack, while the rest of the heroes simply try to help Genos. Genos, however, advises them all to retreat as he plans to self-destruct and cause as much damage to the remaining enemies as possible. Not wanting this to be the case though, Fubuki, after some hesitation, refuses to retreat or leave anyone behind. Instead, she gathers her resolve and uses her psychic powers to stabilize Genos' core, albeit with extreme difficulty. Having witnessed a slow change in Fubuki's attitude, Bang and Bomb are amazed at the heroic acts of selflessness, commenting on how the unconscious hero may become a great leader in the future. Turning their attention, the group then observes as Tatsumaki is being chased down by a massive amount of energy spheres sent at her by Homeless Emperor, which managed to catch and seemingly defeat her. However, it's actually revealed that she had managed to swap herself the decoy during the pursuit and escape just in time. The real Tatsumaki though, whining from her injuries, appears before the remaining heroes of the ground team, and once seeing her sister, becomes furious at seeing her injuries. However, Fubuki is able to quickly get the crazed Esper to chill out. Seeing that Tatsumaki is heavily injured and weakened herself, Fubuki tries to stop her from returning to battle, but despite her efforts to convince her, Tatsumaki states that Fubuki has indeed grown, yet decides to still leave and fight the remaining monsters. As Fubuki is left in tears after failing to stop her sister, Genos reassures her by telling her that he will assist Tatsumaki in this final showdown. Realizing that Genos is about to leave and believing him to be reckless, Bang too decides to accompany the cyborg and aid the Esper, telling Bomb to take care of Fubuki and inform him if he spots Garou. Suddenly, and out of nowhere, the Council of Swordmasters and Spring Mustachio, the A-class hero, then arrive on the battlefield and notify everyone that they are here to help assist the heroes against the remaining monsters. Elsewhere in the battle, Tank Top Master is seen in his fight against Gums as he struggles to not let it chomp down on him, until Pig God luckily manages to show up and save him, tackling the monster so that it spits him out. He then witnesses Fiora Ugly take a member of the Naranki's private squad hostage before tearing his arm off. Seeing him distracted, Gums takes the opportunity to try and eat Tank Top Master again, this time chomping down on him more successfully than before. Tatsumaki temporarily distracts Fiora Ugly by stopping the monster from ending the Naranki squad member's life. Tank Top Master is then also once again rescued by Pig God, who tackles the gluttony monster for a second time. Having been saved, Tank Top Master then watches as Pig God puts the Naranki squad and Bushy Drill into his mouth to prevent any more hostages being taken by the enemy monsters, then goes to throw him at the enemies. Before launching Pig God, Tank Top Master tells him to pass on a message to Moomin Rider that the heroes will win this fight. Nearby, Fiora Ugly slowly manages to break free from Tatsumaki's restraints and knocks her back. Seeing this, Tank Top Master rushes forward and uses his Tank Top tackle, only to be met by a powerful punch from the monster that shatters both of his forearms. Feeling powerless against the monsters in front of him, he tries to reassure himself that his tank top is utterly invincible, shortly before being mercilessly brutalized and left in a bloody mess, and then ultimately being taken by Gums. Fiora Ugly then sets his eyes on and approaches Tatsumaki, who is lying on a nearby rock, heavily injured and weakened. Elsewhere, and near the edge of the battlefield, a group of heroes are seen evacuating the injured civilians in Z City, when all of a sudden, Pig God is shown to approach them from the air after being launched by Tank Top Master. He then begins spitting out the numerous members of the Naranki's private squad, along with Bushy Drill and Okamatachi from his mouth, and informs the rescue team that one of them is badly injured and needs to be treated. Moomin Rider approaches Pig God and asks him about the situation of the battle, to which the big guy tells him that Tank Top Master has shown up and that it's thanks to the latter that the heroes have a chance to overcome the situation. Obviously not realizing what just happened to him. Pig God then further informs Moomin Rider and some members of the Tank Top army that Tank Top Master is still fighting their remaining high-ranked monster, and passes a message from their master to them. After receiving the message from him, they are all unanimously encouraged and continue the rescue operation more enthusiastically. Back on the battlefield, as Fiora Ugly is about to get his hands on Tatsumaki, Bang arrives at the scene and pierces through Gums with a kick, managing to save Tank Top Master from the acid in its stomach, with Genos instantly following up by incinerating the inside of the being. Noticing that Gums was being attacked, Fiora Ugly quickly switches his focus onto Bang and tries to attack him with his face-carving punch. However, Bang skillfully uses his leg to deflect Fiora Ugly's punch straight back at him, knocking the ugly monster back, before then going over to check Tank Top Master's condition and state that the hero's heart has stopped beating. While Genos is about to defibrillate the hero, Bang grabs his tank top and snaps it back onto his body. This magically acts as some sort of like defibrillator as well, restarting his heart and reviving him through what Tank Top Master calls the Tank Top Magic. After Bang and Genos then have a quick check over Tank Top Master, Fiora Ugly gets back on his feet, and Gums, who managed to heal himself, sneaks around and grabs the cyborg by surprise, and trapping him within his jaws. Despite Bang warning Fiora Ugly that his Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist is the ultimate defense against any attack and doesn't recommend that the monster try to attack him, Fiora Ugly still attempts to attack Bang with an even more powerful punch than before. As Fiora Ugly throws his Dignity Caving Punch at Bang, the martial artist once again manages to redirect his punch towards Gums and then retaliates against Fiora Ugly by unleashing a flurry of strikes to push the ugly monster back. After being injured and forcibly made to spit out Genos due to the punch being redirected into him, Gums actually attacks Fiora Ugly, as he believed that it was all on purpose that he was punched by his fellow monster. Watching the breakdown of communication happen, Bang and Genos take the opportunity to leave the two monsters and bring Tank Top Master and Tatsumaki to Fubuki in order to let her heal their injuries. Back with the rampaging monsters, Fiora Ugly then manages to tear Gums in half from the inside, with his own body then being dissolved by its stomach acid, completely turning him into a new toxic amalgamation of ugliness. Over in the water battle, Atomic Samurai and Ian manage to defend themselves against the multiple high-speed jets from the evil natural water monster. I love how I'm just calling this guy Ian instead of like Ian or however you say his actual name, because I cannot say his actual name and I'm not gonna even try. Ian notes that his water jets are getting stronger and actually suspects that it absorbed the underground water, before going on to wonder what would happen if the monster makes it and absorbs the entire ocean. Evil natural water monster then proceeds to bombard Ian with a multitude of blasts, destroying his sword and practically cementing the hero's death. However, Super Alloy Darkshine arrives and manages to save Ian by quickly defending him from the monster's deadly water jets with his own extraordinary durable body. Annoyed, the massive water continues to attack Super Alloy Darkshine with his water jets, only to leave the hero completely unscathed. Darkshine then nonchalantly destroys the entirety of the monster with a single punch, before stating that it was a nice pressure shower for him. Elsewhere, Bang and Genos are on their way to bring Tatsumaki and Tank Top Master to Fubuki, when all of a sudden, the absolutely dreaded Black S suddenly appears in front of them, instantly attacking the heroes after replicating itself into a multitude of clones. Luckily though, as Bang and Genos try to defend themselves from all of the clones while also protecting the two wounded heroes, Atomic Samurai and Super Alloy Darkshine arrive at the scene and assist them against the new threat. Over in the clone battlefield, the heroes are just managing to fend off the countless copies of Black S. Seeing that his enemies have managed to defend themselves and that they are proving difficult against him alone, a clone of Black S asks Homeless Emperor, who was like nonchalantly sitting on a pile of rubble and watching the fight from a distance, for assistance. However, he refuses the call for help and states that it's a race to hunt the S-classes, telling the black monster to prove itself, leaving the clone alone upset as he leaves. It's revealed though, that Homeless Emperor is actually planning to get rid of Black S and the other monsters after it splits to its maximum amount and destroys all of civilization. Because of this, all the Homeless Man simply has to do is watch the battlefield as Black S is struggling against his enemies. Genos, who's been transporting the injured back and forth, finally manages to bring Tank Top Master to Fubuki, asking her to heal him, shortly before going back to the battlefield by himself. Bomb and Fubuki are shocked at seeing Tank Top Master's injuries, with Fubuki expressing doubt if her remaining power will be enough to save him. And Bomb, seeing this, also asks if his strength can be drawn upon to help, which Fubuki suggests that they might as well try. She then puts her hand and Bomb's together on Tank Top Master, and using her telekinesis in combination with the power being lent by Bomb, manages to actually begin healing the S-Class hero, as he is seen recovering from his injuries, albeit extremely slowly. Suddenly, Garou erupts from the ground nearby, now with a completely monstrous appearance, and confronts both Fubuki and Bomb. The elder martial artist then loudly calls for his brother, informing Bang and the other heroes of Garou's new presence. Hearing this, Bang wants to leave and assist his brother, but he's currently holding off the Black S clones. Having heard all the info as well, and knowing that he probably wants to leave, Atomic Samurai tells him to go and assist his brother, much to the elder's gratitude. Over on the other side of the battlefield, Bomb prepares to fight the almost completely monsterized Garou while telling Fubuki to stay back. With insane rage, Garou starts engaging in combat with Bomb, and the two of them are capable of holding their own relatively well against each other. Fubuki watches the battle and tries to assist the old man against the hero hunter. However, they are fighting so fast that her eyes can simply not follow their attacks. As Fubuki appears to lose her focus, Garou tries to attack her, but Bomb manages to block his strike, then purposefully lands a blow on Garou that sends him flying away in an attempt to keep Fubuki away from the fight, before immediately rushing towards him. Pig God then appears before Fubuki and is sadly made aware of Tank Top Master, who is lying nearby with severe injuries. As Pig God is worrying about his big friend, Fubuki asks for his help in healing Tank Top Master in a similar way to how she had just done with Bomb beforehand. Meanwhile, in another front, the other heroes along with the members of the Council of Swordmasters are continuing to fend off the countless copies of Black S. Suddenly, Tatsumaki is caught by a massive clone who had just erupted from the ground. Before the clone can squeeze down on her, the goat of all goats, Genos, arrives and manages to free Tatsumaki from the hold by incinerating the monster. Quickly, another large clone emerges behind Genos and slams the cyborg into the ground. Yet Genos immediately makes use of his suit's burial escape functionality to get back to his feet safely, stating that it uses the data from when he fought Tatsumaki. Together, the two of them stand there alone, prepared to face off against the endless sea of Black S clones. Elsewhere, Fura Ugly, who's like just that much uglier now, arrives at the battlefield and immediately demands to fight Silverfang, whom he blames for his current horrifying state. Seeing his horrific change, the clones tease him for his ugly state, causing Fura Ugly to angrily respond by shooting an acid spit on several clones, completely melting them. Not phased by the dude's change, even though like he totally should be right now boys, Big Darkshine attacks Fura Ugly with a super alloy double bazooka, which the monster counters with his own forearm melting punch. Sadly, due to Fura Ugly's increased strength and newfound abilities, Darkshine's attack is not only negated, but the acid all over the monster's body starts to dissolve the hero's hands. Following up, Fura Ugly then proceeds to shoot an acid attack at Darkshine, which connects directly with his chest, causing him to roll on the ground and reel in pain. Seeing what happened to Darkshine, Zanbai advises the others to not face Fura Ugly empty-handed and charges at him with his sword, but as he attacks, the monster manages to catch his sword and instantly melts it due to the acid covering the monster's hand. Having caught the swordsman, Fura Ugly retaliates by spitting acid onto his face, sadly killing him. As the others watch this, they are left utterly terrified by Fura Ugly's new powers. Not phased though, Atomic Samurai and Nichiren attack him using their respective techniques almost simultaneously. Atomic Samurai obviously uses his Atomic Slash, and Nichiren uses his Ihai Rahu Ashura Slash, only to sadly see their swords also get melted by the acid, with Fura Ugly remaining completely unharmed. In the other fight, Garou and Bomb continue battling. The elder martial artist contemplates Garou's extremely rapid growth, noting that the Hero Hunter's newly customized style has fused every technique he's ever learnt together. Thinking on what to do, he questions whether it came about due to monstrification or something beforehand. Bomb resolves not to go down until his brother arrives, and he prepares a powerful cutting move. Having concealed the preparation for his attack, Bomb strikes the ground, managing to disorientate Garou. Seeing this, he then seizes the opportunity to launch an attack, but is shocked to find that Garou perfectly matches and cancels out the blow. Then in retaliation, Garou throws a single hit which knocks Bomb to the ground. Sadly, Bang arrives just in time to see his elder brother being defeated. Noticing his arrival, Bomb calls out to his bro, warning him about Garou's extreme growth, but Bang remains strong with a stern look in the direction of his traitorous former disciple. Standing there, Bang comments on Garou's miserable state before deciding to go all out against his former disciple and pretty much grandson. In a flash, they begin engaging in combat, with the two of them extremely capable of fighting against each other. Yet even still, with the pure intensity of the fight, Garou manages to make his former master bleed after a brief clash, causing Bang to remark that he is now much more worthy of teaching than before. Over in the other fight, and after failing to harm Fura Ugly with their respective attacks, the monster throws his full body melting punch towards Atomic Samurai and Nichiren in an attempt to eliminate them. As Spring Mustachio and Ian rush to their master's defenses, Amahare sacrifices himself for all of the others by rushing towards and kicking both Atomic Samurai and Ian out of the way of the attack, while Nichiren himself shoves his own student out of the way. Amahire is instantly vaporized by the acidic punch from Fura Ugly, and Nichiren is mortally wounded, being dissolved from the waist down. Laying there on the verge of death, Nichiren activates his mythical pearl to pull out the legendary Sunblade and give it to Atomic Samurai, entrusting him to rebuild it in the future and find the Moonblade. Nichiren then turns to Spring Mustachio and tells him to follow his own path before passing out, much to the sadness of his student. Meanwhile, Black S tells Fura Ugly to not consume his clones and threatens to kill him if he dares to not take him seriously. However, the fat monster replies that he actually has a plan for the small man in the future. He will keep all of the Black S clones around as livestock and therefore will continue to consume them if needed. He provokes Black S to oppose him if the latter has problems with his ideal future. His behaviour angers Black S, who, noticing that the heroes have been weakened from the constant fighting, starts merging his cells into a new and improved version of himself, the Golden S, an extremely powerful being resulting from merging a large amount of his cells together. Straight after birthing into this new form, Golden S quickly overwhelms Pure Ugly, stating with confidence that the latter's digestive fluids are useless against him, due to him having the anti-corrosive properties of gold now. Which, like, they actually got right this time, unlike with the gold armor with Drive Knight that would actually melt and just be warped after one attack. The main reason for the value of gold is its unparalleled corrosive resistance. Metals such as gold and platinum do not corrode visibly because they are unaffected by oxygen and most other acids. But anyway, as the Glob monster himself is slowly getting up after being brutalized by Golden S, he is suddenly attacked by Homeless Emperor, sending multiple energy balls at him. Golden S is surprised that he finally decided to give him a hand, with Homeless Emperor stating that it was because it was unbearable for him to watch any longer. Pure Ugly quickly recovers and gets up, trying to retaliate by spitting acid towards Homeless Emperor. However, he manages to block the acidic attack with his energy spheres and proceeds to bombard the fat monster with consecutive balls of energy. As the massacre comes to an end, Pure Ugly lies defeated on the ground shortly before recovering once again. Realizing that he is utterly outmatched by the other heroes, Pure Ugly slowly leaves Homeless Emperor and Golden S while declaring his revenge on them one day. Golden S though intends to finish him off, but Homeless Emperor manages to persuade him into letting Pure Ugly go, stating that the latter is still currently useful for them. The Golden Ingot then switches his focus onto Super Alloy Darkshine, who is still trembling in fear due to suffering damage from Pure Ugly's digestive fluids. Standing over the hero, he comments about Darkshine's unworthiness for being an S-class hero, shortly before landing a punch directly onto him, which sends the hero flying a considerable distance back towards the Swordsman. After leaving his monster partners, Pure Ugly expresses his desire to retaliate against them, and also Bang, who he just, happens to hate as well. With 4 clones of Black S having watched Ugly's rant from a distance, they plan between themselves on how to take him down, until Metal Bat suddenly appears behind the clones, asking them whether or not they know the Hero Hunter's location. Not caring to tell him though, the clones quickly attack Metal Bat in an attempt to kill him, stating that it doesn't matter to a dead man. The hero quickly retaliates against the clones, annihilating all 4 of them with a single swing. Somewhere behind him, King then emerges from a pile of rubble and wonders why he is always left alone. Back with the 3 swordsmen, Homeless Emperor begins to attack using his extreme carpet bombing, sending a massive amount of energy spheres towards them from the sky. Ian and Spring Mustachio manage to defend themselves and Atomic Samurai against the attack by deflecting the energy balls using their sword. Skipping away to somewhere else in this hellish landscape, Genos and Tatsumaki are seen struggling against a large number of Black S clones that are surrounding them. Then skipping off elsewhere, after being saved by his Underdog Man robot and barely surviving an attack by Homeless Emperor by diving into an opening in the rubble, Child Emperor sends Boyfoy a message via his phone. He informs him of the current situation and urgently asks for any kind of assistance against the Monster Association. Noting that the place he's in is completely concealed now because of the previous carpet bombing, Child Emperor estimates that the oxygen in his space will only last for around 10 minutes. So in an attempt to make it last even longer, the big brain holds his breath and hopes for someone to find him via his transmitter. Luckily for him, Puri Puri Prisoner soon comes to his rescue. Back over with the extremely exhausted duo, Genos is sadly having all of his robotic limbs torn off by a few Black S's. Yet still, when he can, the absolute mad lad crawls on the ground carrying the seemingly unconscious Tatsumaki in an attempt to escape from the countless copies of monsters. As everything seems lost, one noise, slowly growing louder and louder, symbolizes the entrance of the planet's strongest man. Walking up the hill in front of them, King then appears with his King engine already fully rumbling. Skipping away from that though, back with Sensei's student, the duo continue their fight, with Garou then taking the stance of the exploding heart release fist, a fighting style that Bang primarily used before developing Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. Both Bang and Bomb are surprised to see this, with Bomb asking his brother how Garou knew of the style, as Bang had sealed it away a long time ago. It's then explained through the old man that Garou once broke into the safe that contained the scrolls of secret techniques at his dojo and got a grasp of that specific style. Even still, despite Garou using his exploding heart release fist, it reminds Bang of his own past self and makes him even more determined not to lose. It's then revealed that during Bang's past, he used to be a complete ruffian who would recklessly challenge any strong opponents and would often put them in hospital. Being disgusted by his brother's brutality, Bomb decided to confront Bang himself and put an end to his rampage. Before they fought, Bomb noted that while his brother thought he'd gained tremendous power, he hadn't really overcome himself, and states that he would have to teach Bang a lesson about properly overcoming oneself. Their fight then began, and shortly after, Bomb defeated his younger brother. As Bang attempted to spite his older brother, Bomb just told him to chill out for a bit before leaving the area. This loss would come to humble Bang over time and make him see the true error of his ways. Through this, he chose to create a new defensive-orientated fighting style and decided to follow his brother's footsteps by creating his own dojo. During the years, Bomb would keep an eye on his brother, revisiting his dojo and smiling with pride at his brother's changed life. Back in the present, after recalling his memories about Bang and seeing that his brother is being overwhelmed by Garou, Bomb notes that if Bang uses Exploding Heart Release Fist, then perhaps he can still stand a chance. Bomb then quickly figures out that Bang won't use it, as his brother is slowly being pushed back. Though, in the fight, it's actually explained that Bang feels like he's getting through to Garou with his fists, and tells Bomb to watch this carefully. He keeps on fighting and attempts to reach Garou by using the voice hidden within the fists. As he tries speaking to Garou, he personally decides that he will quit being a hero after this incident is fixed, and expresses his desire of once again being Garou's sensei. Elsewhere in the battlefield, Homeless Emperor rains a blazing streak of pure energy down on Ian, Spring Mustachio, and Atomic Samurai. The two A-class heroes slowly become overwhelmed, while Atomic Samurai is unable to unsheath his new weapon. He recalls conversing with Nichiren over how the Sunblade is a telepathic weapon, only unsheathed by those it deems worthy. Thinking internally, Atomic Samurai then reaches an intense level of concentration as his mind becomes as reflective as the surface of water, being able to dispel all of the noise of the explosions happening around him. And in that moment, the Sunblade finally answers his call. Instantly, Atomic has his spirit heavily influenced by the blade and leaps into the air, shredding apart Homeless Emperor's enormous concentration of energy balls. Astonished by this, Homeless Emperor summons a bunch more energy orbs and sends them soaring towards the Swordsman, but to no effect as the new power of the Sunblade easily stops them. Just as Atomic Samurai is about to shred the helpless cadre, Golden S appears and blocks the killing blow. The Sunblade is only able to make a small laceration in Golden S's ultra durable frame, but the second the latter attempts to break the blade, it starts curving at impossible angles before somehow managing to cut half of Golden S's right arm clean off. Having shown its power, the Sunblade then sheaths itself, and Atomic, who's extremely worn out, regains control of his spirit. The evil natural water monster then shows up on the block, much to Ian's surprise, who thought the monster was completely eliminated by Super Alloy Darkshine's punch. Just as Golden Sperm and Homeless Emperor prepare to retaliate, a rumbling sound is heard growing louder from behind them. Turns out that it's the big man himself, King, as he makes his way up behind everyone, leaving his enemies stunned by his magnificent appearance. As the monsters get ready to face the lone hero, Metal Bat arrives on the scene and initially intends to help King, but then decides to let King handle them all alone, while Metal Bat himself makes sure to keep any of the Black S clones from getting away. With all of the heroes happy that King's arrived, it's shown that the strongest man alive looks composed and confident, but within his mind, he's extremely terrified and even regrets trying to save Genos in the first place. Instead of just one or two monsters, he realizes that all of the monsters in front of him are powerful enough, and they also aren't afraid to face him like the other monsters have been in the past. Standing there, all of the Black S clones, Golden S, and Homeless Emperor wonder why King is still not making his move, instead just standing atop the hill. Black S asks Homeless Emperor regarding how the famous hero fights, to which he responds that King, out of all of the heroes, is the only one he has an abnormal lack of battle data on, and he can cause monsters to lose consciousness without even touching them, telling them all to not let their guards down even though they have Tatsumaki and Genos as hostages. Before Homeless Emperor can test King by trying to attack him with his massive energy sphere, King asks him what if he touched his light ball, which he answers that the hero would be utterly vaporized in an instant. Homeless Emperor proceeds to try and make the first move, but just as he is about to attack, King advises him that he should pay attention to the loose rocks under his feet in order to not fall over. Homeless Emperor, however, mistakenly takes that as a warning that King would be able to instantly dodge his attack and kill him if he moves. Left standing there, Homeless Emperor is stressed by King, but declares that he will show everyone the real him. Hearing this, King himself is frightened and mistakenly believes Homeless Emperor is already aware of him just being a normal human, and because of this he mutters the words, "just a regular human." However, Homeless Emperor hears what he had to say, and after hearing that, he gets even more terrified as he incorrectly thinks that King has realized he is nothing more than a normal human without his light powers. Homeless Emperor then decides to not let him talk anymore in order to prevent the other monsters from finding out his weakness, and attempts to fight King. However, before he could launch his energy sphere, Zombie Man, who's been absent for a while now, suddenly emerges from behind Homeless Emperor and grabs his neck, pinning him down to the ground. Child Emperor, who didn't have a clue where the other S-Class was, is delighted to see that Zombie Man has managed to survive, while Homeless Emperor is left in a panic and calls for Black S to assist and get the S-Class hero away from him. Black S though just doesn't listen to his fellow monster, as he is still solely focused on King standing in front of him, deciding to handle the hero on his own. Meanwhile, Child Emperor sends his messenger bugs to some of the present heroes, informing them of his plan of luring all of the monsters into a straight line in front of King so that he can unleash his prolific, ultimate Hellfire Burst Wave motion cannon and eliminate all of them in one go. By the way, this is just like obviously a random move King made up, and that everyone has probably heard through rumors and just assumed that it was like his ultimate move that he used to destroy things. Anyway, Black S reveals to King that he, also counting Golden S, currently has a total of 54 trillion clones, and asks the hero if he can manage to defeat them all. After he finishes talking, all of his clones suddenly charge towards Golden S and begin merging with him, while a unit of 100 Black S cells is detached as insurance. As the 100 clone unit of Black S's is confronted by Metal Bat, it's shown that Black S is actually in tears. It's explained while dodging Metal Bat's attacks that he feels incredible sadness as trillions of him are being erased as if they are all fighting for dominance. Yet also, he is incredibly happy at the same time because all of him are combining to form one new being, the ultimate Platinum S, marking the moment the true him debuts. Coming back into the scene randomly again, the evil natural water monster and the new fusion of clones are now perfectly lined in front of King. Seeing this, Child Emperor notifies King that Genos and Tatsumaki have been rescued and tells him to quickly release his attack. Skipping away from King though into the other fight, the intense battle between Garou and Bang continues, with Bang being the one who is at a disadvantage but briefly gaining the upper hand by using his grappling abilities and kicking Garou away. Garou eventually demonstrates his roaring aura skyripping fist to the shock of both Bang and Bomb. Darting forward, he clashes with Bang in a rapid show of insane blows. The intense shockwaves generated from Garou's multitude of techniques are so powerful that they turn everything within the vicinity into complete powder. Seeing this, Bomb remarks that if Bang takes a direct hit from the Hero Hunter, he'll die, as the shockwaves will course through and wreck his weak body. However, Bang is able to effectively avoid the devastating technique Garou is throwing at him, until he attempts to land a final attack of his own on his ex-student. Bang successfully lands his punch into Garou's face, drawing a noticeable amount of blood from him and cracking his face, while Garou simply grazes Bang's cheek. But like I previously mentioned before, the shockwave from his blow is strong enough to cause a fair amount of damage to the oldie, causing his former master to finally fall defeated after a tough fight. Bomb expresses his concern over his brother's condition, having seen him fall, then notices that a smiling Fura Ugly is approaching his brother, and is delighted at the fact that he has finally found Bang to claim his revenge. Skipping away from them though, and flying over to Platinum S as the ultimate fusion is finalizing the transformation, and Zombie Man is pinning down Homeless Emperor. The S-Class hero claims to Homeless Emperor that not even Platinum S can stand a chance against King, stating that their efforts are futile in front of the famous hero's overwhelming strength. Homeless Emperor though responds to him that King is only being cautious and observing for the time being. He smiles with a confidence, saying that even a single Black S is strong enough to take on an A-class hero, and with so many clones combined, their power would be unimaginable, although he claims that the fusion still isn't as powerful as him. Homeless Emperor instead offers Zombie Man a quick and painless death as he tells the hero to let go of him, though Zombie Man replies that he still has several questions and starts interrogating the monster for the true nature of his powers. Yet, before Homeless Emperor is even able to say anything, he sees a giant figure appear on the moon. Suddenly, he experiences a vision where he's in a giant field with God looming above him. Suddenly, Homeless Emperor's life along with his light powers are taken away by God, marking his death as his body disintegrates into salt before Zombie Man's eyes. Back on Earth, Child Emperor and Atomic Samurai wonder why King isn't unleashing his ultimate Hellfire Burst Wave motion cannon. In his mind, Child Emperor deduces that King is still waiting for his opponent to get to their best condition to defeat them, noting that it would cause fear to the other monsters and also act as a deterrent for future ones. King finally starts unfolding his arms, prompting the other heroes to think that he is about to release his attack and cheer him on. Suddenly, Platinum S extends the tentacle on his head and attacks some of the heroes around King in the blink of an eye, incapacitating them. As King stands there frightened with what just happened, Platinum S tells him that he knows he has desired a one-on-one battle with him in this perfect state. He proceeds to challenge King, telling him to unleash his ultimate attack on him. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Fura Ugly is seen standing in front of Bang now, who's lying defeated on the ground, and wonders if Garou is the one who defeated him. Garou, having his skin in his left eye shattered, begins roaring and charging towards Fura Ugly, and actually manages to rip a hole through the monster's body with a kick. As King is closing his eyes and shouting the name of his attack to intimidate his opponent, Garou appears and proceeds to dash in the direction of Platinum S and sends the fusion flying with a single kick. Realizing that something's up, the evil natural water senses Garrou's murderous intent and attacks him with 2 water jets, only for the hero hunter to deflect them both and begin pummeling the water monster with multiple blows. With all of these attacks happening in literally the blink of an eye, King wasn't even aware of Garrou's presence and is taken by shock with what just happened. Falling backwards himself, King is just utterly confused about what has just occurred. Over with the monsters, Fear Ugly is shocked at seeing the fatal injury he just received before collapsing and having his entire body melt away. Standing there and having already defeated the monsters, Garou then quickly takes notice of a wormhole that emerges near him and releases Saitama, Flashy Flash, and Manako, who are all seemingly surprised that they have been teleported to the surface by Blast. Being one of the only heroes left, King is delighted to see that Saitama has finally shown up, while Flashy Flash observes his surroundings and wonders if the other heroes have all been defeated. Flash quickly realizes the threat of Garou is near, while Saitama rushes over towards Genos, expressing concern about the cyborg's beating condition. While there with him, Saitama goes on to ask Genos if Garou is the one who's responsible for his destroyed state, with Genos responding that it was actually a Monster Association executive member. Having just regained his senses himself, Garou is confused about his new form, noting that he does not remember ever surfacing from underground and honestly was just dreaming about sparring with Bang in the past. To his surprise, Flashy Flash appears out of nowhere, throwing a kick directly at Garou, with him narrowly being able to dodge it. Instantly, the hero hunter recognizes him as the S-Class hero rank 13. Flashy Flash, who's a little slow, asks him if he's the Monster King boss, to which the hero hunter answers that he has nothing to do with the Monster Association and reveals to him that his name is actually Garou. In an instant, Platinum S interrupts them by simultaneously passing through and pummeling them both. Having seen the change in Garou, he states he's disappointed, as even though he's monsterized so much, he does still not have the courage to join the monsters. Both being unfazed by the sudden attack, Flashy Flash and Garou start a free-for-all battle with Platinum S, allowing the three of them to exchange extremely powerful blows at incredible speeds. Meanwhile, King comes up to Saitama, absolutely terrified and in tears. He goes on to tell him that Genos did a great job protecting Tatsumaki, which Saitama then compliments the cyborg for. Having heard this, the battered bot tells Saitama that he was no longer able to self-destruct in dire situations, and finally asks his master if he has actually become stronger. Responding to his question, Saitama says that for the fact that he did not explode means he has indeed gotten stronger. Thankful for how much he's grown, Genos appreciates hearing those words from his master, stating that it was all thanks to Saitama and Dr. Casino for where he is now. Elsewhere, the battle between Garou, Flashy Flash, and Platinum S generates a geometric structure of light covering the sky due to them moving at unimaginably fast speeds. It's mistakenly believed by most of those who are observing the battle from afar to actually be the work of Tatsumaki and the other Esper, with only a few aware that those are the sparks of the battle between Flashy Flash, Garou, and Platinum S. During the fight, Platinum S suggests Garou team up with him to defeat Flashy Flash, pointing out that the hero has been weakened due to losing his sword. Garou, being Garou though, pretends to agree with him, but as soon as Platinum lets his guard down, he's punched in the face by the hero hunter. Just then, Garou turns it up a notch and begins to showcase his Monster Calamity Godslayer Fist, a fighting style that is a combination of many martial arts he has learned throughout battles, which, as he uses it against his two foes, manages to overwhelm both Flashy Flash and Platinum S. Somewhere else, deep underground, back where that mysterious shrine is located, a bunch of flesh is seen sticking into its surroundings, while the shadow of a centipede-like creature is seen growing bigger and bigger. In the meantime, on the surface, a massive aircraft carrier is operating at sea. Through radar, those inside it begin to notice an immensely huge and mysterious object is about to emerge right below them. As they prepare to withstand the impact of it, a pair of gigantic eyes emerge from the ocean below, capsizing the entire aircraft, sending men, weaponry, and vehicles flying everywhere. As the battle continues elsewhere, Flashy Flash starts to get overwhelmed and is just shocked at the fact that in a single day he has encountered 4 people who have surpassed his supposedly unmatched speed. He desperately tries to best Garou and Platinum S, but fails, with him eventually being defeated by the latter. With only 2 monsters remaining in this battle now, they resume their accelerated bout, exchanging a multitude of blows in the sky, with only 1.3 milliseconds before Garou then manages to land a stronger hit and send Platinum S flying into the ground below. As Platinum S quickly gets up and calls out to Garou, he is finally defeated by the hero hunter, who instantly phases through him while delivering a killing blow that causes him to explode into a multitude of bits. Meanwhile, Tatsumaki begins to see God in front of her, who is impersonating Blast's appearance in order to lure her into accepting its powers. To be honest, after rereading this arc and everything, my honest thought is that anyone who accepts these powers becomes a pawn completely under the control of the so-called God. Then if God deems them unworthy after watching them fight, it can take back its powers and turn them into salt, with the person who had the powers subsequently dying in the process. During this visiony thing, Tatsumaki remembers what Blast had told her about not expecting someone to come and save her. She realizes that whoever is in front of her now is not actually Blast, and instead asks the thing in front of her about its true identity. Unable to deceive Tatsumaki, God simply leaves in irritation. Almost instantly after coming back to reality, Blast, using his teleportation ability, comes up to Tatsumaki, worrying about her coming into contact with the so-called God. But to his surprise, he is just left flabbergasted after she says that she managed to resist it. As Blast comments that Tatsumaki has indeed grown, a smile on her face grows without her being able to open her eyes due to the lack of strength that she has left. King, who's standing next to him, is astonished at Blast's sudden emergence. Saitama, who's nearby carrying an injured Puri prisoner, comes up to them and notices Blast as well, calling out to him. Hearing Saitama call him Blast as well, King and Genis are surprised that the person they are seeing is the top-ranked S-class hero. Blast talks to them saying that he was being held up fighting that thing in a different place at, I guess, a similar time. He reconvinces King and tells him to protect Tatsumaki, saying that he has to go and provide backup somewhere else. As King questions what he meant, Blast steps through another portal that appears to have multiple people on the other side, and he says that he is not fighting alone, shortly before teleporting away, much to King and my own damn's confusion. Immediately after he leaves, a big earthquake appears, with the source of it being revealed as the Sage Centipede, who emerges from the deep hole where Tatsumaki had attacked Orochi before. After showing up, Sage Centipede loudly claims that it has been sent to destroy the abnormal fist that opposes God, and declares itself the incarnation of Father Earth. Sage Centipede then directs its eyes towards the sea, where the evil natural water monster is, now known as the evil ocean water monster now, due to it fusing with the entire ocean. Sage Centipede refers to the evil ocean water as the incarnation of Mother Ocean, stating that along with the latter, it will bring total destruction to the entire planet. Surprisingly though, in a pure flash, Garou jumps forward towards Sage Centipede and pummels it in the head with a multitude of different strikes. The emergence of Sage Centipede and Evil Ocean Water Monster terrifies Sekinga, Needlestar, as well as Mizuki, all of whom who want to move away from those two devastating threats as soon as possible. In the meantime, Garou's combo attacks have proven to be extremely effective against Sage Centipede, who has taken damage and is stunned by the Hero Hunter's assault. Garou notices that there is a helicopter from afar and sees that Tario is inside it. He's surprised that the boy has finally managed to escape the Monster Association headquarters and taunts Sage Centipede, trying to attract its attention. However, Sage Centipede also realizes that the helicopter behind it concerns Garou, and it tells him not to move, otherwise Evil Ocean Water will shoot down the helicopter with its great oceanic cannon. As Garou is shocked and annoyed after hearing this, Sage Centipede attacks him with its Centipede Grand March, surrounding and striking the Hero Hunter repeatedly, with Evil Ocean Water aiding the Centipede by shooting a devastating water cannon at the Hero Hunter. King, from afar, observes the great destruction caused by Evil Ocean Water's water cannon while slowly carrying an injured Tatsumaki to safety. Having taken the combined attacks from the monster, Garou is extremely hurt and launched a great distance away while Sage Centipede just laughs at his predicament. At this moment, Sage Centipede then notices something dashing towards the sea at lightning speeds, leaving powerful shockwaves in its wake. The being is revealed to be Saitama, who proceeds to jump towards the Evil Ocean Water and strikes it with a single, serious punch. Upon contact, the punch completely dissipates the Evil Ocean Water Monster and splits the entire ocean behind it, shocking the Sage Centipede, who simply can't even fathom what the hell just happened. The aircraft carrier, which had been completely enveloped by the ocean, begins to suddenly expose itself, catching Saitama's attention. Due to not having somewhere to stand, Saitama is unable to lift and carry the carrier, so instead, man literally uses the vessel's deck as an impromptu surfboard, helping the ship escape the enormous tsunami waves. Sage Centipede is just left in pure disbelief as it thinks Evil Ocean Water Monster is dead after one punch and wonders what on earth just happened to it. It then pursues the helicopter out of pure rage, which Tario and Waganma are inside. Garou, noticing this and already having recovered from the damage, chases after the monster. Suddenly, the absolute G himself, Metal Bat, jumps onto the Sage Centipede and strikes it in the face with a multitude of swings from the bats. However, Sage easily shrugs off his assault and simply tosses him away. Skipping away over to Garou as he boasts towards the monster trying to save Tario, well, he actually ends up running into the falling Metal Bat, leaving the two of them surprised at seeing each other again. believing him to be getting in his way once more, just like the last time they fought where he was trying to attack Senshuriko but Garou kept beating him back. Metal Bat attacks the Hero Hunter because of this, but he swiftly evades the hero's swings and keeps moving forwards towards the centipede, ignoring him. Garou then jumps onto the centipede's back, with Metal Bat slowly catching up to him. As the two of them then chase each other on their way to the monster's head, a reporter helicopter pops up right above the centipede. Annoyed with the news team's interference, Sage Centipede strikes the helicopter with one of its antennas. However, Metal Bat appears in front of the helicopter and blocks it with his strike, while Garou gets onto the helicopter and scares off the people inside of it, causing it to fly away from the scene. Immediately after saving all of the humans, Garou charges towards the Sage Centipede and lands a barrage of attacks, yet despite taking his blows head on, the centipede is only momentarily knocked back and quickly recovers from it. I absolutely love this next moment here, boys. Together, both Garou and Metal Bat stand side by side and assume their fighting stances. Metal Bat questions what's wrong with Garou, given that he not only attacked Sage Centipede, but also helped the reporter helicopter escape, commenting that now he's even more sensible than when he was a human. Hearing this, the absolutely confused Garou responds by saying that he just wants to show the world how terrifying he truly is. He informs the hero of the monster's target being the rescue helicopter behind them, stating that the two have to buy some time for it to get away. Having thought up a plan, Garou suggests that Metal Bat act as a decoy, much to the hero's anger, and after a small argument, they finally agree to actually team up against the Sage Centipede. Meanwhile, in the Hero Association hospital, Suryu and Suko are seen watching the situation in Z City through a television. Suko comments that the reporters will not get away from the monster, referring to Garou, that can leap into a helicopter. Suryu, on the other hand, expresses that the helicopter did not crash, and he somehow believes that Garou did not want to hurt those people. Back on the centipede, Garou and Metal Bat unleash their abilities, with Roaring or a Sky-Ripping Fist and Savage Tornado. However, their attacks cannot bring down the monster due to its extreme durability as well as its powerful regen abilities. While recognizing Garou's strength, Sage Centipede thinks of Metal Bat as a non-threat and considers taking him hostage. Garou then criticizes Metal Bat for not being able to deal any damage to the centipede-like monster, and upon hearing their argument, Sage Centipede figures out that it would not work. Instead, it continues to pursue the helicopter in an attempt to take the passengers all hostage. As the monster gets closer and closer, one shotter, unable to aim properly due to losing his special mechanical eye, shoots at the centipede but misses. Sage Centipede then eventually catches the helicopter with his antennas, shattering the rotor blades and taking the people inside hostage. At this moment, Garou and Metal Bat both stop dead in their tracks, realizing the severity of the situation. Immediately following this, Sage Centipede attacks the two with its Centipede Grand March, causing the terrain around them to erupt, seemingly taking them down. Due to the damage sustained, Garou was forced to his knees and subsequently grabbed by one of the monster's human arms. Just as he is about to be killed by the Sage Centipede, one shotter, now able to aim accurately thanks to him having support from Gear Spear, shoots the monster multiple times, directly aiming now at its eyes. As the attack hits, it momentarily distracts it, allowing Garou to pry open the hold and escape from the monster's hand. Now freed, Garou proceeds to pummel Sage Centipede with Taro and the other people around, mistaking him for a hero and cheering him on. As Garou is about to be attacked, he still continuously attempts to free the helicopter from the monster's antennas, until Metal Bat with his serious injuries appears and manages to chop off Sage Centipede's antennas, completely surprising the monster with Metal Bat's sudden change in strength. As we all know though, since our boy received literally life-threatening injuries, Metal Bat, through his fighting spirit, was pumped up, and his strength has increased to an even higher degree than before. He informs Garou, who's still holding the helicopter, that about 500 meters away, there is a huge safety net. Hearing this information, the Hero Hunter without second thought then proceeds to throw the remains of the helicopter to that safety position, much to Sage Centipede's displeasure. The two of them then stand side by side, ready to give the monster all they have got left. Sage Centipede refers to their team up as pathetic, shortly before charging at them with its 6,666 leg Grand Drill, a powerful attack that obviously resembles a drill. In response, Garou and Metal Bat working in tandem utilize their strongest techniques respectively, with Garou unleashing another cross-fang Dragon Slayer Fist and Metal Bat with his pumped up Savage Hurricane, accidentally creating a combo attack against the giant monster, successfully countering its rush and even cracking the durable outside shell, much to the shock of the centipede. It's then revealed that Metal Bat is inferior to Garou in strength by a large margin, and the current reason the S-Class hero can keep up with the Hero Hunter is because of their resonance, which has amplified Metal Bat's capabilities to amazing levels. For those absolutely confused on what resonance could be, well, when light or sound waves strike an object that is already vibrating at some particular frequency, so think of that as their attacks on the centipede, which is traveling towards them, and if that frequency happens to match that resonant frequency of the object it's hitting, then you'll get what's called resonance. I could go into like the math and this and stuff, but this video is already long enough without me interrupting every 5 minutes like I usually do. It's like 45,000 words at this point in the script or something. But anyway, continuing. Metal Bat and Garou continue the assault, with the former now being strong enough to damage Sage Centipede's exoskeleton with every single swing due to him resonating with Garou, although he is quickly knocked back by the monster. Garou, having his strength also increased greatly due to him resonating with Metal Bat, is now able to blast through Sage Centipede's body and steal its regeneration core, ceasing the monster's ability to continue regenerating. As Sage is left shocked at the fact that it can no longer regenerate from damage, Garou explains that he noticed a certain spot on the monster that was releasing energy and therefore deduced that it was probably his core. The centipede attempts to take it back, but the hero hunter throws it directly up into the sky at high speed, causing the centipede monster to instantly chase, trying to catch up to the core. Down below, Metal Bat, unable to continue fighting, lies on the ground and mutters that Garou has to defeat Sage Centipede, before seemingly becoming unconscious as a result of his heavy injuries. Elsewhere on the battlefield, it's revealed that Sweet Mask has somehow survived being attacked by Fura Ugly, who had seemingly ripped him in half before. He approaches Pig God, who he doesn't recognize at all due to the latter losing like his entire fat form. Sweet Mask then asks Pig God what he's doing here, and instead of answering, Pig God just asks him the exact same question, with Mask responding that a monster had ripped his jeans, so he needs new clothing. Seeing Pig God's jacket on the ground, Amai mistakes it for a tent and uses it to cover his lower half, without the now skinny S-Class hero minding it. Amai Mask then demands that he'll take Pig God to safety, but the latter states that he cannot move now and has to eat something first before they leave. Quickly, the skinny man then starts chowing down on the corpse of Gums, which surprises Amai. After a moment of thinking, Amai tells Pig God to take care and simply leaves him alone. Meanwhile, Sage Centipede is trying to catch up to its regeneration core, which was literally thrown out of the planet by Garou. With the monster leaving the Earth's upper atmospheres, it's finally able to reach and get a hold of the core with its antennas, while also having revealed its true length as it's extended all the way from the ground to space. Garou, having run up its back, leaps at the regeneration core before it completely and utterly destroys the object by jumping down upon it. Then continuing to head downwards towards the Sage Centipede, with a karate chop, Garou recalls how he first joined Bang's dojo and failed to break all 50 tiles in a single chop, leaving only one left, a true testament to his capabilities as a newcomer. Back in reality, with this giant centipede in front of him, it finally meets its end at the hands of the hero hunter, who chops it in half vertically all the way down to the very surface of the planet. Standing there back on the ground in front of the defeated Sage Centipede, Garou claims that his fist has now been perfected. Over with a confused Sweet Mask, as he's carrying an unconscious Metal Bat, he walks over, seeing the massive corpse of Sage Centipede, and wondering what could have possibly happened. He then notices that Manako is trying to wake up a knocked out Flashy Flash, but mistakes it for an assassination attempt, so he immediately attacks her. However, before he can strike the monster, his punch is intercepted by a freaking aircraft carrier sliding in and crashing between them, knocking both Sweet Mask and Metal Bat, as well as Flashy Flash and Manako, flying away in different directions. Meanwhile, King, who's still carrying the incapacitated Tatsumaki, notices the carrier flying straight towards him and panics, realizing Saitama is nowhere to be found. As King is standing there panicking, wondering what in the world he's going to do, Fubuki arrives and congratulates King on rescuing her sister. It's then explained that she's arrived with the new Blizzard group. This new group of hers consists of Tank Top Master, Spring Mustachio, Bomb, Bang, Super Alloy Darkshine, and Nichiren, which I don't know how she managed to scam them into the group, but you know, like, good on her anyways. It's shown that Spring Mustachio is carrying Nichiren while Tank Top Master is carrying Bomb, Bang, and Darkshine. King questions who the guy wearing a tank top is, but then soon realizes the one wearing a tank top is obviously Tank Top Master, who now looks much fatter than he did before. Despite being fat now, Tank Top Master has actually gained a tremendous amount of strength. Seeing her sister, Fubuki then rushes towards her, saying that she will give some of her energy to Tatsumaki. Spring Mustachio questions if that's safe, as Fubuki has already used up most of her energy on healing the other heroes, yet the team leader just yells at him to be quiet. Fubuki then says if she could heal her sister even a little bit, then Tatsumaki might be able to get all of the heroes out of the area via her telekinesis. Knowing that she doesn't have the strength to actually save her sister though, Fubuki asks Tank Top Master to lend her a hand. Standing there, Tank Top Master thinks about Tatsumaki for a moment, and refusing to accept her death before his mastery of tank top wearing surpasses her psychic powers, decides to help her. Getting all fired up, he tells them all to not bite their tongues, as Fubuki already used a bunch of her energy on healing the other heroes. So instead, King is urged to leap atop the deck and save everyone else. Quickly in response though, King comes up with the excuse that the shockwaves produced from his King-style super catch might harm the injured, so it would probably be better to use psychic powers. However, in that moment, King truly sees his golden ticket out of the situation, as looking up towards the ship's deck, he notices that no one other than Saitama would already be on the ship in control of it, and in Saitama's mind, the man had come to the conclusion that this was the perfect place to park the boat. Thinking and literally having balls of steel, King with his big brain simply tells all of the other heroes to hold on and not move at all, as they would be perfectly fine if they didn't move. Nobody really understood what was going on, but they all did as they were told, believing in King's plan. Meanwhile, up on the ship, Saitama shifts positions, then walks in a slow, relaxed manner off elsewhere to yet again embed his boots into the deck of the ship, throwing a massive twist into the ship's lumbering movement. Everyone, King included, was absolutely blown away and in utter disbelief at the ship's changing speed. But Saitama wasn't even done yet. Once he regains his footing, man literally leaps away with an unreal degree of force, causing the ship to crumble away from the shockwaves alone caused by the jump. The crumbling ship, which was now effectively embedded in the ground, is shown to even be at an angle that it would redirect the ocean's water right over the heroes, leaving them completely unharmed. This luck of theirs will get even crazier, as not only did the ship protect them from the fallout of the evil ocean water monster, but it also protected them from being crushed by the corpse of Sage Centipede, which is still having its long body fall from the sky above. As they're all seemingly alive after this, Tank Top Master thanks King for making his decision, as if they didn't follow King's orders, they would have been dead either way. Fubuki then notes that they can't stay here either, because the water has begun to rise, and now they're at threat of actually drowning. Pig God, now having regained his fat body, suddenly arrives and does the most big brain play of his life, flies through a wave and puts all of the heroes including Nichiren and Bomb into his mouth to save them. Meanwhile, Garou looks on at his surroundings, wondering what in the world happened to the evil ocean water monster. In that moment, Saitama finally appears behind Garou and asks who he is supposed to be. Although Garou at this point doesn't realize Saitama's actual identity, he still answers the Bald King's question regarding what he is, by stating that he is a monster who will cast all of humanity into the depths of despair and become absolute evil. Saitama is confused though about whether Garou is evil, considering he helped a helicopter escape from the Sage Centipede just before. But Garou reasons that he needs witnesses to spread fear and to let people know that he is stronger than any hero or monster, stating that absolute evil correlates with absolute strength. Garou then tells Saitama to leave and quit his job, as he will annihilate both the monster and hero association. He then, in our typical evil villain stereotype, rambles on about his plans of utter domination. After listening to Garou, Saitama begins to leave without acknowledging him as a monster, which leaves the jacked up Garou just utterly confused. Frustrated, Saitama explains to him that the only reason he is out here in the first place is because he went out of his way to complain about the noise, and now, because of that, his house has been completely destroyed. Due to this random set of circumstances in Saitama's eyes, he's extremely upset and says that now he would rather blow up the entire planet, making Garou shiver with his words. As Saitama leaves, Garou calls out to him, saying he'll pay should he underestimate absolute evil, and charges at him with a punch. Unfortunately for him, Saitama is just frankly unbeatable, and with an impulsive punch, he knocks Garou back before the latter could land the hit. After being punched, Garou manages to remember Saitama, identifying him as the one bald guy that he's run into several times before, which is obviously just hilarious to me. I love how all the past scuffles or interactions, I don't know really what you would call them, between Garou and Saitama have just been Garou getting completely and utterly abused by an unaware Saitama. It's just too good. Anyway, now the main battle can begin as Garou finally realizes who this goat of a baldy truly is. Now having recovered from Saitama's punch, Garou prepares to properly begin fighting him. They begin exchanging blows while crossing kilometers in just moments, reaching far into the upper atmosphere of the sky. Saitama attacks Garou with a punch aimed at his head, but Garou now, having literally ascended, manages to dodge it before axe kicking our baldy into the ground, causing a huge section of landmass to instantly rupture, sending rubble shooting out. When Saitama stands up onto his feet, Garou leaps down towards him with a hand chop, striking his head directly, causing a forceful impact on the surroundings. However, the hand chop is not enough to phase our boy, who retaliates with a simple headbutt that shatters Garou's forearm. Despite this, Garou manages to regenerate his forearm and attempts to punch Saitama. However, the caped baldy is faster and manages to punch him back first. After being knocked back a considerable distance by Saitama, Garou's body, in response to his anger, undergoes a mutation that increases his size and stature, as well as his strength. At this moment, Tario, remember that like little weeb of a kid who was a mad hero fan, had the whole book and all, well like now he's just a mad Garou fanboy at this point in the stories, which is like dope and all, because like so is everyone else obviously. But anyway, just before this point, somehow he had managed to evade all of the other heroes trying to flee and made his way up behind the bulked up demonic Garou. He then tells him that he is a hero to him, which annoys Garou, who tries to explain again to Tario that he is not a hero at all. Yet, even after what Garou says, the boy still insists that he is the greatest hero to him, and tells Garou to stop pretending to be a monster. Saitama slowly comes up to the two of them and comments on the terrible things Garou has done, like murking heroes, crushing dojos, and now playing monster, causing this innocent kid to break down and cry. As Saitama takes his steps towards the hero hunter, Tario tries to stop him from further fighting the hero. However, Garou still lays out Saitama and punches him hard in the head after getting provoked. Though, as per usual, Saitama is completely unscathed, even after taking a punch head on. He then boldly, and like the true Chad level bold king he is, reassures a shocked Tario that Garou will not be able to hurt him. Angered, Garou tries to kick Saitama, but is immediately slapped away by the hero as if it was nothing. Back with Tario, Saitama asks him if he'd like him to stop but not kill Garou and return him to normal, to which Garou solemnly nods in agreement. Which is like so damn wholesome, man. I love seeing these little bits of like actual human moments from our psychotic little baldy. It just goes to show that he still has a bit of heart left in him somewhere. So finally, it's just the two big bad boys standing there, and Saitama questions why Garou is acting like a monster despite previously having helped heroes. Garou tries to reason that he was merely using them to further his goals of absolute evil. Yet, after Saitama casually lumps Garou's absolute evil together with world peace in a randomly coincidental way, Garou angrily charges at him. He manages to parry a punch from Saitama, then using the momentum, he hand chops him right in the side of his face and lands a punch to his head before elbowing him in the stomach, all done within the fraction of a second. When Saitama grabs Garou's arm, the enlightened hero hunter performs several lock-on moves that eventually hit Saitama in the hip. Garou instantly follows up and proceeds to use his Godslayer instant attack, slamming his foe into the ground with a flurry of monstrous punches. However, Saitama, having evaded the attack, soon emerges nearby after digging underground and throws a massive rock at Garou, while asking the hero hunter if he's able to avoid his punches due to his special martial arts skills, to which Garou confirms while shattering the rock with his freaking jointless rotating arms. Garou attempts a barrage of attacks on Saitama, but the hero manages to dodge, prompting him to remark that Saitama has amazing reflexes and agility, but still lacks skill and has plenty of openings, which is just hilarious. Like, Garou bro, you need to focus on yourself first. Claiming to be able to read all of Saitama's moves now, Big Brain Garou declares that the hero will lose due to his lack of technique and being a complete amateur, before sending him absolutely flying and crashing into several buildings with his Godslayer ascending attack. Instantly after this, like, just unfathomable feat, Garou catches right up to Saitama and uses his great fudging, which, like, I hope I got right and didn't mess it up, like, cause this attack is just absolutely insane. I'm gonna be calling out the art for this entire video cause it's just freaking God tier at this point. Like, look at it, the buildings lift up and then slam together, like, it's so good, and believe me, this is just the freaking beginning of the stuff. This great fudging sends the big baldy crashing through more buildings, lifting them up off the ground and ultimately pulverizing them into nothing but dust and smoke. Believing he has won now, Garou states that Saitama may have incredibly tough skin and bones, but he cannot train his internal organs, which Garou believes to have been damaged by his attack. However, to his surprise, Saitama emerges completely unharmed. It is then shown that Garou, in destroying the buildings and following in the way of absolute evil, has accidentally saved 5 Hero Association staff members who had been trapped inside an underground shelter. As all of them show their gratitude to him before leaving, Saitama ironically comments on how absolute evil is actually good at saving people. Enraged that he just ain't evil enough yet, Garou attacks Saitama again and soon evolves even further, taking on this sick as fuck demonic type form that has these almost unproportionate looking wings on his back, but it's honestly still fire as fuck. While defending against an onslaught from him, Saitama states that Garou has improved a little, which angers the hero hunter, who with a punch knocks him into a currently exploding volcano. Garou immediately charges at Saitama and strikes him with both of his open palms, causing the mountain behind to shatter due to the powerful impact. After the attack, Garou is on his knees and panting, while an unharmed Saitama simply punches him away. Recovering his balance, Garou was impressed that Saitama could withstand the attack that destroyed the volcano behind him. Also hilariously following in the current course of things, Garou has accidentally saved an entire city from being destroyed by the volcano's lava. And again, Saitama notices this random act of so-called kindness and almost taunts him, commenting that Garou has a great hero's instinct, which reminds him a lot of King. Garou grows 2 more arms and continues his onslaught. However, he is now visibly showing signs of panic as he fights back against our Baldy. PS, shout out to all your bald kings out there, like get this video to 50k likes. I honestly don't even know why I'm saying this right now, which is honestly unachievable for me, and I'll go bald, like, fuck it man, I'll go bald, like, hell, why not, I'll do it for 100k subs, and if this video gets to 50k likes, I'll do it, because hell, Saitama is a goat, man, and I love this arc so much. I've had so much fun reading it. Despite being attacked by the hero hunter, who is using all 4 of his arms, Saitama effortlessly manages to dodge and parries a flurry of Garou's punches with only one hand, while also telling him to just straight up stop fighting, which is a freaking insane burn on him, man. Afterwards, Garou places 2 of his hands on Saitama and takes a form that resembles a jet, while his remaining 2 arms emit energy to act as propulsion. He then follows up with a mighty attack called Extreme Fujin. Garou pushes Saitama into the ground, creating an intense seismic wave that passes directly through the Earth's core. The attack is so freaking immensely powerful that it distorts the space-time around the Earth, moves oceanic plates, and even makes an entire continent raise up from the other side of the planet. It even messes with the magnetic and gravitational fields of the planet, putting it as a whole at risk. Despite all of his efforts, Saitama is still unfazed by Garou's earth-altering attack and retaliates with his infamous consecutive normal punches. As the 2 of them return from Earth's depths, Garou tries to fend off Saitama's flurry of punches, but fails. At this moment, he recalls the abominable fist Sage Centipede had once mentioned and deduces that he was referring to Saitama instead of Garou himself. Our bald king proceeds to punch Garou directly in the face, snapping him back to reality while causing him to crash through several mountains and eventually fall into a massive puddle. As he slowly gets back up, Garou is shocked and angered by Saitama's overwhelming power, viewing him as the embodiment of unfairness. Which, like, he literally is. Like, I'm sorry Goku fans, but this is why Saitama is unbeatable. Like, full stop. The dude is created to never lose in the first place. Goku has lost. The guy's even freaking died. Saitama is literally God at this point. He is insanity incarnate. It's like utterly beautiful and unstoppable. I freaking love it, man. Because of this, Garou charges at Saitama with a punch, refusing to lose to him. However, Saitama punches Garou before he can himself and sends him flying away, destroying Garou's monster form and exposing his true human body that had been buried inside his monster's exoskeleton. As Garou laments being beaten by such unfairness, he hears a voice calling out to him. The voice tells him that there is only one fist that can counter the fist that is turned against God. Everyone's favourite villain then sees an apparition of Bang hovering above him and offering Garou his hand. At the same time, massive storm clouds appear, revealing, like, I don't even know what to call this thing, like God's legs or something. All we know is this creature is a 100% on leg day right now. Anyway, with everyone witnessing this, Saitama ominously notes that something is coming. In that moment, he sees Garou leap down from behind to face him once again. Saitama exclaims that Garou changed costumes again, while Garou, having received the power from the one they call God, replies that the only way to counter the fist that is turned against God is the fist of God itself. Like, oh my god, this form is so freaking clean. Like, Murata, you need to chill, man. I'm actually gonna, Anyway, now appearing as a void of stars and galaxies and his new awakened Garou, Cosmic Fear Mode, he takes a fighting stance and prepares for another round against the one and only invincible hero. Having now gained the knowledge of all of the flow of energy that courses through the universe, as well as the behavior of the forces of the cosmos, Garou utilizes said flow of energy to send a cataclysmic attack towards Saitama called the Life Eradication Fist Mark Nuclear Fission. The attack results in a massive nuclear explosion, which is instantly followed by several more that reach up into the sky as Garou continues to attack, while the surviving heroes, including Psychos, who has emerged since her defeat at the hands of Tatsumaki, stare in amazement and horror at the nuclear blasts exploding nearby. Well, anyway, I think it's kind of sad for our heroes down below, guys. Time for the radiation poisoning. Big rip on them all down there. The heroes below watch the battle between Saitama and Garou, which is obscured by mountainous clouds from Garou's attacks, leaving only their silhouettes briefly visible through flashes of power. Despite the enormous force behind the attacks, Saitama was much more concerned over his outfit, which leaves Garou utterly bewildered. Nevertheless, Garou proclaims that he feels like he can do anything before explaining to Saitama that in martial arts there are secret techniques known as shikai, wherein martial artists can borrow the power of nature by imitating the movements of living things. Garou prefers to address them as modes, since to him they sound cooler that way. He then demonstrates one of these modes, that being Mode Saitama, as Saitama's own face appears in place of Garou's featureless void-like face. Garou duplicates and utilizes Saitama's consecutive normal punches, assaulting the hero with his own technique, prompting Saitama to respond with his own consecutive normal punches. Honestly, this is somehow just the beginning of the true insanity which is about to come. Like, hold on to your damn seats because we're going far out of this freaking world. Their fists collide in an exchange of blows, creating an enormous destructive force that pushes out around them, destroying everything in its path. The exchange of blows ends with Saitama and Garou simultaneously landing a blow to one another's faces, sending them both directly into the water below. Instantly, they both leap back out of the water, with Garou then taunting Saitama on how he must be at a loss for words upon finding someone who could finally match his strength. Saitama though is slightly dismayed as he thinks back to how he promised Tario he wouldn't get scratched. Seeing this and feeling empowered, Garou goes to show Tario how powerless heroes truly are. He begins to charge his body as it is encased in a singularity before unleashing another extremely powerful attack called the Life Eradication Fist Mark Gamma Ray Burst towards Saitama. Okay, like, I'm just going to physically break open the power scaling world for One Punch Man, like, right here. So this Gamma Ray Burst is literally, like, one of the most powerful phenomena in existence. Like, we get this in our own reality. We have evidence Earth was hit by one during the 7th century AD, but it was only, like, a little bit of gamma radiation. People wouldn't have noticed it back then, and it was, like, around 4,000 light years away from Earth, which is an unfathomable amount of distance. If this Gamma Ray Burst happened within a few light years or even a few hundred light years, which is, like, by the way, still an unfathomable distance, it would rip apart our atmosphere, like, instantly and subsequently kill all life on the freaking planet. Now get this, okay, like get this. This gamma ray burst is on the surface of this freaking planet with people right next to it. Like, they should be vaporized instantaneously along with the planet. Like, they shouldn't even be there. Nothing should be there as soon as that ability goes out. But, like, the fact they're even there right now makes them naturally the strongest people and the strongest soil in existence, like, in anime, full stop. Like, show me another damn series where a plain A-grade type hero is able to stand next to a force that would kill all life within a fraction of a second if it happened at the moon's distance from our own Earth. Anyway, I've rambled on for too long. I'm just nerdy as for that science stuff. I absolutely love it. Now, Saitama realizes that if any attack grazes the ground, it would destroy the planet. So in an attempt to save it, he decides to jump high into the air to bring the attack away from the ground. However, Garou thinks he is attempting to dodge it by jumping. Because of this, the attack directly hits and completely engulfs Saitama in a beam of the universe's highest level radiation, sending him off the planet at literally the speed of light itself, if not faster, because that is literally the speeds we are talking about here when a gamma ray burst goes off. Man's ability can technically go faster than light itself. Now, with Big Baldy literally shot into the abyss of space, Garou lands on a pile of debris and confronts the various heroes of the Hero Association that have huddled around together. The remaining heroes immediately realize that the man standing before them was the source of this massive energy explosion just moments before. Only the S-Class heroes remain on the spot while the lower ranks begin to run away in fear. Seeing this, Garou questions if he has finally achieved his ultimate goal of becoming absolute evil. Grateful for the strength he had received, Garou looks into the sky and ominously says, "Thank you." Bang, being one of the heroes who chose to stay rather than run away, confronts Garou and asks if a monster did something to him. Garou then reveals to Bang that he wasn't truly tricked by the entity that approached him earlier, and instead knew all along that the strange figure who took the form of Bang wasn't actually his former master. Regardless, Garou was informed that simply coming into contact with the entity was enough for him to be greatly influenced by it. However, Garou denies that he has become a puppet and states that what he is doing is of his own free will. After making this clear to everyone, Garou decides that it is now time to conduct evil. As Garou approaches the remaining heroes, Child Emperor and Wagan Ma start to bleed from their noses. Moments later, the two children collapse onto the ground, seemingly dead to the effects of Garou's radiation. Despite Garou stating that he is in control of his own actions, Bang still believes that there is something evil within Garou, and that evil is now controlling him. Suddenly, oh yes man, the big man himself, rank 1 S-class hero, Blast, randomly teleports into the area and introduces himself to a surprised Garou. He attempts to reason with Garou, stating that he has been controlled by a mysterious entity known as God, and emphasizes that in Garou's current form, any attack unleashed would endanger all life on Earth. Although Garou still retains his careless demeanor, he is somewhat intrigued by what Blast has just said, and asks what he should do about it. Blast offers to transport Garou into another dimension, but the awakened Garou simply declines the offer, and instead boasts about how his mere presence is now causing people to die, believing that he has finally become the true symbol of fear. Bang attempts to stop Garou from proceeding, but suddenly, Genos, who's literally nothing but a damn torso at the moment, uses the remaining bits of power he has left and hurls himself towards the seemingly invincible enemy and headbutts him in the chest, stating that there is another radiation-resistant hero he forgot about. However though, Garou easily grabs the hero by the hair and goes to finish him off, but before he can do anything, Blast intervenes and begins to fight Garou off himself. Blast fires his dimension cannon towards Garou, but the hero hunter quickly dodges the blast while commenting it to be a lame attack, which is, kind of funny because of all the hype around Blast. You'd expect him to have these insane abilities, but he's just got like these boxing gloves pretty much. However, a portal appears above Garou and transports him to where Blast is, followed by a powerful punch from Blast called the Gravity Knuckle straight to Garou's face, forcing him to release Genos. Blast summons another portal to where Garou is, and redirects his trajectory to have him meet yet another punch straight to the face. Blast continues this pattern as he rapidly pummels Garou in the face, all the while slowly bringing his portals closer together. Before long, Blast quickly seals the two portals with the intent of sealing Garou within another dimension. However, much to Blast's shock, Garou emerges from a portal of his own making, having mimicked Blast's own powers and techniques. He now wields Blast's Gravity Knuckle in his right hand and his own Life Eradication Fist, Mark, Nuclear Fission in the other. He uses both of these to unleash a rapid barrage of attacks on Blast, doing his best to try and overwhelm the number one hero. This forces Blast on the defensive, as he summons multiple teleportation rings to redirect Garou's attacks elsewhere. Another portal is then summoned by Blast above the sky, which absorbs the remaining explosions in order to prevent further destruction to the environment. Nonetheless, the utter force of the attack sends both Garou and Blast shooting away from each other. Noting the extreme energy being put off, Blast fears that if this battle continues for much longer, then not only will the gates that seemingly keep God at bay weaken, but everything on the planet will die from the radiation Garou is emitting. Which, by the way, I'm hella curious as to what these gates could be and how, the hell, can we even get to a bigger level of power from this point? Oh my lord. Garou commends Blast, as he sees that he's not the number one hero for nothing, but also immediately realizes something else and decides to shift his focus back onto Saitama. Realizing that the Bald King will soon return, and that the hero was not going all out while fighting earlier, Garou decides to kill Genos in order to draw out the full power of Saitama. Garou, then in probably the most heart-wrenching moment in the entire series so far, impales Genos through the chest and rips out his core. Only a second or two later, as Garou holds his heart in his hands, Saitama finally returns back to Earth. As he stands there in pure bewilderment and shock, a black liquid slowly begins to pour down like rain due to the nuclear fallout. Seeing his deadpan expression, Garou taunts him by throwing Genos' depleted core at him. Saitama catches it and stares blankly, remembering Genos' previous words about how he is always on time, denying them by stating that he is usually always late. Saitama, enraged and with a serious expression on his face, unleashes his first serious punch towards Garou, who immediately responds with a serious punch of his own. Having copied Saitama once again, using Mode Saitama, Blast immediately and fearfully realizes that the fallout from the two colliding attacks will completely destroy the Earth. In an attempt to try and save the planet, he summons a portal beneath the two, and just as their fists collide, they are transported way up into space above the upper atmosphere of the Earth. However, the kinetic energy that erupted from their serious punch squared was so powerful that Blast's dimensional gate was unable to sustain it. As Blast comes to the realization that he may be unable to angle the vector of energy away from Earth, three of Blast's allies come to his aid, which honestly cracks me up, man. Who are these space Who are these space-ass looking ranger goons? Nah, I love the universe expansion stuff for the next arc and so forth. It's great. I can't wait to see like more of this kind of shit. Anyway, with all 4 of them there, they're able to create an opening inside of the barrier that launches Saitama and Garou 43 light minutes away from the Earth, while the shockwave of energy itself is directed in the completely opposite direction, which results in the destruction of like thousands and thousands and thousands of numerous star systems seen in the night sky, which is like literally mental. Like, I don't know where this beam went, but it was probably faster than light itself, and it's probably gone and out the damn galaxy by now. Okay, so the final real battle properly begins now. Like, you guys, this is it. This is the end. We're getting to the very end part of the battle. This is insanity incarnate. Saitama and Garou crash into a celestial satellite revealed to be Lo, one of Jupiter's moons. The two were initially bewildered and confused, but after figuring out their location, Saitama stands above Garou atop a small hill and proclaims that he can finally let loose against someone who can finally withstand his full power. Yet despite that fact, he still doesn't feel the least bit excited to finally go all out. Garou, still annoyed with the current location, suggests that they should find a way to get back to Earth, but Saitama instantly shuts him down and says that they will need to figure it out after he defeats them, stating that he only needs one hand to do so. Unfazed, Garou initiates the fight once more by simply summoning a portal beneath Saitama, only for the caped baldy to casually kick it away, much to Garou's surprise. Then suddenly, in an instant, Garou is rocked by a punch from Saitama, sending him flying off the moon. Garou quickly creates a portal that brings him back to Saitama and attempts to counter with a punch, only for Saitama to flip Garou's portal upside down, thus making Garou hit the air instead, before he is then thumped by yet another punch that sends him rocketing into the floor. Unimpressed, Saitama tells Garou to stop using his cosmic tricks and fight him with his fists, going on to taunt him, asking if these attacks are his so-called ultimate martial arts. Again with the martial arts. Garou, offended by his taunt, obliges, while saying he has absorbed countless martial arts and techniques before he dashes around Saitama with immense speed through multiple portals in an attempt to disorientate him. He first attacks him with roaring awe, sky-ripping fist, then deflects a punch from Saitama with water-streaming, rock-smashing fist, before sending the hero flying with exploding heart-release fist, followed by whirlwind, iron-cutting fist, then finally ending the combo with nuclear fission, gravity knuckle, that creates a massive atomic explosion, which is then absorbed into a singularity by the gravity knuckle. Standing amidst the smoke, Garou declares that his fists are unavoidable and that timing is irrelevant regarding his attacks. But to his shock, Saitama once again emerges completely unscathed, save for obviously being completely naked this time, as his costume was completely and utterly destroyed from Garou's attacks. And as he stands there, he replies to the hunter that he can do something very similar. Our bald king, the god himself, demonstrates this by digging his fingers into the ground with one hand, let me remind you, with one hand, and unleashes a new attack called Serious Table Flip, before flipping massive amounts of the moon's crust thousands of meters up into the air, taking Garou with it. The attack then utterly decimates the entirety of the freaking moon itself, unraveling it like an orange peel, all while Garou aimlessly and helplessly hurdles high into the air amongst the innumerable number of debris. Suddenly, Saitama dashes around Garou with incredible speed, creating hundreds of after images in the process, before he directs his after images and himself towards Garou simultaneously with another serious series called Omnidirectional Serious Punch. Garou instantly avoids the attack by jumping into a portal, only to see, much to his horror, that Saitama is already directly below him within his own portal he had just freaking opened, and proceeds to punch him with a serious punch. As the hit lands, it sends Garou flying and ricocheting off the slabs of stone, only for Saitama to follow up once again and punch him away as he is about to hit another slab. Saitama dashes around Garou back and forth with immeasurable speed, all while punching him across the entirety of the demolished surface of the moon, creating a full-on geometric surface of light from the intensity of the attacks. Garou then furiously repels Saitama's flurry of attacks with his water stream, rock-smashing fist, and lands on a large slab of debris. Garou attempts to regain his composure while needing to find a way to get above the rocks. He creates a portal only to have his head smashed into another slab of rock. Stunned, Garou realizes that Saitama's attack had completely warped his sense of direction, and now he utterly feels like a caged insect being played with by a child. Before he could react, he is suddenly attacked by another serious punch from Saitama. Garou is aghast by Saitama's limitless strength, but remains steadfast and declares that if he is to win against him, then he will need to continuously replicate his power and technique until he achieves victory. As he does this, he once again enters Mode Saitama before he and the Caped Baldy both punch each other directly in the face. The battle continues as Garou throws a punch through a hyperspace portal that reaches Saitama on the other end, only for Saitama to quickly retaliate with a punch of his own. Instantly, as he is sent hurling backwards from Saitama's punch, Garou creates another portal behind him that redirects him behind Saitama, and uses his momentum to unleash an axe kick onto Saitama's head, only for the latter to simultaneously counter with a punch to Garou's guts. The punch sends Garou back into the portal, with the Hero Hunter then opening another portal and swiping back at Saitama, only to miss as our Bald King jumps backwards. He lands onto a large slab of debris, then leaps downwards with such an immense force that it destroys the slab, and follows with a monstrous karate chop straight to Garou's neck, which in turn devastates the surrounding area around them. The fight escalates as they move and dash about the decimated moon in an exchange of vicious blows. Garou is bewildered at the fact that despite countering him with just as much power, Saitama simply responds with even greater force than before. And yet I remind you, again, with just one hand as well. As Garou performs a powerful punch to Saitama's gut, the latter doesn't flinch and counters with an uppercut that sends Garou flying into the air. It is then explained through the shocked Garou that Saitama's growth in power and strength continuously rises at an exponential rate, with his own strength struggling to keep up, leading him to realize that at this rate he could actually die from one of Saitama's punches. Saitama's strength soars due to an upsurge of emotion from him trying to kill Genos earlier. Garou, now slowly falling behind, dashes around with incredible speed, preparing for an attack. Saitama, meanwhile, only realizes that now his costume had been completely blown off, and it actually started to get cold. An enraged Garou attempts to throw a punch at Saitama, but the Bald King casually grabs it without even looking. Due to the cold, Saitama was about to sneeze, which forces Garou to instinctively evade, and honestly, he's goddamn lucky he chose to, as Saitama unleashes a serious sneeze that not only parts a large portion of the moon's floating debris, but also utterly annihilates and clears an enormous mass of Jupiter's atmosphere and weather system, revealing the small, supposedly solid surface of the planet. Like, this is actually so insane. The utter mass that is on that planet is ridiculous. In actual reality, we don't even know if the surface exists. We haven't even been able to get something down there. I have no idea how to even scale the force of this ability. Like, it's so freaking unfathomable to me. It's that insane. The display of power leaves Garou in shock, all the while they rocket away from the moon and Jupiter due to the force of Saitama's sneeze. As they soar through space, Garou notices the sun, then using his enhanced vision and perception, he is able to make out a clear vision of the Earth, which allows him to teleport there. Just before doing so, in an attempt to escape, he threw a nuclear fission punch directly at Saitama, giving him the opportunity to escape and finally return to Earth via his portal. After escaping, Garou celebrates his return and presumed victory, only to instantly discover, to his horror, that Saitama was already right behind him, complementing his last move. Bewildered, Garou questions Saitama on how he managed to return, to which Saitama replies by saying that the coldness of space had given him such a stomachache, and while he was initially holding it in, Garou's last attack surprised him and made him literally shit himself back through Garou's portal. As the fight now kicks back off, Saitama punches Garou directly in the face and sends the two rocketing back down towards Earth's surface. As they crash land, our Baldy's punch shatters Garou's Mode Saitama, leaving him with his normal human face, now appearing battered and bruised. Seemingly defeated now, Garou asks why Saitama won't kill him. Our hero responds that it is because he is a hero, and in addition to that, it was also Tario's final request to stop him without killing him. Garou pauses when he hears the words "final request." And sadly, as he looks over to his side, he sees Tario's dead body, who had succumbed to the radiation earlier on. Garou screams in utter despair, but quickly attempts to run away upon realizing that he was too close to Tario, but stumbles and falls to the ground. Seeing Tario's dead body, as well as the Earth's desolate landscape, Garou sorrowfully realized that he indeed is that ominous future. Saitama, standing there, only wonders why Garou has been acting so strange ever since he first appeared in his Cosmic Fear mode, which, for those who are confused, is like the moment that the God Bang mofo showed up and gave him some power, I guess. Curious, Saitama asks if someone truly did make him the way he is now, but Garou only solemnly replies that if that is the case, then it was because his spirit was weak. I honestly love Garou's character development throughout this fight and just the series in general. It's really good, and like, I recommend anyone just to go back and read the entire point from the moment he comes in, because he's like the main character from that moment to like probably right up till now. Garou continues to despair as he sees that if he cannot beat Saitama, then he can never truly become absolute evil. Even so, Garou would have been satisfied if Saitama killed him the way he envisioned heroes killed all of their villains, and that way, his legacy of being true evil would linger onward. Moreover, he only meant to save the likes of Tario with his ideals, but Saitama cuts him off and says that Garou only clung to Tario for support. Garou was prepared to angrily retort, but upon seeing that Saitama was still holding onto Genesis' core, he realised that even him, with all of his insane power and strength, still needs something that would help him hold on to reality and keep fighting. When Saitama asks Garou what he's going to do now, Garou somberly asks Saitama for a favour. The favour involves Garou wanting Saitama to copy his martial arts, knowing that Saitama will be able to use them to their fullest potential with his limitless power. Garou will pass on his most powerful martial arts technique, which he has not performed even with God's power at his disposal. So I guess with all of my memeing on like the martial arts, it's a cheeky one that saves the day. Saitama then agrees, and Garou prepares to transfer his ultimate technique to Saitama, as he knows that he would be the only person able to resist God using its own power. Suddenly, the one they call God silences Garou and begins to siphon his power and life, which subsequently begins to make Garou's body break down into salt, which is like kind of random, man, like why salt? As Garou fully transfers the cosmic rays within himself into Saitama, he says his final words to the caped Baldy, stating that he is the only one who can truly defeat the impending, ominous future that is awaiting him before he fully perishes and his body crumbles into salt. Okay, Takamichi, please sit down. Now we got Saitama time traveling back for his bestie. As time travels backwards in time, Saitama sees all of the instances of their battle and is left in utter amazement at the beauty of Garou's technique. When he spots the moment when Garou declares himself as that ominous future to the heroes of the Hero Association, Saitama takes this as his cue and punches through it. Back in reality, as Garou looks at the sky, thanking the god that had just given him the strength, randomly and literally out of freaking nowhere, Saitama appears and thumps Garou with an infinitely strong hook to his freaking dome. It's explained that because of the insanity of the training Saitama's punch underwent on the moon, it had gifted him the ability to technically reverse time and thus land his strike before it even released. And reverse causality is impossible to dodge. Thus, it was not one punch that decided the fight. No, it was a zero punch. As the present heroes watch in amazement, a shocked Garou realizes that his power is beginning to escape his wounded body. So yeah, like if anyone is like, how the fuck is he able to go from not dying from one of Saitama's attacks to just randomly dying from like a punch? Obviously it was the infamous zero punch where he literally like reversed time with it and everything, but pretty much Saitama is just like physically something else now. Like he's way past Garou before his moon buff, so you can imagine what the Saitama is like now hitting Garou, who doesn't even have like the moon buff of strength from growing like during the fight. Anyway, the future Saitama is then instantly pulled towards his past self, and after they make contact, they become one, with the soul Saitama now holding Genesis' core from the future. Confused as to what happened, Saitama only recalls being hit by Garou's gamma ray burst. Which is kind of sad. I wish Saitama kind of like remembered everything, or like somewhat remembered everything, but you'll see why in a second. As he looks down, he is initially shocked to see himself holding the depleted core of his best boy Genos in his hands. He instantly receives an even greater surprise when he sees a hole in his costume exactly in the location where his 12-inch king level size snake is at. Again, and just like in the previous timeline, but not aimed at Garou, Saitama is rammed by Genos as he flies forward with the last of his gas. Once finally back together, the disciple apologizes for getting carried away, but Saitama is instead surprised to see him still alive and okay. After losing his power from God through Saitama's punch, Garou finds himself weakened and is surrounded by several heroes. Saitama and Genos sitting nearby discuss the core the former is holding. Genos decides to plug the core into himself to verify its authenticity, but becomes overwhelmed by its data, as it literally, having travelled through time with Saitama, displays all of the pivotal moments from their battle to him, such as all of the heroes' deaths due to Garou's radiation, his own demise at the latter's hands, and Saitama's battle on Io. Genos gathers himself and asserts that the core is indeed his, but from another timeline. Genos asks Saitama if he can remember anything from beforehand, believing that the core and him had both come from the future. Either way, Genos proceeds to explain the hypothetical belief regarding a possible parallel world or theoretical universe, surmising that the core had possibly come from an alternative timeline due to Saitama's actions. He states that though it is unknown how the divergence in different times had happened, it can be confirmed that there was a new Saitama that had separated from the original, who has time travelled and now has merged with the past Saitama in the current timeline. He notes that the timing of the separating and merging may be a clue to what point in the time the two worlds had separated. Genos goes on by stating that in the future the core had arrived from, he was destroyed by Garou. Astounded by what he had learned from the core, Genos believes that possible parallel worlds do exist. Even in the worst possible scenario of his and many other heroes' collective deaths, Saitama's capability to transcend and manipulate the laws of causality is inescapable proof of his selfless, flawless heroism. As Genos tries to relay his theory on how he could have possibly travelled through time, Saitama is overwhelmed by the long explanation and does not follow what the cyborg said at all, much less even comprehend what he is saying to him. Ultimately, Genos is pleased that in order to save everyone, Saitama transcended time and space itself. So I'm sorry Goku people, but get me a moment where Goku has transcended time and space to win a fight, because I ain't seen it. Elsewhere, Tario suddenly gets up, awakened by a vision of Garou before it fades away. Sitting there, he hears a ruckus nearby and walks over to it. Closing in, he sees some of the lower ranked heroes beating up an injured Garou who offers no resistance. Metal Bat steps in and demands that they stop. Livid, Sweet Mask mentions on how Garou had gone berserk earlier and that Garou will kill them if nothing is done to him. Angered, the A-class hero proclaims that as a monster, Garou must be executed, something that Metal Bat and Saitama disagree to. When Saitama asks everyone who's responsible for Garou's defeat, Flashy Flash states that a naked man appeared out of nowhere and struck the hero hunter once before flying away, and that the movement was similar to something that Blast does. Hearing this, Sweet Mask and Sekinga are surprised to hear that Blast had got involved in the battle. Genos tells Saitama that he has the lone right to decide how to deal with Garou. Although Saitama intends to let the other heroes beat him up until they're satisfied, Zombie Man approaches and asks Garou about his strength source, knowing that an earlier cadre had once spoken about God before his unexpected death. Garou laughs and claims that he alone is responsible, refusing the idea that a god could have ever helped him. As Zombie Man wonders if the hero hunter no longer has the desire to live, Sweet Mask prepares to kill him, but is suddenly stopped by Tario, who calls out to the heroes for beating on Garou, explaining that he was saved by him several times and begging for Garou to flee while he still can. Amai takes this as Garou luring a child, but Tario utterly denies this. He calmly states that all of the heroes will civilly treat Garou, but Amai just asks him to step aside. Tario though instead repeats his words, saying that they won't execute him. As the heroes argue over Garou's fate, a powerful rumbling suddenly travels through the air. Of course, it's revealed to be our man with his King's engine running at full pump, absolutely silencing everyone. Bang speaks up and states that he will not let Garou get away with life so easily, telling him that he must make up for his poor actions by saving others now. While Garou stays quiet, Saitama ironically expresses saving people is what absolute evil is actually good at. Garou tells Saitama he will regret letting him go, but the Cape Baldy replies that he won't, even adding his thanks to him for saving Genos and King from Platinum S and evil natural water monster earlier. While standing there, King recalls how Saitama and he spoke about how to deal with Garou, with the former revealing that it was Garou who ended up rescuing him and Genos earlier. Before vanishing from sight though, Garou tells the Cape Baldy that he disgusts him, much to everyone's shock. After Garou leaves, Middle Knight suddenly appears nearby in a giant drill, and it's like, honestly, stuff this dude, man. Like, he's such a bad hero. Like, get him out of the organization, get rid of him. Seeing that the threat is over, he calls in thousands of drones in order to repair the damage done to the area. Addressing the heroes around, Middle Knight states that he was alerted about the nuclear fallout in the area, and announces that there will be mandatory testing and decontamination for all. Walking away with Genos' damaged upper body though, Saitama audibly sighs, depressed about how they will have to look for the remains of the destroyed apartment after Genos finishes getting repaired by Dr. Casino. Later on now, and at a police station, an officer interrogates Garou, asking if he regrets having dined and dashed at a restaurant. Remember like way back at the beginning of this arc when he did that? When he doesn't answer the question and instead talks about his beliefs, Bang knocks him from behind, getting him back on track. Just hilarious. I love these two, man. After leaving the police station, Bang tells Garou that he must apologize to the victims of his hero hunt, much to Garou's annoyance. Meanwhile, in a playground at a park, Tario is playing with his friends in a game revolving around villains and heroes. Randomly, the group is interrupted by Wagon Ma, who arrives by car with his father Narinki. Back to the conversation between master and disciple, Garou expresses his wish to spar with the heroes he once fought as a monster, which includes Bang. Garou believes that by battling them again, it is possible for him to reach some kind of awakening without monsterizing. Over at the association headquarters, Sitch talks to Sengar, going over Bang's resignation as a hero and desire to introduce a certain person into the association in order to replace him, obviously that being Garou. Knowing that the heroes will oppose Garou joining them, Sitch nonetheless accepts that preparing for Shibabawa's last prophecy is paramount. Which, sitting here, I just thought this now, I thought this prophecy was the thing they took over the Monster Association for in the first place. They're just gonna keep bringing up this prophecy every time there's like a new threat that they have to fight. That would be kind of funny, to be honest. I do kind of like that. That just blatant reuse of the same thing just to bring another threat into the universe is just such a one-punch thing. But anyway, as the master and disciple continue strolling around elsewhere, Bang soon asks Garou which type of girls he likes, which is a banger JJK line for real. Although Garou is taken aback by his master asking such a question, he eventually answers that he fancies Kero, an actress from a Super Sentai show. And after a while, the two begin a discussion about the current state of Sentai shows. Over elsewhere in the drained remains of the sea following the Monster Association incident, Saitama and Genos are seen searching for what's left of their apartment, while a shrunk, overgrown rover sits on the shoreline and chills out watching them. Well, so that there officially brings us to the very end of what is One Punch Man's Monster Association arc, and I can say for sure that this arc was absolutely insane. The stuff that we got from start to finish was just phenomenal. The art in here is out of this freaking world. So if you guys do want more, smash this video to 10k likes and I'll begin delving into the current stuff that's happening inside of the story, which is the Neo Hero Saga, and I'm pretty sure the first arc that we would get into is the Psychic Sisters arc. So make sure to smash that like button if you haven't already and help push this video to 10k likes. Plus, subscribe if you are new around here as well. Also, there were kind of a few things that I'd like to have improved throughout just making this video in general. I really did work hard to try and bring this entire series to life here in this world because it's by far, like, Murata is probably my favorite artist. I don't know, we've also got Berserk out there, which is absolutely insane in my eyes, so it's kind of hard competing with those two, but it's up there and I really wanted to make this as a special video. But there were times where, say, like, my audio glitched and it made an annoying glitch noise, and then there were moments like when I recorded this video, for example, I had my wisdom teeth were also coming through because I recorded this video like 5 or 6 months ago now. There were certain words that I could not pronounce and it got me so annoyed that I just had to stop recording for like a week at a time and go off and do something else. Like, I just couldn't say specific words and it really got on my nerves. Probably like no need for me to like explain that now or whatever, but I thought that I should probably explain that is the reason why it took me so long to get it out. Plus, having to go through what some of these chapters are, like 150 plus pages, and then they've been retconned and completely changed, and I've had to like rewrite an entire script, is actually insane. Like the amount of times I had to rewrite something after writing it because I thought that was what happened, but it didn't actually happen. The thing that happened was retconned, and like, oh my mind melted so many times. It was actually crazy. But in the end, we got there, and I freaking loved it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video as well, because this series is phenomenal, and it deserves like the utmost respect. And I really hope I could bring it with my own like little adaptation of the series here. Plus, I'd also love to know what kind of series you guys want me to get into in the future. I just started reading Kagurabaki and Sakamoto Days, which are 2 series that are freaking phenomenal. Like, what is it? Kagurabaki at this point only has 5 chapters out, and that series there is already popping off like nothing I've ever seen before. So I can't wait till that first arc finishes there, and we might actually delve into that as well. But either way, you know, I'd love to know what series you guys want me to try and start reading or getting into. But for now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.